Hello everyone, this is What If Fanfic and today I'll bring you What If Naruto was a Saiyan for Universe 10. The link to the story will be in the description. If you want to hear a fanfiction please comment down below. Now onto the story.
Up on a platform high in the sky, two fighters were locked in combat. Though to the eyes of the less powerful or perceptive they wouldn't know anything is going on at all. All they would hear would be occasional booms. The first is a tall, muscular humanoid with purple skin, flattened ears, a bald head, and red eyes. He wears a long, dark purple, blue, and gray coat. He wears a dark cyan undershirt, dark purple elbow and knee pads, and dark purple wrist guards. He has a dark cyan belt with a yellow buckle. His pants are dark cyan and he wears a pair of dark purple boots with black toe and heel armor. This man was the legendary assassin Hit. His opponent is a black-haired man who looks no older than 20. His attire consists of a sleeveless dark gray uwagi, a long-sleeved black undershirt with a turtleneck, a red sash, black pants and white boots. He wears a single gold and green Patara earring on his left ear. This man is Naruto Black, one of the only two Saiyans of his former Universe 10. The two separate after Naruto had blocked an attack from Hit. Having created enough distance, Naruto powered up into his Super Saiyan form and appeared in front of Hit, then threw a fast straight right. Right before his attack would have connected, Naruto knew what was coming next. He felt the change around them for a split second and quickly brings up his hands to cover his face in an X fashion. Sure enough, a kick had come right for his head. Unfortunately for him though, the kick managed to get through his defense faster than he had anticipated. As a result, he was sent flying back a few feet. He regained his balance in the air and skid to a stop on the ground a few feet away. Your time skip has improved again. Naruto comments as he got in fighting position once more. As he stood, he suddenly felt the change once more, then felt a pain in his abdomen and dropped down to a knee. He looked up at Hit, who was in fighting position before it came to him. It started out as a 25th of a second. Then it was a 10th of a second. Now after that last attack I'd say you're at about half a second. Naruto analyzes. He felt that he'd been punched roughly 20 times. Also in fighting position, Hit replies, "That's correct." His face still stoic. "I've recently been able to improve upon it." Naruto narrows his eyes and bends his knees slightly before disappearing once more. He threw a barrage of punches and kicks all at different speeds. Once he found an opening, he shot a kick to Hit's left side. Once more as the kick was about to connect, he felt the change around them. He brought his right hand up to cover his face, but once more was too late. Hit had connected with a viscous left hook. Creating distance once more, Naruto asked, "All right, do you want to step it up a bit?" He asked as a dark energy with a light pink outline surrounded him. Since it was Hit who had initiated the spar, Naruto wanted to know how far they'd push themselves. Hit thinks about it for a second before dropping his fighting stance and putting his hands back in his pockets. "No, we're done for now," he says as he heads to a ledge near the edge of the platform. Naruto does the same before powering down, allowing his hair to return to its regular black. Following the assassin, he asks, "So how was the tournament? Must have been something if you managed to improve your time skip." He asks as he sits on the ledge. "It was interesting," comments Hit as he rests with his eyes closed as he's known to do. Now that caught Naruto's attention. There's not much out there that can catch the man's attention. So he knew it had to be good. "How so?" "There was 2 Saiyans in this tournament," he comments. Naruto tilted his head in confusion, not understanding how that would be interesting. "So? There's plenty of Saiyans here," he says, referring to Kaba and a few others he's seen. At this, Hit lets a small smirk appear on his face. "They have a variation of your own transformation, and I'm not talking about your regular Super Saiyan. They call it Super Saiyan Blue, though I'm unsure if it's as strong as yours since you've never fought at full power against me. It's definitely something to be aware of," he says. Okay, now they were getting somewhere. "What are their names?" he asked, now interested in these 2 warriors. When he arrived here he was hoping to find strong warriors. He was let down with the quality of the Saiyans though. "Goku and Vegeta. Both of them are stronger than our own Saiyans here on Universe 6. The one named Vegeta even managed to help Kaba transform into a Super Saiyan." Naruto was shocked for 2 reasons. Number 1, he's never heard Hit say this much in one day. He's usually reserved and quiet. Second, there are Saiyans out there with power similar to his, and one of them even shares a name with his brother. "Hey, I'd like to meet these Saiyans. If you're actually praising them, then they must be strong," he comments. The assassin opens one of his eyes and looks his way. "You would have met them had you made your power known," he comments. Naruto puts his hands behind his head and replies, "Nah, the only person who knows what I'm actually capable of is you, and even then you don't know the actual extent." Not even Champa knows about it. Though I have a feeling now that he saw those Saiyans transform, he'll ask Kaba about it to see if he knows anything. Standing up off the ledge, Naruto stretches and cracks a few bones before turning to his friend. Well, I'm gonna go congratulate Kaba on his transformation. I'll see you later, he says as he starts walking towards the edge of the platform. There's one more thing, Hit says, stopping Naruto. Said man turns to the assassin with an eyebrow raised. After the tournament, the Omni King appeared before us, he said, shocking Naruto. He'd heard of him but had never seen him. It was decided that there would be another tournament in the near future, however, this one will be with every universe included. With that being said, Hit jumped and flew off the platform into the distance. He had decided to keep the bit about Champa almost killing them for losing and bringing shame upon him out though. N stares at the direction his friend flew off in and spoke to himself. A universe-wide tournament, huh? Could be fun. With that, he too flew off the ledge. Planet Sotala. He got there in little time and immediately headed to the training ground he knew Kaba frequented. He was not disappointed when he saw the young man throwing punches and kicks in mid-air at a pretty decent speed. Above all else, he was doing it in his new Super Saiyan form. As Kaba was going through some more punches, he stopped when he sensed someone to be near him. The sound of someone landing on the ground a few seconds later confirmed it for him. He looked over and saw Naruto on the ground waving at him. Smiling, he dropped his Super Saiyan form and went down to join his friend. Naruto-san, Kaba greets. What's up, Kaba? I heard you had unlocked a transformation, so I came over here to check it out. Naruto replies. Kaba instantly powered up with a confident smile on his face as he transformed into a Super Saiyan. That's correct, Naruto-san. This is called a Super Saiyan. I was taught by a fellow Saiyan from Universe 7. He tricked me into getting angry and I awoke this power. He explains. How did you know about it though? Hit told me. He replied as he continued analyzing Kaba's new power. It had grown definitely. He was probably the strongest Saiyan on the planet right now, besides him, but Kaba didn't know that. Kaba replies, not knowing what else to say really. He didn't know how Naruto became friends with the man. Naruto was an outspoken person and was generally in a good mood all the time, whereas Hit hardly ever spoke and always had an angry look to him. In his opinion, when it came to friends, they were the strangest combination. That reminds me, Kaba, Naruto starts. Hit also told me about these Saiyans that you guys met from Universe 7. What are your thoughts on them? He asks, wanting to know about them from his experience. They're really strong. Stronger than us. He says the last part a bit more quietly. Vegeta-san was the one that taught me how to transform into a Super Saiyan by saying he'd blow up the planet and everyone I loved. In rage, I transformed and fought back. I thought I was doing good, but he was holding back. He had a transformation called Super Saiyan Blue and beat me in one punch. Goku-san can also use Blue. I think they might be being trained by Beerus-sama. He says if they're being trained by a god of destruction, then they must be strong. Now I have to meet them, and I think I know just how to do that. He thinks to himself. Thanking Kaba for the info and once more congratulating him on getting stronger, Naruto left. He needed some rest and to plan out exactly what he was going to say. A few days later, Hit and Naruto were once again training, neither going all in, just simple training session as they're known to do. As Naruto prepared to strike, Hit spoke. I heard something I think you'd be interested in hearing. Your kid brother was in Universe 7's Earth recently. The assassin comments. Naruto immediately drops his fighting stance. His brows furrow in confusion. What was he doing there? We have no business with Universe 7. Naruto asks, trying to figure out just what his brother might be doing. I was told he was fighting with the two Saiyans from Universe 7 I was telling you about. Goku and Vegeta. He informs him I was told the last they saw of him he left through some sort of black portal. My guess is he's messing with time. Hit tells him. Naruto meanwhile continues thinking what exactly his brother thinks he's doing. Going to Universe 7 to pick a fight with two Saiyans, one's being trained by Lord Beerus no less. Hit, do you think you could get in contact with Champa for me? He asked the assassin. What for? Asked Hit, trying to figure out what Naruto was planning. Not only that, but talking to the god of destruction wasn't exactly what he wanted to do. The threat of being killed after the fight with Son Goku still left a bad taste in his mouth. I need to talk to him, well, more like I need a favor from him, but you get the point. He answers. Very well, but you'll owe me one. Hit says, agreeing. The following day the two once again found themselves in their usual training area, however this time they had company. The first was Champa, a purple cat-like humanoid, similar to Beerus, but with a plumper build contrasting Beerus and likewise a much shorter tail. He wears clothing which resembles that of the ancient Egyptian royalty like Beerus, complete with a red and pink collar with white linings on both edges, corresponding with Vados, his attendant. Vados is a tall humanoid with pale blue skin, violet eyes, and long white hair, similar to Whis, although she wears it as a high ponytail. She carries a long scepter with a gem that floats above it, and she usually holds her staff in her right hand. Around her neck is a large light blue ring. Her attire consists of green robes, a black cuirass with the same white and orange circle decorations as the god of destruction Champa, and a red sash. She also wears white high-heeled shoes with black soles. Okay Hit, we're here, now what do you want? You've never reached out to me like this before. The god of destruction asked, crossing his arms looking annoyed. Before Hit could reply, Naruto walked forward and bowed in front of the god and his assistant. Hello Champa-sama, Vados-sama, I'm Naruto Black. I was the one who asked Hit to get in contact with you. He admits. Both deities turn to look at him. Champa scrunches his face in confusion while Vados clarifies for him. The Saiyan from Universe 10 Champa-sama. Okay, what do you want? He asked rudely. I wanted to request a service from Vados-sama, he explains looking at the angel. Said angel just raised an eyebrow and looked over to see what Champa would do. What would I get out of it? He wasn't going to let someone get a favor from him without something in return after all. I heard about the tournament that is to take place for Zeno-sama. Should you grant me this request, I'll participate in this universal tournament and represent both you and Universe 6. Ha 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 ha, I already have a few Saiyans in mind for the tournament, one of which just underwent a transformation making him more powerful, he said, referring to Kaba them plus Hit, whose power is near mine. Why would I need some no-name Saiyan from Universe 10? He asked rhetorically. It took a great deal of self-restraint to not strangle the god where he stood, but he managed it. Rather than let his anger get him, he had an idea. Vados-sama, he called, getting her attention, can you create a barrier that won't allow energy to escape as well as not letting anyone see us? The request piqued her interest. She raised her scepter in the air and in seconds a light blue dome surrounded the area where he and Hit would train. Naruto spread his feet apart slightly and bent his knees as he powered up. Everyone watched as a black energy surrounded him while the inside of the energy was a very dark pink. The ground beneath them began breaking until finally the entire dome was consumed by the power he was emitting. When it finally died down, it showed Naruto in his transformed form. His hair was pink, which also had pure white highlights. His eyebrows were also pink as well as his eyes. His entire body was also highlighted in a dark pink aura. He's much stronger than all those years ago. His aura didn't feel this strong before, Hit thinks to himself as he watched his friend transform. What? Yelled Champa, shocked that there was someone else besides Hit with power that could potentially rival his own. He had planned on leaving the moment the Saiyan made that stupid request, but now. If I have him on the team, I could rub it in Beerus' stupid face that my Saiyan is stronger than theirs, he thinks to himself as he tries to control his glee. Well, what do you think, Champa-sama? I call this Super Saiyan Rose. Are you sure you'd like to pass up on me joining your team? Naruto asks, trying not to sound like a smartass. Champa was important to him right now. Trying to save some face, Champa put a hand up to his chin and pretended to think about his request. Very well. Vados, help the Saiyan with what he needs. I'm going to go eat. Of course Champa-sama, she replies as they watch Champa leave. She turns to Naruto and asks, so what is it you request of me? Can you show me what my brother is doing right now? She taps her scepter on the ground and a projection appears from out of the gem floating atop her scepter. The image that appears is that of his brother fighting the two Saiyans Hit had told him about. It was uncanny how they were practically twins and had the same name. The two Saiyans were fighting in their Super Saiyan blue form, while his brother was fighting in his rose form. Vados-sama, can you take us to the battle but keep us hidden from detection? I can. We will be in a barrier created by me. So long as we stay in the barrier, we'll be undetectable to anyone except for any other angels that may be in the area. Naruto looks over at Hit, who hadn't said anything the whole time this has gone down. Yo, you wanna come with us? Hit looks at the screen and sees Goku using a Kamehameha and nods in agreement. Vados creates the barrier around the three of them and they headed out. Naruto, Hit, and Vados appeared in a destroyed city. By the looks of things, one would imagine it was abandoned after being used as a war grounds, which honestly wasn't too far off from the truth. The trio's attention was drawn to the unmistakable sound of fists colliding. Naruto noticed a flash of pink collide with a flash of blue. He watched as his brother along with the apprentice of Goasu fought two blue-haired Saiyans, which could only be Goku and Vegeta. Looks like Hit wasn't kidding when he said they had a transformation similar to his own. He'd have to talk to them once this was over. Hit meanwhile had his own thoughts on the matter, though they weren't on Goku, Vegeta, or the white-haired Kai. Rather, it was on Black. Something is off with his transformation. His version of Rose is much weaker than Naruto's. In fact, it seems similar to his accomplice. Hit wasn't the only one thinking this, as Naruto had extended his senses to get a feel for everyone on the battlefield. Doing this, he quickly deduced what was wrong. He's been granted the same power as Zamasu, that's why his rose isn't as powerful. He's using a tainted version. Idiot. They watched as Vegeta landed punch after punch on Black before kicking him through a couple buildings. Zamasu seemed like he wanted to help but was being stopped by Goku, who hit him with a strong kick, leaving him in a crater on the ground. So what are you going to do? Hit asked, still watching the battles. He was impressed. It hadn't been too long since the exhibition match and the two had gotten much stronger, especially Vegeta. For now we watch until we get an idea of just what my brother is trying to do. He responded. As it turned out, they wouldn't have to wait too long to get their answer as Black detached himself from the wall Vegeta had embedded him in. You mortals are becoming more of a nuisance. Black says as he looks over at Zamasu. Playtime is over. For these mortals who continue to ignorantly desecrate the gods, it's time to show the true power of gods. He says as he flicks his Patara earring. So he believes he's no longer a human, huh? Naruto said out loud as he listened to his brother monologue. If I had to guess, I'd say he's been corrupted by his accomplice, said the Angel of Universe 6. Once more Naruto extended his senses, only this time he focused it a little more on the two and found out Vados was correct. They had almost completely similar energy. At this point in time they're basically the same person, who knows how long it's been like this for. Not only that, but he also felt the energy of two others in the area, one was familiar while the other was similar to the first. Goasu was here. The Supreme Kai of Universe 10 was someone Naruto always got along with. Then let us begin, says Zamasu as he removes his Patara earring and holds it up. Having enough of this, the elder Black decided it was time to go. Hit the assassin nods and they disappear from the dome Vados had them in. Said Angel stayed, wanting to see how this would play out. Something about this Saiyan was interesting. Just to make sure this goes on without any interruption. Black says as he begins charging up black energy in his hands. Just as Goku and Vegeta were going to counter with their own attacks, something happened. 1 minute Black is about to attack, the next minute both him and Zamasu are shot in opposite directions. What the hell just happened, Kakarot? Asked Vegeta as he looked around for any new threats. I don't know, but we should be more alert. Goku responded before they could say anything else. Two warriors appeared in front of them, one of which they both quickly recognized. The other stood there, Zamasu's Patara in hand. Hit! Goku says joyously. Vegeta wasn't as enthusiastic, his defeat still lingering in his mind. What are you doing here? Goku continued. And who's this? So you two are the Saiyans Hit told me about. Naruto began. My name is Naruto Black. The moment the words left his lips, everyone tensed up. Goku and Vegeta put a bit of distance between them as a precaution. Seeing their reaction, Naruto spoke. There's no reason to get so tense and on guard, I'm not like him. And in case any of you were wondering, yes, we're related. He's my younger brother by a year. They all look up as they saw Black had pulled himself out of the rubble he'd been thrown in and was floating ominously over them, though he was glaring at both Hit and Naruto. Naruto Black said through clenched teeth, unhappy with the unexpected turn of events. The appearance of his brother wasn't something he was expecting just yet. This would make things more difficult. What are you doing here? He followed up. Zamasu appeared next to him, wiping the blood off his mouth from the kick that had sent him away. I should be the one asking you that. We have no business in Universe 7, so imagine my surprise when I hear you're over here causing problems. And what the hell is all this about mortals you keep going on about? Naruto asked in disappointment. TSK. You wouldn't understand, Naruto. You've always hung around with the insects of our universe. Even after meeting the gods you went back to those bugs. I used to be like you, until I saw how despicable humans can be. I learned that as long as humans exist we will never live in a peaceful world. The only way for that to happen is to erase all mortals and have a universe of gods only. He finished by slightly raising his hands and flaring his power. If you were smart, you and your friend would get out of here and let us finish our business. Comments Zamasu. Should you leave now, we promise that the two of you will be spared when we get rid of the mortals in the other universes. Naruto just shook his head. The two of you are stupid beyond belief. You, he said pointing to Zamasu, you should know I don't take orders that I don't agree with, especially from someone weaker than me. Hell, I even ignored some of Rumshi's orders. And you? He turned his attention to his brother. I always knew you made stupid decisions, but this one by far is the worst one. You took power from the wannabe Kai just to try and pull this little stunt off. You allowed yourself to be given power like some sort of charity case. You are a disgrace to the Saiyan race. He finished angrily. Hey, you got that right, Vegeta agreed with him. So if you're related to him, then that means you can also turn into this Super Saiyan Rose. It was said more as a statement than a question. Naruto looked at him before turning his attention back to Black. Suddenly the surrounding area felt differently as Naruto also transformed into his rose form. Everyone felt the change in the atmosphere as Naruto's rose form was on a completely different level than that of Black's. Somewhere off in the distance the Supreme Kais of Universe 7 and 10 also felt the power Naruto was emitting. Goasu's eyes widened a fraction as he recognized who that power belonged to. It was one he hadn't felt in a few years. That power, it's definitely Naruto. Goasu says. Shin looks over at him in confusion, not having heard of such a person here. Who is that Goasu? The Supreme Kai smiled. A powerful warrior from my universe. Our chances of survival have just increased dramatically. So it's not just Black who can transform. Goku says, interested in meeting another person who can do the rose transformation. How did you achieve it? He asked, and although Vegeta didn't say anything, he too wanted to know. I achieved this form after fighting with the god of destruction from my universe. I'm interested in knowing how you two came about getting a similar blue form, he said as he looked at them. He was going to say but they felt two jumps in power and watched as Black and Zamasu began powering up. Stay out of it, he's my brother. If anyone's going to put him down it's gonna be me, Naruto said as he seemingly disappeared from his spot on the ground. He appeared between them and moved his head to the side, allowing his brother's punch to miss him completely. He lifted his left forearm to block an oncoming kick from Zamasu and quickly grabbed the man's leg and threw him aside. He quickly had to move aside to avoid a pink energy blade that was being aimed his way. Though throughout all of this he wasn't fazed. He once more moved aside, letting Black swing with the blade before stopping it with one of his own. He then caught a punch with his free hand, pulled him down and shot a knee to Black's chin, propelling him upwards. He seemingly teleports above Black and sends him crashing back down with a black ki blast. He turned his attention over to Zamasu, who was looking at him through narrowed eyes, clearly not at all happy with the turn of events. Naruto lifted one hand and motioned him to try and attack. He then put both hands behind his back and flared his power some. He begins dodging and weaving through both their attacks without removing his hands from behind his back, making no effort to attack back at the moment. Simply letting them tire themselves out. He smacked away punches and kicks coming from both gods in unison before thrusting a palm at Zamasu. The green man dodged and ignited his hand with his purple energy, but before he was able to do anything he was met with a kick to the chin and the body of Black crashing into him. Neither man got time to react as they felt themselves hit a stone pillar. Zamasu was barraged by well-calculated punches that he managed to dodge, for the first 3 seconds. His guard was broken by a straight right that damaged his neck for sure. Naruto relented and floated back in the air and looked down on them. He put his hands back behind him and waited for them to try again. This enraged Zamasu to no end. This mortal was playing with them. Even worse was that he had his Patara earring. That was the key to their success. Black appeared besides Naruto with his hand ignited with his pink energy blade and went to swipe at him to no avail. It was blocked by Naruto's own black one. Naruto looks at him before closing his eyes. Pathetic was all he said before appearing behind Black and piercing him through the back and kicking his body down. Down below many people had their own thoughts as to what was going on in the sky. Hit took notice of the form Naruto was using. That form, it's the same one he used when we first fought before he found out about my time skip. He gave up using it against me after realizing my time skip would counter him. Now however, he gave his friend a hard stare. Friends they may be, but they were also warriors. He wanted to know how he would fare now. Vados, who still hadn't moved from where they landed, also had thoughts to weigh in on the matter. That's the form we teach the gods of destruction. His form has its flaws, but for a mortal that's the best I've ever seen someone replicated in battle. To lower beings it's almost perfect. Seems like Rumshi took an interest in him. She thought to herself, she wouldn't mention this to Champa, but she'd have to have a talk with this Saiyan. Vegeta, do you see it? Goku asks, not taking his eyes off Naruto. If he wasn't interested in this new Saiyan before, he definitely was now. Vegeta, knowing exactly what he was talking about, nods. Yeah, he fights almost exactly like Beerus. Just who the hell was this guy? Yeah, except his movements aren't as smooth. It's not second nature to him like it is to Beerus-sama. There's something different about his way. Goku comments. While he may not be a genius in the conventional sense, his fighting IQ is part of the reason why he's so strong. To him and Vegeta, seeing the difference was easy. I've indulged your foolishness for too long, brother. Naruto says, whatever people were thinking or doing immediately stopped. Naruto used a burst of speed to kick Zamasu a few feet from him and picked up Black by his pink hair. You had your chance to stop this nonsense, but you refused to listen, much to your disadvantage and to my annoyance. And that is not forgivable. Everyone watched as the aura around Naruto began to get flare up once more. Combinations of black and pink lightning surrounded him as his power continued to grow. This kept up until next to Naruto, a clone of him appeared. The most astonishing part, however, was that the clone was also in Super Saiyan Rose form. Out of all the spectators in the audience, Nan was more shocked than Shin. How? He manages to croak out. I've seen cloning techniques before, but there's an obvious flaw. Power needs to be divided equally between the original and the clones, so if there's one clone they should both have half power. But this clone is also in Rose form, and doesn't feel any less strong. Just who is this? He thought to himself watching the fight. Now then, Naruto begins, still not having let go of Black. I'm afraid if I leave you alone you'll continue causing problems. Big enough to where even Zeno-sama might have to be called, and I can't allow that. He raised his right hand and summoned a dark purple ball of energy that caught everyone off guard once more. That's Hakai energy, Goasu points out, wondering how Naruto got a hold of it. Ha 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 ha, I'm immortal, brother. No matter what you do I can't be killed. Black laughs/coughs. Naruto says nothing but slams the dark energy into his brother's gut and lets go in time to watch the ball trap him. Black stops his maniacal laugh and begins looking around, panicking as he watches his body begin to erase from existence, starting from the feet and hands. What? How? I'm immortal, I can't be killed, I can't be killed. The rest was cut off as his body deteriorated completely. Zamasu stood still, eyes wide open, feeling genuine fear for the first time. He was about to flee when he felt an immense pain in his back and internal organs. As he hit the ground he managed to see behind him and found Hit, standing with his hands in his pockets looking down on him. Hit knew you'd probably try something stupid like running. He used his time skip and took you down for me. I appreciate that, by the way. He adds at the end to the assassin. Hit just nods. Naruto releases the clone and gathers some divine ki into his hands and forms another black energy ball and releases it to the immobilized form of Zamasu. When the blast finally calmed down they saw the destroyed body of the Kai. His lower half was gone as well as his left arm. I know you're immortal, however injuries taken by divine ki infused attacks take longer for you to regenerate from. He bends down and picks him up by the throat before tossing his form at the feet of Goasu. Take him to Rumshi. He told the Universe 10 Kai. Have him erase him with a Kai. Goasu looks down at the dismembered form of his apprentice and sighs sadly at what he became. Son Goku, Hit calls out. When the tournament begins, be ready. This time I won't be holding back. He comments. Goku smirks, already getting excited at the thought of a rematch with Hit. Count on it, Naruto, Hit calls out as he nods his head in Vados' general direction. Right with that the two of them disappeared, leaving only the inhabitants of Universe 7 and Goasu. I can't believe it, Trunks comments looking at the body of Zamasu. This brought all the attention to the time traveler. He handled Black and Zamasu like nothing. Who was that? He asked the Kais. You know something, don't you? Vegeta asks Goasu. The old Kai sighs and nods. Naruto, Black is, or rather was, a warrior from my own Universe 10. He was always powerful, so much so that he became our God of Destruction's unofficial apprentice. Similar to how Zamasu was with me. He states. So that's why he fought so similarly to Beerus-sama. The angels teach the gods their martial arts. Goku comments, things making more sense now. But wait, I don't understand. Vegeta added, if he was from your universe, what was he doing with the hitman from Universe 6? When Naruto was still training with Rumshi, word was going around that he'd be succeeding him as the God of Destruction in the coming years, but they had a falling out. They had different views on how problems should be handled in the universe. I'm not quite certain of the details, but the arguments eventually escalated to a battle in which Naruto did manage to injure Rumshi before leaving his domain. Days later he left the universe completely. How he did so I'm not sure, I hadn't heard from him since. I was quite surprised when I saw him appear today with the Universal Hitman from Universe 6. So that's why he's so strong. If he was the apprentice of a God of Destruction, Black and Zamasu were probably nothing to him. Trunks states. Do you think he'll be participating in the tournament? Shin asked. I can almost guarantee it, Goasu said as he picked up his apprentice. Well, I have to take this to Rumshi-sama, I'll see you all at the tournament, he said as he disappeared. Well, we better go tell Beerus-sama that everything got handled and prepare for the tournament. It looks like it's gonna be harder than we first imagined, Goku said as they all left the scene. The trio arrived back at Hit's training ground where they had first departed from. The protective dome that Vados created for them released and they were free. Well, that was certainly interesting. Vados comments as she looks over at the two warriors. She didn't know Hit and Naruto had teamwork the way they did. They didn't even talk before taking Zamasu down. That's one word for it, I guess. Naruto comments looking mildly upset. Well, as interesting as that was, it's time for me to go. Goodbye now. She says before being engulfed in white light and disappearing. Hit looks over at his fellow warrior and says, "You had to destroy your own brother today, that couldn't have been easy. How are you feeling?" he asked, his demeanor still serious. To anyone else it may seem strange seeing the universal assassin asking about a person's feelings, but just like anyone else he cared about those he saw as comrades. "In all honesty, I'm feeling a bit down about it. I killed my own brother. I'd rather not have done it, but he was becoming a danger not only to himself but to everyone else. If I hadn't been the one to kill him, I fear Zeno-sama would have had to be called and that wouldn't have ended well for anyone. He needed to be put down," he said with conviction. Hit was about to comment when a beeping noise sounded from his pocket. He pulled out a green jewel-looking apparatus and held it out in the palm of his right hand. The image of an overweight, light blue-skinned alien appeared from the jewel. He had lots of jewelry with slicked-back blonde hair as well as an arrogant smirk, along on his face. Naruto got a look at the man and commented, "Looks like a typical mob boss. Someone must have a lot of money to hire you of all people to kill this guy." Hit nods, knowing it's expensive to hire him. "I've got a job, I'll see you around," he says as he stuffs his hands in his pockets and flies off. Naruto watches as the purple light fades away. With his power, this guy's as good as dead, he comments to himself. As he said those words, a sudden thought came to mind. Yeah, that might just work. Vados appeared besides Champa, who was dressed in a white sleeping gown and was currently snoring in his bed. "Champa-sama," she said, effectively ending his nap. "I've returned." "I can see that, Vados," he said angrily, upset that his sleep had been interrupted. He was dreaming about beating Beerus into the ground before she had woken him up. "So what did the Saiyan want?" he asked, sitting up, rubbing the crust out of his eyes. "He wanted to take care of some business regarding his brother. While we're on the subject of the young Saiyan though, I think he'll be a great asset during the tournament. Assuming the other universes don't have extremely powerful warriors as well," she says. "Why's that?" he asks. "He's very skilled. In terms of raw power alone, I'd say in a few years he'd probably be able to kill Sidra," she comments. "Possibly Rumshi as well," she added the last part in her head. "While Sidra is one of the weaker gods of destruction, he's still a god nonetheless," she adds. "Looks like I hit the jackpot with this one." Ha 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 ha, he laughs, thinking about how he could rub this in Beerus' face. As for the other universes, there's a way to find out. "Bring me the Saiyan tomorrow, I've got a plan. Those fools from the other universes will have no idea what hit them. I almost feel sorry for them," he says happily. "I only feel sorry for one fool, and it's not the other gods," she says, laughing at the end. "Huh?" Champa asks, confused, not getting what Vados had said. "Whatever, I'm going back to sleep." The following day, in a secluded part of their Earth, Naruto was having a sparring session against a clone of himself, both in Super Saiyan form. He was working on increasing his speed. After having taken that attack from Hit, whose time skip had increased to half a second, he knew he needed to be faster. "Either I have to be fast enough to land a hit on him before he does his time skip, or I have to react fast enough to block wherever he's going to come at me from," he says to himself as he begins dodging and blocking an assault from himself. The two exchanged punches and kicks, none of which were connecting. "TSK. Useless," he says as he releases his clone and feels more power return to him. "The only way I'm going to get better is to fight someone strong. My brother and Zamasu weren't even close to making me take it seriously." As he spoke to himself, he stopped as he felt the arrival of another person behind him. Turning around, he saw Vados floating just a few feet away from him. She touched down on the ground and looked around, noticing some of the damaged rocks in the area. "Vados-sama, what are you doing here? Do you need something of me?" he asks, bowing slightly. "I'm here because Champa-sama would like to have a word with you. He didn't tell me what he wanted to talk to you about though. You never know what's going on in that head of his," she says. Releasing his Super Saiyan form, he sighs. "Lead the way," he says as he walks over to her. "You sound more annoyed than anything else," she comments, having heard the silent sigh. Most people would be rather afraid when told a god of destruction wanted a word with them. "I'm not really too fond of Champa. He's kind of an idiot. No offense," he added at the last second, knowing he had just insulted her martial arts student. To his relief, she just laughed. "No, you're right, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And as for the second part of your question," he began as her scepter began glowing, "I'm not afraid of him." With that, the light engulfed them and they were gone. They reappeared at the center of Champa's castle. This was Naruto's first time here and had to admit it was a pretty cool place. It was certainly different from Rumshi's base. "About time you got here," he hears from his side. There was Champa eating something he hadn't seen before. Bowing, he asks, "Champa-sama, I was told you wanted to see me?" Finishing his, whatever it was, the god answered. "Yes. So I've been thinking." Amazing, Naruto whispers almost inaudibly to himself. He went rigid as he heard Vados chuckle slightly from her spot next to Champa. Fearing the god might have heard and they'd have to fight, he looked over at the deity and to his relief he was still talking. We're going to need an edge in this tournament. He finishes. Makes sense. If you could give your team the best possible chance of winning, why not do it? How will we get it? He asked, now curious as to what the god had in mind. We already have a slight edge with you and hit on the team. The two of you are powerful individually, and together I'm sure you two could be a near unstoppable duo. But my plan is to have you go spy on the other universes. He says, looking at Naruto to gauge his reaction. Naruto thought it over and was somewhat impressed that Champa could have thought of this. If done correctly, it could possibly give them an edge, though the Saiyan part of him wanted to just go in blind and battle it out with the strongest the others had to offer. So what exactly are we trying to figure out? He says, rubbing his chin, the general stuff. Who's gonna be in the tournament, weaknesses, their attacks. Anything to give us an advantage. He finishes while smacking a fist into his palm. I'm impressed he actually had a decent idea. He thinks to himself. Very well, where should we start? Belmont has always gotten on my nerves, stupid clown. He mumbles angrily to himself. You'll start in Universe 11, from there we'll decide where you'll head to after. Nodding, he asks, how will I get there undetected? When I first came to Universe 6, Fuwa-sama immediately knew I had arrived and sought me out to ask what I was doing here. He says, remembering when he got here. Champa-sama, I have a suggestion. Why not have him use the cube we were offering hit during the tournament with Beerus-sama? He'll be able to get in and out undetected like when we gathered the Super Dragon Balls. She suggests. She could have always taken him herself, but she didn't want to be going to different universes for unknown amounts of time. That could work. He says, summoning the cube. Naruto takes it and looks over the palm-sized transparent blue cube. Looking back up, he says, I don't think I'll fit in here. Knowing Champa would probably yell at him, Vados explained, it'll expand the moment you push your divine key into it. I've already set it up to transport you to a planet on Universe 11. It's programmed to get there and to bring you back here when activated again. From here we'll reprogram it to the next universe and so on. Nodding and understanding, the Saiyan asked Champa, alright, if I'm going to be undercover I'm going to change before leaving. Showing up with a Patara earning would certainly draw attention. As he was about to leave, he stopped as he remembered something from earlier. Actually, before I go, Vados-sama, may I have a word? In private. She debated whether to entertain him again or not, but the last time she did she witnessed something interesting. Wonders what it'll be this time. Yes, what do you need of me? She asked. You saw when I destroyed my brother, correct? A nod was his answer. Well, not everything was destroyed. Something survived that little ordeal. He states cryptically. She takes a second to think over what she had seen before the answer came to her. Everyone else was preoccupied with the fight, but as an angel she saw every little detail. His time ring. That's right, I saw it once we had already made it back to you. No one else noticed it in the commotion. I was hoping you'd do me the favor of summoning it for me, he stated. She smirks and taps her scepter on the ground. In between her index finger and thumb the silver time ring appeared. However, she didn't hand it over. Holding it up in front of him with an amused look on her face, she says, time travel is illegal, you know? Even you were to try and use it, you wouldn't be able to travel to the future as your Patara isn't linked to a Supreme Kai. Your brother only managed it because he shared one with Zamasu. So what do you need this for? She asks curiously. Who said anything about having to travel to the future? He countered with a smirk. Ho? And what do you mean by that? She asks, now happy she decided to humor his request. He explains his idea that he had earlier to her and waited for her feedback. Tapping her chin, she nodded slowly. I suppose it could work since you're not traveling through time. If you can control your ki correctly, then it should be possible. She says and tosses him the ring. Catching it, he puts it in his pocket. Finished with their conversation, they turn back to their god of destruction, who looked irritated being left out of the loop. So how long will I be there? He asked. The details of the tournament haven't been released yet. Once we know for sure, I'll have Vados fetch you if you haven't returned already. He says. Very well, I'm going to go change and head out. Anything else, Champa-sama? He asks. No, that will be all. Get going. After being teleported back to the earth, he changed clothing, removed his Patara earring and pocketed it along with his time ring. He was now sporting regular black pants with a matching thin jacket. Pulling out the cube, he activated it and stepped inside. The effect was immediate. He felt a slight pulling sensation before he disappeared completely. He appeared in some strange back alley. Looking up, he could make out the night sky and some very high-tech looking high-rise buildings. The cube powers down back to its original size and he picks it up and pockets it. Zipping up the jacket, walks out into the street. How should I go about this? He says as he wanders. His stomach growls as he walks. He realized he hadn't eaten all day today. He looked around and saw a dimly lit ramen sign a street away and decided that was the place for him. Walking over, he ordered 2 bowls of miso and sat down off to the side by himself. Picking up a paper that was on the table, he began reading while keeping his ears open for any info that may float around. All right, I need to find a place to stay for now. Can't go sleeping on the streets, he thought as he waited for his food. When it finally came, he ate it in record time. He was really hungry. Luckily, this place accepted the same currency as back in Universe 6. What a stroke of luck. Unfortunately, that meal cost him all he had on him. Walking out, he couldn't help but notice a drunk guy yelling at nobody next to him approaching. This is my chance. As soon as the man was close enough, Naruto intentionally bumped into the man. Whoa, I'm so sorry, sir. He apologized. Watch where you're going. The man yelled at him and shoved him to the side. Normally he would have gone over to sort the man out, however, he looked back and watched the man continue down the street and pulled his hand out of his pocket. He now had a handful of bills that were going to cover his sleeping expenses. Looking around, he found an inn not too far off. It didn't take long to get there and book a few nights. Looking around his new accommodations, he opens the blinds and stares out the window. How the hell am I going to find out who's in the tournament? He asked himself out loud as he stared at the bright city lights below him. There's so many planets and galaxies in the universe, they could come from anywhere. Damn it, Champa. Deciding to get comfortable, he dresses down to his boxers and sits on the bed. Pulling out the time ring and stares at it for a second. Might as well get some training in, he says as he also puts on his Patara earring. He sees a plastic water heater on one of the shelves and puts it on the floor. Putting the ring on, he closes his eyes and sits cross-legged on the bed. Had anyone been in the room with him, they'd have seen his body glow dark black with a pink tint, similar to when he transforms. Only difference is that this time there was no transformation. After an hour of meditating, he heard it. Opening his eyes, he saw the broken pieces of plastic and smirked. It worked, he said, panting a bit as it took more out of him than he expected. The following day, once more, he was out in the city trying to get any information he could. As he tried to figure out where to go, the planet shook. He tensed and looked around, gauging the reactions of all the inhabitants. To his surprise, no one was surprised or even worried. In fact, they continued on like nothing strange was going on at all. What the hell? He mumbled. Walking over to an elderly woman who was selling little souvenirs and asked her. Excuse me, ma'am, why isn't anyone freaking out after that? He said, referring to the earthquake. Ha ha ha, she laughed softly. No, young one, that wasn't an earthquake. It was probably some monster deciding to terrorize somewhere on the planet, she said calmly. Tilting his head in confusion, he said, isn't that all the more reason to worry? You'd think something attacking your planet would be more of a concern. No, because the Pride Troopers will take care of them. Honestly, the youth these days don't pay attention to anything, do you? On another note, could I interest you in a tea set? She asked, trying to make a sale. Pride Troopers? Now we're getting somewhere. He thanks her and denies her offer of the tea set and heads off. He knew where he needed to go. He went down to the nearest electronics store he could find and headed up to the 5th floor, where all the computers were located. Luckily for him, the one display computer was free. Quickly occupying it, he opened up a search engine and typed in Pride Troopers. Ah, the Pride Troopers. A voice said from behind him. It was one of the workers of the store. You must have heard about the creature attacking earlier. I tell you, if we didn't have the Pride Troopers, I honestly don't know what we'd do. He comments. With Topo-sama's power, I'm surprised creatures even try. Before he could say anything else, the associate was called away by his supervisor, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. Erasing his previous search, he typed in Topo. Dear Lord, look at his hands. He comments. Scrolling down, he read how he was the leader of the Pride Troopers, the strongest fighters of evil in the universe. It's a universal tournament. If these guys are the strongest, then they'll most likely be the chosen ones. He goes one by one, clicking on all the names, getting as much information as he could from the internet. Looking around, he walks around the store until he finds a piece of paper and a pen and begins writing. As he's writing down the most important pieces of info, he comes across something strange. He had written down a lot on 9 of the members, but one of them had no information whatsoever. Just a picture. A buff alien-looking man wearing the typical black and red bodysuit. He was meditating while the others were posing for the photo. There was no description, no power information, no background, notable fights, nothing. There's something off about this guy. Just who are you? He asks himself as he stares at the picture back at his temporary place. Naruto took out the pieces of paper with the notes he took on the Universe 11 warriors. All of them, if not all of them, will be in the tournament, I'm sure of it. He says to himself as he goes over 3 sheets he had separated. The biggest threats in the tournament will be these 3 for sure. Topo, Dispo, and this gray guy. For the next 2 hours he went through each paper noting their attacks and thinking of possible counter-strategies should he need them. Topo's most notable attack was the bear hug. Of course it is, guys built like a school bus, he thinks to himself before laughing silently at his diss. Dispo has speed that apparently can't be matched, hopefully his technique can be done by then. A rabbit man that's fast, how original, he thought to himself. Thank Kami that the internet made their power public knowledge, he said to himself. If only they had information on the gray though, that's still bugging him. He was without a doubt the most dangerous one of the whole Universe 11 squad. He just knew it. Oh well, can't be too greedy I guess. I got a lot of useful information. He says as he puts the papers away and gets back on the bed. As per usual when practicing he closes his eyes and meditates, allowing his aura to manifest around him. Taking a few deep breaths, the heatwave-like shimmer in the air appeared as he began. The television in the room levitated a few feet off of the counter it was on and began turning. It stayed levitated before being placed down and his shoes began being tossed up and down. Opening his eyes, Naruto saw what was happening and smirked. He brought his hand up and briefly appreciated the time ring before throwing his shirt in the direction of the shoes. One shoe dropped and the shirt stayed in place in the air. Good, it's getting easier, he said as everything fell. The next day Naruto left his place and began wandering around town thinking to himself. What now? I'm almost positive I know who's going to be in the tournament. I know their powers and for the most part thought of ways to neutralize them should we have to fight them. Looks like there's no other choice, time to go tell Champa already. As he turned around heading back to the alley where he arrived he felt a tremor. This one stronger than the first one he experienced. Unlike last time though the people were actually running in fear this time. He flies into the air to get a better view and possibly see what's going on. He found it. It was 5 miscreants with firearms causing mass panic. 2 had RPGs while the others were shooting semi-automatics. So it was the rocket launchers that caused the tremors. Shouldn't the Pride troopers be here taking care of this by now? He asked himself as they took another shot at a building. Decided he couldn't just let this go on, he took off his jacket and stayed in his black undershirt. He flies in their direction and upon seeing him they all fire at will. Though it did very little, he was fast enough to move out of the way and shot a big enough key blast that separated them all as well as injuring them. Looking down he saw all the gunmen on the ground groaning in pain. That was pathetic, he told them and charged up several more key blasts. He fired about 15 in a second and that was the end of them. He was about to leave the scene when he heard a voice call out behind him. Stop! You're under arrest for the murder of those 5 individuals. Someone cries from behind him. Turning around he saw a man, his skin has a tan hue and his head is shaved. Part of his face is cybernetic, including an ear, and he has a robotic eye which is red. He has a communication device attached to his other ear. He wears a red beret and a sleeveless green tunic with gold trimmings and green armbands with gold trimmings. He also wears a belt with a silver buckle and dark pants. His boots are black and white. Naruto remembered him from the information he got. It was Kazurel and behind him the rest of the Pride troopers. They're missing 3 he realizes after sizing them up. Well, you weren't around as they were causing havoc so I went ahead and took care of it. Had I not, who knows how many people would have been killed. Besides, you were going to do this, weren't you? He asked. No, they'd be taken into custody and put on trial. No one has been reported dead so killing them would have been unnecessary. You on the other hand have murdered 5 individuals and for that you will be brought to justice. Now surrender, Kazurel said as he stepped forward. Wait. I just saved a bunch of people from these guys and you want to take me in? Not happening, he said. He couldn't believe they were actually going to try and take him for saving the people. Then you leave us no choice but to take you by force. Justice Saber. He yells as he creates a blade out of ki in his right hand and charges. The other members of the Pride troopers following suit. Justice Spin, yelled Zoire as he created a tornado and attacked. Seeing Kazurel near he parried the attack by manifesting his own blade, the same one he and his brother use. This caught the general by surprise as he had never met someone who could mimic his technique. Parrying the attack to the right he sent a left straight kick to the man's chest sending him away. He had to move out of the way as the tornado shot right past him. Landing he brought his hands up and began using both hands to block punches and kicks from Kunchi and Tupper. Punches, kicks, it didn't matter, none of them made it past his defense. The 2 jump back and are joined by a non-tornado form Zoire. Kunchi creates energy threads and begins sending them his way, creating explosions that kicked up dust. He looks at his comrades and nods while continuing his assault. Naruto looked at the smoke and saw something coming his way. Double Pride spin. Another tornado was coming his way, Just as he was about to move, he noticed Tupper being shot out of it, rolling at him at high speeds while also being set on fire. He briefly wondered how it wasn't hurting him but disregarded it. He raises his right hand and for a brief second a pink glow envelops it before allowing Tupper to slam into it. He continues spinning but everyone notices he's not doing any damage. Before he could stop the roll, Naruto uses the momentum against him and tosses him over at Vuan, who up to this point had been trying to charge up for some sort of dimensional attack if his memory served him correctly. The troopers regroup, panting, trying to think of a strategy to take this evil down. "My turn," Naruto says as he seemingly teleports in front of Kazurol and launches a fury of punches to the man's chest area. Punches strong enough that shot him into a building in the distance. Not letting up, he moves to Zoirei, who managed to block the first punch but was overwhelmed and had no chance to stop the rest. He threw an uppercut which sent the little man in the air. He shot a quick ki blast and moved over to Tupper as the explosion went off, signaling that Zoirei had been hit. Kazurol, who pulled himself out of the building, watched as his team was being beaten by this unknown man. He clicked a button on the side of his robotic eye and waited. 2 minutes later, Naruto had his foot on Kunshi's head and spoke, "This could have all been avoided, but you decided you wanted to fight instead. Let this be a lesson to you." He removed his foot and was about to leave when everyone heard, "Justice Flash." He quickly kicked Kunshi out of the way and jumped aside as 4 reddish-orange beams hit exactly where he was standing. Landing off to the side, he saw the newcomer. "Toppo, the leader. Toppo, my good friend, it's good to see you here. We're in a bit of a situation," Kazurol says as they look at him. "It's no problem, my friend. Where there's evil we shall be there to vanquish it," he said, the last part looking straight at Naruto. "I'm not evil, I was helping these people. They weren't having any of it." Silence. "For murdering these people and attacking the Pride troopers you must be dealt with." Looking over at Kazurol, he says, "You all did well, but I shall handle it from here." He rushes forward and their fists collide, creating a massive shockwave. They continue throwing punches and kicks with the occasional ki blast, but all were matched. Seeing as they weren't getting anywhere, Naruto powered up to his Super Saiyan form. They once more began trading punches and were even for a few seconds before Naruto found an opening and landed a straight right to Toppo's face. Toppo would block a few and receive shots to the face and body in succession. Toppo jumps back and red aura forms around his body as he once more rushes in. It was a massive increase in speed, one Naruto hadn't counting on the man having, and took 4 hits to the face and body. He felt his face get grabbed by the giant hand and was slammed into the ground. He feels himself get picked up again. Not wanting to get slammed, he powers up to Super Saiyan 2 and breaks the hold. The two are once again on even ground. Kicking Toppo in the head, he flies up into the air. "Justice Flash," Toppo yelled as he shot the beams. "Divine Retribution," Naruto yelled as a pink and black blast left his hand and collided with Toppo's own. The two pushed back and forth, both trying to win the fight for dominance. Down below, Toppo had his face scrunched into a frown, knowing this man was no ordinary man. He was able to keep up with him, something not many people could do. He felt his opponent's attack weaken slightly and added more power to his own. Victory was in sight. "Toppo," he heard from his comrades. Glancing at them, they pointed to his side and time slowed down as he saw what they were referring to. Next to him was a copy of his opponent. What was more alarming was that he was already charging an attack right next to him. "Ha!" Naruto yelled as he released a large black beam from his hands that enveloped Toppo. The man took it head on. When the smoke finally cleared, Toppo was shown standing on shaky legs. The right half of his upper body had the uniform burned off. Taking a good look, Toppo saw he was right, there was indeed 2 of them now. He didn't care to know how he did it, he just knew this fight had gone on long enough. "This guy is something else. I took him lightly and that was a mistake on my part. Even worse, I feel he's still hiding most of his power as he doesn't even look winded. I'm beginning to think even at full power I may not be able to win. Even so, should I go down, my trusted friend Jiren cannot be beaten." He thinks to himself as he once more powers up. The red aura completely engulfing him now as he rises to full power. Naruto gets into fighting position but begins to glow white. "What the?" In a flash he disappeared. Toppo stops as well. "Kazurol, can you sense where he's gone?" he asks as he looks around. "No sir, he's gone." Toppo looked like he was going to say something but stiffened for a second. "I'm sorry my friends, but I must go. Belmont-sama has called." Naruto looked around and realized he was back in Champa's domain. He saw the god and Vados to his left. "Champa-sama? What's going on? I just left a few days ago and you're already calling me back?" he asked rapidly, trying to figure out what was going on. "Huh? You've been gone for just under a year now," he said, shocking the Saiyan. Before he could say anything, the cat-like man continued. "All the gods and Kais have been summoned by the Grand Priest. I brought you back because he also asked for you specifically. Naruto frowned. Why would one of the strongest beings in the universe want to talk to him? We got 5 minutes before he transports us to Zeno's palace. Get changed, he ordered. Naruto changed with speed he didn't know he had, and was once again in his usual attire, patara and all. Is everyone ready? They hear through Vado's staff. Soon enough the four were teleported away. They appeared already kneeling alongside all of the other respective destroyers and Kais. He noticed he was behind Vados and Champa rather than by their side. Looking around he took a look at all the other people in the room. The most notable were a robot, some sort of fish creature, and a clown. Though if he was honest the clown was lucky as his angel was a dangerous looking woman. Before he looked away from her something else caught his attention. Behind them was a large man. Not just anyone, it was Toppo. You may all lift your heads, they heard the Grand Priest say. Rising they looked at him and everyone noticed that next to the king was Son Goku. Though only he and his universe knew him. Belmod, called the Grand Priest. The clown gave his attention. Who is that you brought with you? Ah yes, this is Toppo. You see I'm thinking of retiring soon, so I've taken to training him to an appropriate level before he can qualify as my official apprentice and successor as the God of Destruction for Universe 11. I brought him here so he could gain some experience in matters like this. He explains. So he's training under a God of Destruction. He's definitely strong, that's for sure, but not enough for me to worry about. He thought to himself. I see, very well. Please work hard to become a God of Destruction. He says before turning his attention to Naruto. Ah, Naruto Black. He greets. He notices Toppo look at him and narrow his eyes at him. Guess he finally noticed him. I've heard of you. I asked to see you because the last I heard you were the apprentice of the God of Destruction for Universe 10. But now you're here with Universe 6. May I ask why that is? Even though it sounded like a question, everyone knew it was an order. Of course. I was never officially made an apprentice. Similar to the Universe 11 situation, I had yet to reach the proper level in order to become the official successor. I was close but never actually got there. I left Universe 10 for personal reasons I can disclose to you if you'd like. I was then accepted in Universe 6 by both the Kai and God of Destruction. He explained. Your reasoning won't be necessary, he said. You will officially be recognized as a fighter from Universe 6. Now then, I have an announcement from the Omni King. It's sudden, but 5 clicks from now, or on the 157th hour of the 3,135,500,603rd day of the King's calendar, there will be a tournament of power. 10 selected members of each universe will compete. This tournament will only be for the universes with the lowest mortal level, that being below 7. Therefore, universes 1, 5, 8, and 12 will be exempt from fighting. As for the rest of you, your fighters will compete in an 80-man free-for-all with the losing universes being erased. He announces. This was met with silent murmurs all around. Well, we know who Universe 11 is going to select. Naruto thinks to himself, glad that he had gotten the information. Said Zeno, who up until now had been quiet. Is there a problem? The Grand Priest asks calmly. I wonder if the gods should participate in this tournament as well. I see. How about an exhibition match then? To see whether or not you'll like that. He suggests. Whoa. Do it, he yelled happily. Very well, let me create a fighting stage. Within seconds the surrounding area transformed into an elaborate arena, all the gods and Kai standing on their own floating platform over the ring. Now, will all the gods of destruction please enter the fighting arena? The Grand Priest called out. Naruto stood on the platform with Vados and looked down at all the gods. This would be a good opportunity to see what they could do. Son Goku. This is all your fault, Beerus yelled from the arena as he looked at the mortal from Universe 7. This was a bad idea on his end as all the other gods turned to face him looking less than pleased at the revelation. Probably shouldn't have said that out loud, Naruto comments to Vados. She nods and watches as the gods all seem to target Beerus. Naruto had to admit he was impressed by the god of Universe 7. Even against the other 11 he was holding his own pretty well. Finally, after 10 or so minutes of them ganging up on him, Belmod decided to branch off and attack everyone else. He trapped everyone in energy spheres and created key cards and shot them at everyone. It became a 12-god free-for-all. It seemed all 12 gods had some sort of power that distinguished them. In the end it came down to Beerus versus Quitella, both beaten and bloody. They charged at each other and threw a punch but were ultimately blocked by the Grand Priest, who stopped them both with one finger each. Well damn. Naruto commented, watching the Grand Priest stop gods like they were kids. Unfortunately the fighting was too intense for the Omni King to truly enjoy, therefore the fight was stopped. It has been decided that the gods of destruction will be disqualified from participating in the actual tournament. He says and turns to Zeno. Should we cancel the tournament? Wait. They hear and see Goku flying up to Zeno. Won't be like that Zen-chan, I promise. While he was busy talking to Zeno, all the gods and Kais were in a state of disbelief that Goku had called the Omni King Zen-chan. Can you show me a fight? Asked Zeno to Goku. Well, it's not like I mind, but I don't think I can hold up against gods right now. I'll need to get stronger. He replied not to worry. Interrupted the Grand Priest, you'll be facing a mortal. Luckily we happen to have two with us here. Which one of you two would like to take on Son Goku in an exhibition match for Zeno-sama? He asked, looking at both him and Toppo. Toppo steps forward and speaks. Before anything, I'd like to ask something, Grand Priest, said man nods. Since you're here, are the two of you also God of Destruction candidates? The question was more for Goku, but he still wanted to know if Naruto was going to be replacing Champa now that he was from Universe 6. No, I don't care for being a god. I just want to get stronger. Goku replies. I was a candidate back on Universe 10, but here on 6 no, I'm not. I'm only here because the Grand Priest wished to speak with me. I see. You're both great evil, but for being the cause of this tournament and putting our universes on the line, Son Goku is worse. Therefore I will be your opponent. He says as he hops into the arena. Do not think I have forgotten about you, Black. I'll get you for what you've done as well. He states. The gods look at him silently, wondering what he did to piss off Toppo. Naruto merely smirked at the man. He could try. The two stand in the arena facing one another as the Grand Priest begin the fight. Immediately Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan and attacks. It's the same transformation Black did, he thinks, as he easily dodges the punches Goku threw at him. Blocks and lands a punch on Goku's face, sending his sliding. No, this version isn't as powerful as Black's. They keep exchanging blows and Goku powers up to Super Saiyan 2. Toppo notices the difference in power, but it's still not enough to fight on even ground with him. Punches Goku in the stomach and uses Justice Flash. Goku dodges the beams and powers up. His eyebrows disappear as his hair continues to grow until he reached Super Saiyan 3. Soon he'd find out that none of these would work, as the first kick he sent Toppo was ducked under and was met with a clothesline. Toppo took the opportunity to barrage Goku with punches and kicks, all of which connected. As he was going to attack again, Goku crossed his arms and a pulse of power exploded from him as he appeared with red hair. Everyone, including the gods, felt the change. Finally, the aura of a god. Very well, I will respond in kind. Toppo says as he too powers up and lets a crimson aura appear around him, and at that moment everyone knew why he was a candidate for God of Destruction. The two would disappear and reappear in different parts of the air, clashing as they struggled for dominance, with Toppo slowly taking the edge. Toppo kicked Goku into the air and appeared behind him and got him into a bear hug. It's over, Son Goku. No one has escaped this technique. I'll continue to squeeze until you forfeit. He says as he applied pressure. Goku struggled for a bit and seemed he was going to quit until he once more exploded with power. Toppo was forced to let go due to the amount of pressure Goku had released with that power up. He stood tall, Super Saiyan Blue activated. He disappeared and connected a punch at Toppo's stomach, which knocked the wind out of him. He was sent into the air. Was this repeated multiple times as Goku would reappear wherever Toppo was sent and would hit him again. The final hit was a kick to the back which sent Toppo to the ground, creating a crater. Kamehame Goku charged up his attack. Toppo, seeing this, responded. Justice Flash. The red beams were shot up. This is just like with Black, Toppo thought to himself as he prepared himself. Just as expected, he cancelled his attack and crossed his arms in front of him, defending himself as Goku appeared in front of him. Ha! He released his attack and engulfed the Pride Trooper. Everyone waited to see what the outcome of the match was going to be. The smoke cleared and Toppo only had a small rip on his shoulder. You and Black have besmirched the custom-made uniforms that only the Pride Troopers are allowed to wear. It's the same as defiling our pride. He posed. I will show you true justice. Go ahead, Goku answered as he gained a reddish glow on his blue form. Show me your real power. I'll show you what it looks like once I've passed my limit, he said as he was engulfed in red aura as well. Naruto felt his power increase by about 10 times. That's enough, commanded the Grand Priest. I want to see him pass his limit, whined Zeno. At this rate one of them will end up dead. It would ruin the tournament of power. Why don't we save the rest for the tournament? Down below, Goku went to shake Toppo's hand, but the man just turned around. I have no intention of shaking an enemy's hand. I hate to bring joy to you, evil, but I'm not the strongest person in Universe 11. He says. I knew it. Naruto thought to himself. An image of the gray guy popping up in his head. That title belongs to my sworn friend Jiren, a man so powerful not even our God of Destruction can defeat him. If you're equally matched with me, you'll never win. He says as he leaves. Well, Champa-sama, it seems everything is done here. Vados says. Yeah, Let's go gather our warriors, we don't have much time. He says. Vados taps her scepter and they disappear. They reappeared at Champa's place and immediately the god asked him. What did you learn? He pulled out the sheets of paper he had folded up in his old clothing and handed them over. The cat went over the sheets grinning more and more every time he sorted through, that was until he got to the last one. Why is this one blank? He asked. There was no information about him over there, but during the fight today I heard Topo mention something. He said his name is Jiren, and he's supposed to be stronger than even their god, he said. What? A mortal stronger than a god and he didn't know about it. This was bad. Okay, we'll just have to make sure all of our warriors are top tier then, Champa said. Well, so far the strongest members we have are Naruto and Hit. Vados says. Who else should we get? Leave that to me, I'll get the best fighters in the universe to fight for us. Black, go get Hit. I'll get the rest. Nodding, he flew off. This tournament wasn't turning out how he imagined. If they lost, they were erased from existence, and the one guy who he was worried about turns out to be stronger than a god. Can't lie though, this does get my blood pumping, he said, smirking a bit, and increased his speed. Naruto made it to Hit's training ground in no time at all and found the assassin going through his training regime. He was currently going through some katas in his third stance. Looks like Hit was expecting to fight someone strong if he's training in that particular stance. The man must have sensed his approach and stopped to look in his direction. He put his hands back in his pockets and waited for him to land. Naruto. It's been a while. He greeted. Naruto frowned. He was sure he was only gone a couple of days. I was in Universe 11 for a couple of days. He replied, making sure to see how the assassin would react. Sure enough, his eyes narrowed in confusion. You've been gone for just under a year now. He says. Well, there was no denying it anymore. Looks like time passes differently in other universes. He thinks to himself. Deciding to think about it at another time, he got on with it. Didn't feel like it. Anyways, I was just with Champa and Vados. We had to go to a meeting with Zeno-sama and the Grand Priest. He says. Hit's eyes widened slightly, surely wondering what they would need to meet about. The Grand Priest made the official announcement for the Tournament of Power. It's going to be an 8-universe free-for-all. 10 warriors per universe, he said, letting the man absorb that. Seeing that he wasn't getting a reaction, he dropped the bomb on him. The losing universes get erased from existence, he said. Now he was certain he was the only person in the universe to see the man's naturally stoic expression break. His eyes widened the most he'd ever seen. Clearly this wasn't what he was expecting from the tournament. Erased? Why? He asked, his expression becoming stony again. Not sure. He didn't say the reason. But it doesn't matter now. We're not losing. We have to meet with Champa, he's going to get the other members of our team and wants us all there right now, he said. The assassin nodded and they flew out. They made it back to Champa's domain and found that they were the only ones there apart from Vados. Vados-sama, where is Champa-sama? He asked as he looked around. Naruto-san, Hit-san. She greeted. He should be back any second now, he's gathering the rest of the warriors. She informed him. She stayed quiet for a second before asking. Have you had any luck with the technique? He didn't need to be told what she was talking about as he smirked. She didn't seem surprised as she was lifted off the ground. I'm impressed. I honestly didn't think you'd be able to do it this quickly, she told him. Anyone other than an angel wouldn't have seen it coming. I'm sure even Champa-sama wouldn't be able to stop that. Hit had watched the whole thing play out and couldn't see what was happening. He had seen Vados float and come back down. What did you do? He asked. Naruto was about to answer when a white light appeared from besides them. Champa had returned and brought 8 others with him. The first has a large build and stature. His chest, lower jaw, wrists, and ankles are all silver in color and the rest of his body is bronze and purple. He also has 2 glowing Sayian eyes and transparent reactor cores containing magma. His name is Magetta. Next to him is a tall hairless ursine character with a large build, with his skin being fairly yellow and glossy. He has a brown nose and a small yellow tail on the back of him. He wears a red tank top that covers his whole upper body, orange-red wristbands, and a pair of red boots. This is Bottomo. To his right are 2 similar characters. They're both green and are wearing beige pants, dull brown boots, and a long flowing turquoise vest. They're the Namekians Saonal and Purina. In front of them was Kaba. There were 2 girls in this group as well. The first wears a low-cut magenta top, low-set purple harem pants, long dark gray wristbands, and a pair of pointy dark gray shoes. Her hair is long, wild, and spiky. She's fellow Saiyan Caulifla. Hiding behind her is another Saiyan. She has shaggy shoulder-length black hair normally worn in a high ponytail secured by a white hair tie, while a bang hanging over the left side of her face. Her outfit consists of a red shirt exposing her midriff matching her lower outfit, a red skirt with a brown belt attached along with a silver circular buckle and a pair of black compression shorts underneath. She wears a pair of golden boots with red tips, along with golden bracelets that cover her wrists and most of her forearms, and a pair of golden hoop earrings. This is Caulifla's protege Kale. Finally, there's a blue and white skinned man. His head and torso are blue while his legs are a dark color. This is the space pirate Frost. Naruto, Hit, now that we're here we have something to discuss. We've just come back from a meeting with Zeno-sama. He begins telling the rest about the Tournament of Power and the consequences for losing said tournament. Their reactions were quite similar. Though, Kaba was looking the most petrified. Erased from existence. Kaba says quietly trying to wrap his mind around it. "Oi, who's that?" asked Caulifla rudely pointing at Naruto. She knew who Hit was. Everyone in Universe 6 knew about the Universal Assassin. However, only Kaba has met Naruto so they don't know. "I'm Naruto Black. I'm a Saiyan just like you guys," he says indicating to her, Kale, and Kaba. She walks up to him until she was in his chest. He towered over her so she had to look up at him. "You say you're a Saiyan but I can't feel anything from you," she says before turning back to the god of destruction. "Champa-sama, is it okay to have this guy here?" Naruto just rolled his eyes but chose not to comment. He displayed power to Champa because it was necessary, she'd find out in time just how powerful he was. "It's fine," said Vados cheerfully. "He and Hit are the two strongest fighters here," she says. Caulifla still looks uncertain but says no more on the matter. "Anyways," said Champa getting their attention. "Hit will be leading the team. The 10 of you will do everything in your power to ensure the survival of Universe 6. Is that clear?" he said flaring his power slightly to show the severity of the situation. All of them nod, some scared from the power they feel from the feline. "Good, you have 2 days to prepare for the tournament. Be at your strongest or we're dead. Leave," he says. None of them need to be told twice and are transported away by Vados. Naruto had sensed everyone's power while they were here, there was something he didn't like. While most of them had decent power, the robotic one Vegeta was the weakest one there. His power was average at best. "We'll have to do something about that," he says before he and Hit also left. 2 days later, it was the morning of the tournament. Naruto had been going through all sorts of ideas to deal with Vegeta and thought he had something. He and Hit were back at Champa's domain talking to the angel and god. "I have a concern about one of our members," he said. Vados tilted her head in confusion. These are the best warriors on Universe 6 dead or alive," she says. "I used to be from Universe 10 but was allowed to fight here. That could be our answer," he thinks to himself before speaking. "But are we limited to only living warriors?" he asked. She conjured a book out of nowhere and began flipping through pages. There's nothing in the rules that says anything about it," she replies, vanishing the book. "I have no doubt that the other universes have their strongest living warriors already. How about we take a fighter from our world's heaven or hell?" he suggests. Champa rubbed his chin in thought and nodded. Vados tapped her scepter on the ground and a little screen appeared at the top of it. She went through the list of warriors in both places. "There's no one here who would make a difference on this team," she said looking back at him. Hit, who had said nothing up until this point, spoke up. "What if we look at heaven and hell from another universe? Naruto wasn't originally from our universe, so why don't we recruit from somewhere else?" "Check Universe 7, said Champa seriously. While he would never say it out loud, and much less to Beerus, they had some strong fighters there. With any luck they would have some dead as well. Vados went through the same procedure and it seemed luck was on their side. "Well, it seems that Universe 7 has recently acquired someone named Frieza from Hell. He was a tyrant that ruled their galaxy before ultimately being killed by Son Goku," she stated. So they weren't the only ones with this plan in mind. She kept going through who was available and found something. "How about him?" she says, showing the person to the rest. "He's kept in the same area Frieza was and is just as strong. Though apparently they didn't think so," she tells them. "He's definitely more powerful than Vegeta." "What do you think, Champa-sama?" asked Naruto. Champa stares at the picture of the man and reads the information Vados made available to them. He remembered Vegeta's weakness and that filled him with anger, remembering his loss. "If you can get him to join, we'll replace Vegeta. Be quick about it though, the tournament is in an hour," he says. "Vados, go with them and get the warrior." "Of course, Champa-sama. Come along you two," she tells them. Hit and Naruto get near and the three disappear. They reappeared in front of a palace that seemed to be in the middle of a body of water. "This is hell?" Naruto asked. Hit said nothing and Vados laughed. "No, This is merely where the witch who has access to hell stays. She is the one who will allow us to go down and get our fighter. She informs them. They walk inside and notice it's dark. What do you want? Said a voice. Floating out of the darkness was a short woman sitting atop a glass ball. She has a generic witch outfit consisting of a one-piece black gown and black pointy hat. She has pink hair and is very old if the wrinkles on her skin are any indication. Hello ma'am. Began Naruto. We're here to ask if you would allow us to take one of your prisoners from hell, he said, getting straight to the point. They didn't have time to beat around the bush. I cannot release anyone for more than 24 hours. Speaking of which, why should I? She asks, crossing her arms. You didn't even bring a present. She says. A present? That was all? Naruto extends his hand and the lady raises an eyebrow, wondering what he was doing. He suddenly allowed a glowing orb the size of her ball to materialize. It was glowing dark purple and she could feel the power it was radiating. This is an orb of destruction from one of the gods of destruction. He says, shocking her. She'd never seen anything like it. Is this your offering? She asked. Yeah, let us have our guy and it's all yours. He tells her. She stares at the ball before asking, who exactly do you want anyways? They describe to her who it was they were looking for and she nods, knowing who it was. Very well. She says, having him drop the ball into a special box before closing it. Follow me. She says. They head out but Vados stays behind. Vados-sama? Asked Naruto. She told them she would wait there and take them back. She had seen many hells before, it didn't interest her. She guided them through a door and on the other side was not what they expected. It was a blue sky, a landscape filled with flowers and many trees. Hey, hit. This doesn't look like any hell I've ever imagined. Naruto comments. Yeah. Replied the assassin, also being confused. He's over there. The lady points at a tree in the distance and floats away. Call me when you're done. She calls out. Now knowing where to go, they began walking in that direction. They made it and found what they were looking for. Up in a cocoon was the fighter they needed. Naruto pointed a finger at the top and shot a small pink blast that cut the cocoon from the tree. Somehow that was all that was needed for the man to be able to break out. The man in question was tall and had white skin. His body was covered in a green exoskeleton with darker green spots on it. He had a pair of long wings on his back and a tail similar to that of Frost. His shoulders and part of his torso was covered in black armor. Turning around, the man saw two people he had never seen before. Who are you? And why have you freed me? He asked curiously to the two newcomers. I'm Naruto Black, and this, he says, nodding to Hit, is my friend Hit. We're warriors from Universe 6. He says. And you must be Cell. He says. Cell didn't know what they meant about Universe 6, seeing as he's been in hell for so many years. Well, you know who I am, but still didn't answer the question. He says, crossing his arms. We have a proposition for you, Hit said. There's a tournament coming soon, 8 universes, only one can survive. You lose, you and your entire universe is erased from existence. He says. Just like everyone else, he was shocked. He hadn't heard of such a tournament. Naruto picks up from there. The winners survive but also get the Super Dragon Balls as a prize. He frowned. Super Dragon Balls? The android questioned. Planet-sized Dragon Balls. Able to grant you anything you desire. No limits, he said. He had picked up on how the man was interested in them and knew this could sell it. The winning universe gets 3 wishes, if the 3 of us remain at the end, that's 1 wish each. He told him. He had him. So I could wish to resurrect myself in your universe? He asked. Naruto nodded. So what do you say? Join our team, help us win, and you're guaranteed revival, he said. Cell was almost sold but still had one question. How strong are these fighters going to be? When he was alive, his goal after reaching his perfect form was to test his strength. This could be a good opportunity to do so. They're the strongest fighters in all of the universes, he said before remembering this was a Universe 7 native. 2 big names in this tournament are Son Goku and Vegeta, he said. Cell smirked at that. Those 2 were strong. Chances are even the young one would be there and he could have some payback. I'm in, he said as he stuck his hand out. Naruto took it and it was set. Naruto was about to yell for the lady when she reappeared behind them. All done? They nodded and were led back out. Vados watches as 4 people came back from that room. Looks like they had everything they needed. Cell took notice of the blue-skinned woman but said nothing. You're being released for 24 hours. After that period you will return here. She told him. He nodded but internally he was thinking, not if everything went well. Looks like everything is set, said Vados. Let's go. With that the 3 of them left the palace. They reappeared in Champa's domain. The god looked at their newest warrior and nodded. He sensed he was strong. Good work Naruto, hit. He turned to Cell. I'm going to get the rest. The tournament is starting shortly, he said before disappearing with Vados. Who was that? Asked Cell. He had sensed his power level and found it to be higher than anything he'd ever experienced. He doubted even his newest form would be able to defeat him. That was the god of destruction for our universe. Naruto told him. He had so many questions that would need to be asked after this was over. They waited for a bit before the god came back with 7 fighters this time. Vegeta was not one of them. The one thing Cell did take notice of was that one of the fighters had a very close resemblance to Frieza. Is everyone ready? Came a voice from Vados' scepter. Yes, father. She replied. All the fighters plus the deities were teleported to a new location. They were in a completely black world. The stage they were on was the only thing they could see. Above them were bleachers where the gods, angels, and Kais were. Universe 7 wasn't present yet, but Universe 11 was. Naruto noticed Toppo was already glaring at him, but he couldn't care less. He was looking at the gray man who had his eyes closed and his arms crossed. Both Hit and Cell took notice of it. Cell smirked evilly as he sensed the power some of them had. This is gonna be fun. Those 3 Hit says, indicating towards Toppo, Dispo, and Jiren are the only ones to watch out for on that team. Naruto agreed. He had managed to beat the entirety of the Pride Troopers minus those 3 by himself, and that wasn't even in his Rose form. He took his eyes off of them and scanned the rest of the arena. Apart from them, universes 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, and 11 were present. Only Universe 7 had yet to arrive. Well? Naruto asks, looking at their newest fighter. What do you think? Cell looked at him before looking out at the rest of the fighters who were all seemingly doing the same thing as him. Apart from those 3 over there, he says, referring to Universe 11. There's no one here who really stands out. He finished loud enough for everyone to hear him. He smirked as he saw the fighters and their respective gods glare at him. Naruto was going to reply but was cut off as he felt the arrival of the final universe. Looks like everyone was finally here. Wow, everyone's already here. They heard Goku say loudly. Kappa went up to them and exchanged words with Vegeta while Caulifla and Kale went to seemingly pick a fight. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get reacquainted with them. Cell says as he walks in their direction. Naruto and Hit stayed where they were, content with watching how this played out. Universe 7 was trying to talk strategy when they heard the sound of heavy footsteps heading their way. They turned and their eyes widened at who was in front of them. Cell Gohan says quietly, trying to figure out how he was here. Well, look at all the familiar faces we have here. 17 and 18, nice to see you again, he said mockingly. They glared at him but didn't bother replying. And look at that. He says, his attention turning to Gohan. The little brat has grown up. Thought you feel a lot weaker than when we last fought all those years ago. You haven't been training, have you? A shame, you'll be a big part of the reason your universe gets destroyed. He says, pissing Gohan off. What the hell are you doing here? A gruff voice comes from behind Gohan. The Universe 7 team splits apart, allowing Vegeta to walk up. Weren't you stuck in hell? I was, but my new friends, he says, motioning behind him to Naruto and Hit, who were just staring back at them. Invited me to this tournament. Vegeta was about to retort but was beaten to it. Anyways, while I'm here I plan on paying you lot back for last time. Walking away, he turned back and stared directly at Gohan. That means you, kid, I'm coming for you. He walked back to the Universe 6 team and kept his back to them. Damn, it was going to be hard enough to deal with Hit and this Naruto guy, but now we have Cell to worry about too. He says, clenching his fists. Of all the people that could have come back, it had to be the android. But hold on, said Krillin, you were able to beat him back when you were 12. I'm sure you'll be able to do it again. He tells him enthusiastically, though on the inside he was worried. Ho 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 ho, laughed Frieza, I don't think so. Didn't you guys feel it? He asked. Gohan looked at him with a confused expression. He's stronger now, said Vegeta. He had well over a dozen times more power than he did when Kakarot's kid beat him. He's a completely new monster now, and he's teamed up with 2 others. He glared at the 3. So I take it your opinion has changed? Naruto asked Cell, who had a pleased look on his face. Yeah, more than half of the people on that team are strong. This'll make it more interesting. He says. We should weed out the weak first and conserve our strength, Hit said to the whole team. Once the weak ones are out, then we can strike. Avoid fighting with anyone you know is stronger than you. Use coordinated attacks when necessary. The only ones to watch out for as of now are Son Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and the 3 from Universe 11. He finishes. Everyone nodded, ready to start. Look. Naruto says as the watch Goku walk up to Jiren. only for the man to appear behind him at incredible speeds. Suddenly pieces of tile began coming towards the arena at fast speeds. All the fighters began to jump out of the way. However, Jiren didn't move from his spot and let the blocks move around him. He read the blocks' movements. Naruto thought to himself as he kept his eyes on him. He was sure Hit and Cell noticed it too. This guy was definitely the man to beat. He couldn't think any more on it as the Grand Priest spoke. And now, warriors of each universe, prepare yourselves, he said. The atmosphere around everyone changed rapidly. Only a handful of people were calm as everyone else tensed. Let the tournament of power begin, he announced. Let go, Hit commanded as everyone split up. All 80 warriors began running to the center of the arena ready to battle it out. The sounds of yelling and ki blasts being launched filled the stage. Whoa! Whoa! Cried Zeno as he watched the action go down. Naruto blasted forward and found himself in a fight with Comfrey from Universe 9. Naruto began throwing punches at the amphibious man who managed to block the first 3 punches before one broke through. He hit him with a barrage of hard jabs and right hooks before kneeing him in the gut and hammer fisting him into the ground. Universe 10's Liliabu has dropped out, announced the Grand Priest. Everyone stopped to see her up in the bleachers. Now everyone knew if you got thrown off the arena you'd appear at the bench with your respective Kai and God. Naruto picked up Comfrey and placed his hand on the creature's abdomen. He shot a strong ki blast into him and shot him away. The man shot through one of the boulders that had been created during the explosions before being tossed out of the arena. Universe 9's Comfrey has dropped out. The Grand Priest announced. Woo! You're the best, Naruto. Keep attacking, Champa yelled from his seat. He didn't care about the other gods giving him an annoyed look for yelling. His fighters were going good, that's all that mattered. Naruto heard Hit and sweat dropped as he heard the feline cheer him on. Looking over he saw Hit break one of the arms of a robot and once more heard Champa yelling praise at them. Looking elsewhere he saw Son Goku stare off with Jiren before being captured in a lock by a fighter from Universe 4. Dashing over to where Hit was he kicked a robot out of the way and landed behind the assassin. Your friend Son Goku isn't too bright is he? He almost got himself eliminated just now, he commented. He shot a few ki blasts at some random fighters when he felt Goku activate Super Saiyan Blue. Another one got eliminated. No, he's not. Hit replied, but when it comes to fighting someone strong it's a different story. Naruto nodded and blocked a punch from a random warrior. Getting tired of all these fodder, he thought to himself as he kicked the guy off the arena. Choose, either jump off the fighting stage now, or get knocked off by me. He heard Hit tell one of the robots. Looks like even Hit was bored if he was playing with his opponents. He even watched as Hit flicked him in the head and eliminated him. They're doing pretty good, wouldn't you say, Champa-sama? Vados asked as she watched her universe. Yeah, things are looking good for us, Vados. Oh, there's the new guy. Let's see if Naruto was right in getting him. The god says as he watches Cell approach a fighter. Prüm of Universe 2 was standing across from the android with a smirk on his face. No matter what kind of blasts he shot at him, it wouldn't affect him. So you're my first victim? Cell says amusingly. Very well, let's play a quick game. I want you to hit me as hard as you can, he tells him. Plum looked at him with his eyes narrowed. What are? He didn't get to finish as Cell cut him off. Now hold on, you might have misheard me. Not half as hard, not some arbitrary percentage. I want you, he said, putting emphasis on the word you. To hit me. Again emphasizing hit me as hard as you can. What kind of game is he playing? Asked Pell, the Supreme Kai of Universe 2. I don't know, but Prüm won't go down that easily. His special ability makes him an invaluable asset to us. Hellas says reassuringly. Feeling insulted, Prüm dashes forward and delivers a punch that saw strong enough to send him flying. Or at least it would have, had it been done on someone weak. Cell just moved his head back into a straight position and grabbed Prüm's arm. Well, I guess I should be disappointed in only myself for expecting more from a tub of lard, he says before kicking Prüm in the gut and sending him off of the fighting stage. He appeared on his bench next to his god and Kai and muttered an apology. Woo go Cell. Hey hells, wasn't that attack beautiful? He asked mockingly. Said god just grits her teeth but doesn't respond to the chubby god. The rest of the gods watched in annoyance as Universe 6 began knocking people off the stage. EA the Kai of Universe 3 pushed up his glasses and commented the fighters from Universe 6 are eliminating people left and right. To his left the robotic god beeps a couple of times before quieting down. Mosco-sama says we have nothing to fear. Their angel Campari translated. TSK. Those 3 fighters Champa has, though beautiful in their own right, are going to be a big problem for us. Hellas admits. Don't worry Hellas-sama. Her Kai responds Ribrianne and the others will win using the power of love. He says confidently. She nods with newfound hope. Little did she know how wrong she'd be. Even after being killed by Kakarot's 12-year-old son he's still full of himself, Vegeta said as he transformed into a Super Saiyan and blasted a guy out of the arena. Meanwhile Naruto landed atop a recently formed large rock and surveyed the area. Looking out he saw Toppo and Dispo engaged in a fight with some nobodies but there was no Jiren in sight. I agreed that we had to weed out the weak but I'm getting desperate for a good fight. He thought to himself. So far there was still no real action going on. There were only so many people here who would be able to put up a decent fight against him. Seeing as there was nothing better to do he began to focus. Closed his eyes, he could sense no one was getting near him. He smirked. Good, I can cover the whole arena. Game over he thought. Why don't we speed this up a little bit, he whispered to himself. Immediately fighters began dropping out of the stage in rapid succession. Everyone began looking around to see who was behind the sorcery, but no luck. Over 20 people from various universes were eliminated in the span of 3 minutes. The only universes so far that had yet to lose a member because of him were Universe 7 and 11. 7 had already lost Krillin due to Frost. Oi! Stay alert, yelled Beerus to his team. Don't stand close to the edge, head towards the center so you don't get eliminated, he yelled trying to figure out what was happening. Kaba, Kale, Caulifla, get to the center or you'll be knocked off. If you get thrown out I'll beat you myself, Champa yelled to his own team. He and Beerus made eye contact and huffed away. Champa looked back down to see Bottomo getting lifted off the ground by repeated punches from Gohan. Don't just take it. Fight back, he yelled. The yellow man was too big and couldn't shoot at the Saiyan and was ultimately blasted off the arena. Universe 6's Bottomo has dropped out, announced the Grand Priest. You useless clod, getting defeated so easily, Champa yelled at the man who hung his head in shame. Universe 6 had their first man eliminated. Ha 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 ha. All the gods heard Quaitla, the god of destruction from Universe 4, laughing. The immediate thought is he's behind these attacks. Naruto too heard the rat laughing and thought to himself. So Universe 4 has something similar to this to knock opponents off, it seems. I'll have to be careful for that. He thinks. Whis, I know Quaitla has something to do with this. But what's he doing? He asks as he rubs his chin. God, how he hates that rat. Perhaps he is behind this. However, Goku-san and the rest are resourceful, they'll manage to figure it out. He says reassuringly. Whoa! Zeno cries out, his eyes wide with excitement. Everyone's falling, what's going on? He asks the Grand Priest. I have an idea but I can't be too sure. He responds as he watches the matches go on. Quaitla seems to know something, but the Saiyan from Universe 6 hasn't moved from his spot and looks calm. He thinks to himself. Champa watches more people being blasted off and begins panicking. Oi, hit, get away from the edge, he yelled as he saw the assassin fighting. Finishing the fight he jumps away. Pulsing his power he senses Naruto on top of a rock and lands behind him. You don't seem too worried, comments the assassin. Naruto looks back at him briefly. Not at all actually. Just weeding out the weak. At those words Hit remembered just before they arrived Vados being levitated and them two talking about some technique. He allowed a faint smile to grace his face. I see. He responds as he allows himself to relax. It looks like our newest member is enjoying himself as well. He comments. The two of them look down to see Cell fighting off 4 fighters all from different universes. Hell, they even heard him humming a tune as he dodged and attacked back. A blast of power caught everyone's attention as Goku and Vegeta had powered up to Super Saiyan Blue and shot powerful blasts against the trio de Dangers from Universe 9. Their attack didn't stand a chance as the 3 wolf-like men were defeated and tossed out of the arena. So the chimps have gotten stronger. Cell commented as he kicked the last one away from him. I can't wait to get my shot at them. 10 warriors have fallen, said Sidra with fear in his voice. What will happen to Universe 9? He looked up at the Grand Priest. All of the Universe 9 warriors have dropped out. They've been wiped out, began the Grand Priest. Therefore, Universe 9 will be erased, he announced loudly. Zeno raised his hand and everyone from the Universe 9 team began to glow. In seconds they were gone from the area, only Mojito remained behind. He let a smile come on. Naruto was in shock just like the rest of the fighters. He knew Zeno was all-powerful but he just erased an entire universe like nothing. That was frightening. They really erased a whole universe, said Beerus. Whis, what about Universe 9? He asked. Unfortunately there was nothing there. It was gone. The reality of the situation really hit home to everyone. Everyone had stopped the fighting to witness the destruction, but went right back to it when Vegeta attacked a fighter from Universe 2. Most of the weak ones have been eliminated. Naruto commented. Anyone who is still in has at least some power to them. We still have 9 of our fighter in. He told Hit. Right. I'm going back, he said as he jumped down and walked towards the action. The sound of the boulder he was on breaking caught his attention. It seemed Kaba had picked a fight with Toppo. It wasn't going well for him. I'll give the kid credit, he's got fighting spirit, he said to himself as he watched Toppo deliver another blow. Toppo did a pose and went to attack once more, and to his surprise Kaba managed to actually dodge and counter, though it didn't connect. For someone so young you have potential, young fighter. Toppo told him. But for the good of my universe I must defeat you. Thank you Toppo-san, but I cannot let myself be beaten here, he said as he flared his power and attacked once more. He threw a barrage of punches that were all dodged and felt the wind knocked out of him as Toppo's large hand hit him in the gut. Justice Flash, he yelled and let off his blast. When the smoke cleared out he saw that Kaba was no longer there, in his place were 2 people. The assassin from Universe 6 and Black, he said. Naruto was holding Kaba by his armor and had him slumped over his shoulder. Oi Caulifla. He called. Said girl looked and barely had time to react as Kaba's unconscious form was thrown at her. Take him with you and wake him up. She didn't seem to like being ordered around by him, but did so when she saw Hit nod. He's going to be a nuisance in the future. Let's get rid of him now, Naruto said. Hit said nothing but brought his hands out of his pockets and got ready. Toppo knew he was in trouble. Black alone was strong, but with Hit he'd have to be even more careful. Let's go. Naruto called as he and Hit disappeared. Next time, Naruto and Hit, the ultimate tag team. All the gods, angels, and even most of the fighters in the arena stopped what they were doing to watch the showdown between the 3 fighters. Everyone watched, waiting to see which one of the 3 would break the staring contest they were seemingly engaged in first. What do you think, Whis? Goku and Vegeta told us that Black is stronger than his sibling Goku. And we know how much trouble he caused. Beerus asked his attendant. It's interesting, that's for sure. On his own he's very powerful, but he's also teaming up with Hit, who's incredibly strong in his own right. Whis comments. It also says a lot about Toppo. He's powerful enough to need to be tackled by them 2 at once. Adds Beerus. You're partially right. Replies Whis. Remember, Black was also training to become a god of destruction. We don't know exactly how strong he is, only that he just needed a little more to make it official. Based on that we can assume that Black could perhaps take Toppo on his own. He finishes. On the other side of the benches the other angels had heard what Whis had said, and some had their own comments on it. One being the angel of Toppo's own universe. The pig-tailed angel looked down at the arena and commented. 2 mortals with the potential to become gods of destruction, along with, arguably, one of the strongest fighters in this tournament are about to clash. She says and looks over at Belmont. Should be interesting. The clown says nothing. He had his arms crossed and his gaze straight down where his soon-to-be successor was. It was interesting. Nothing really ever caused the clown to be this quiet when the Pride Troopers were involved. Oi! What's wrong, clown? Came the yell from Champa. He'd seen the interaction go down between them and chose to comment on it. No smart comment? Not looking too confident, are we? He asked and laughed. Back down in the fighting stage 2 warriors also made sure to be watching what was going on. Kakarot, don't concern yourself with the others right now. This fight will be important. Vegeta tells Goku, who is looking for someone to fight. Yeah, I suppose you're right, Vegeta. Let's see what Black has got. I get the feeling we didn't see everything last time. He commented. Black. Now you'll pay for your intrusion on Universe 11. Crimes such as yours will not go unpunished. Toppo made a pose. For justice will always prevail. He screamed and looked up. Good God, you've annoyed me to no end with all that justice crap. Naruto muttered, though Hit managed to hear him. Don't show any trump cards, our combinations should be good enough. Worst case scenario we have to show 1 or 2 tricks. Naruto told the assassin. Said man didn't reply but gave an almost unnoticeable nod of agreement. In a split second the blonde disappeared from his spot and his fists met the giants. A large shockwave was felt as the strength they put into the punch was great. They met fists multiple times in rapid succession. Knowing they were in a deadlock, the 2 create space and start up again. Naruto barrages with punches and fakes a punch before throwing a kick, which Toppo managed to dodge. He immediately threw a straight right. Toppo weaved his head to the side and allowed the punch to pass by harmlessly. The Pride Trooper saw the blonde smirk and frowned. Immediately after, his head whipped to the side as he felt something impact into it. He wiped his face with one hand and was surprised to feel a bruise forming. How? I know I dodged it, Toppo thought to himself. What was that? I know Toppo dodged that attack. Belmont asked out loud. No one answered, but everyone watching the fight was wondering the same thing. Before Toppo had a chance to compose himself, he once again found himself in pain as a fist was buried in his abdomen, or at least it felt that way. He felt two more, one on his face, the other in his stomach. This time he saw the hand of the assassin coming at him but still got hit. His hits are heavy. He used his time skip to hit me the first time and then once more to get within range and attack me close up. He analyzed. Hit once more through a punch, this time aimed for the face. Toppo used his large arms to swipe at the man, but he was already gone. In the instant his hands came back to him, he felt massive force under his chin propelling him upward. This was due to a kick by Naruto, who took the opportunity to attack while he was busy trying to analyze it. He was set a few feet in the air and saw a distortion in the air. That same distortion crashed into him and sent him flying backwards. He crashed through two boulders. Luckily for him, he used his large arms to protect himself from a lot of the impact, though it didn't stop much of the pain that followed. Once out of the second boulder, he saw Black teleport above him and spin. Using the momentum from the spin, he kicked him down at amazing speeds. A large majority of the people had to cover their eyes as the debris shot out from the impact. "Toppo!" yelled Belmont, worried. Naruto and Hit reappeared at the site where Toppo landed and waited. "He's not down yet," Naruto commented. "There's no way that would take that man down." Sure enough, the beast of a man broke out of the rubble and began his counterattack. Similar to the beginning of their fight, Naruto and Toppo began exchanging blows while Hit watched and waited for an opening. He watches as Toppo manages to land a combination of punches on Naruto and tries to pick up a pattern in his attack. Naruto manages to smack away a fist and fake a kick before increasing his own speed to land a hook to the liver. Their Hit thought before activating his full-time skip. The surrounding area around him became similar to broken green and purple glass, and he struck. He barraged the giant man with well over 50 punches both to the face and body, similar to how he did to Son Goku during their fight in the first tournament. He finished the technique and waited for Naruto to continue the combo. Naruto saw Toppo stiffen and spit blood out of his mouth and knew Hit had done his part. Creating a clone, to the surprise of many, he jumped high into the air and allowed the clone to kick the man up once more. As Toppo increased in elevation, Naruto channeled energy into his hands and let the man get near. Divine Retribution. The pinkish-black blast hit the man point blank and took the man back down. The blast continued for another 3 seconds before dying down. "Whoa," says Goku. He personally fought Toppo, and to see him getting tossed around like that was nothing short of amazing to him. Vegeta likewise shared his sentiment but chose to say nothing and continue to watch the battle unfold. The contestants all felt the ground violently shake. Some of the weaker fighters in the tournament were even being blown back by the force being released from where the battle was occurring. Toppo emerged from the rubble glowing a deep red, though upon closer inspection he also had some purple radiating off of him. "He's finally getting serious," Naruto commented as he also powered up. Wind blew around him as he increased his energy. "Ha!" Gold Ki surrounded him as his Super Saiyan form. Hit likewise allowed himself to release a burst of purple Ki as well. His power increasing several times. "It makes no difference," Hit commented. Both he and Naruto attacked Toppo and found it a lot more difficult, though not impossible. Had this been a one-on-one between them, then sure it'd be a lot harder, but together. Toppo managed to block every punch and kick the duo through at him for a good while, not giving any openings either. Toppo actually manages to land a couple of good shots, his increase in power allowing him to break through their defenses. Toppo increases his speed and appears behind Naruto, both hands clenched ready to do a horizontal hammer fist. "Don't think so," thought Hit as he used his time skip. Toppo, even in his powered-up form, managed to feel a strong pain from his side. He brought his hand up to stop the incoming attack from Naruto and countered with his own kick. Only to feel another pulsing sensation in his back. He jumped away and faced the two. "I'm starting to get an idea of how Hit attacks," he thought to himself. Naruto jumped in and began assaulting him once more. Concentrating, Toppo dodged the blows and managed to catch Naruto's leg. He tossed him aside rapidly and turned around and made sure to block. Sure enough, he felt the force of Hit's kick hit his defense. Quickly he gripped the assassin's leg and tossed him over his shoulder and into the ground. He was about to continue his counterattack when he felt the searing pain coming from the back of his knees. It was so intense he let go of Hit and dropped to one knee. He used all his power to leap away and look back. Naruto was standing next to Hit, a pink blade of energy being emitted from his hand. He used Hit as a distraction. "As soon as my attention was on the assassin, he somehow managed to get behind me and cut my legs. From the pain I'm feeling, the cut is deep," he thought as he breathed heavily. He cursed these two. Had it been Black alone or even Hit alone, he was sure he'd have eliminated them by now. Not one to give up, he raised his hands up. Justice flash. Rather than the red beams he usually shot, these were dark purple, godly energy powering the attack. They jumped out of the way as multiple beams began going all around the arena. Fighters watching the match had to move out of the way, some unfortunate enough were even thrown out or badly injured. The Supreme Kai of Universe 3 pushed up his glasses and commented, "It seems Toppo is in trouble." Their god made a series of beeps as they turned their attention to their angel. Mosko-sama says that's right. He translated. Toppo is a god of destruction candidate and is even using similar energy to the actual gods and is still being handled. It's concerning. He finished. Hellas heard the conversation and threw in her own 2 cents as well. Black was apparently also next in line for God of Destruction of Universe 10. Partnered with the Universal Hitman who is also immensely strong, this is the result. She says. I think this battle has proved something. Whis says. I believe that Black is much stronger than Toppo. Krillin and Tien looked over at him waiting for him to continue. Toppo is using the power he's obtained through his training under Belmod-sama, yet Black has only just transformed into his Super Saiyan state and is still doing relatively well. Sure, he's partnered with Hit, but the fact that he hasn't had to resort to his Rose form says a lot about him. So he's hiding more, Beerus said angrily. The bad part is we don't know how much more. Chances are he only went Rose against his brother to prove a point. We might not even get to see his true power in this fight. Why not? Asked Krillin. Shin takes over and replies because of their teamwork. Every time Toppo marks Black, Hit is there to stop him. Whenever Hit is the target, Black helps him out. Not to mention whenever Toppo stops his attack, Hit will use his time skip to do damage. They cover each other so well they have an almost impenetrable defense. Only slightly being hit every now and then. He finished, slightly amazed at the teamwork they were displaying. Damn it. Pride troopers help Toppo, Belmod yelled. Toppo was dangerously close to unleashing his full strength earlier than expected. This was not good. To make matters worse, it seemed that the moment they were going to help other fighters decided eliminating Toppo was a good idea and attacked the remaining Pride troopers. I see, Toppo said slowly rising. You two will not be beaten as I am now. Then I've decided. I am above justice and will do everything in my power to eliminate you, Black, he said before powering up once more. Ah! The ground shook and the sky generated electricity as Toppo powered up. His clothing began to rip more than it already had, his chunky build being replaced by pure muscle. The pattern on Belmod's God of Destruction clothing appeared on his chest. His body coated in heavy dark purple aura as well as his eyes taking on that same color. It seems God of Destruction Toppo has awakened, Belmod said with a smirk. He didn't want it to go down this way, but it seemed there was no choice. Whoa, do you guys feel that? Gohan said from another part of the arena. Even though he decided to keep his eyes on his opponents, even he could feel the great power coming from that direction. Jiren opened his eyes slightly and looked in their direction before continuing meditating. There was nothing for him to worry about. Oh my, Whis said as he watched Toppo. It seems Toppo has begun using his Hakai energy. He's even seemed to coat his body with it. He noted. Yeah, that means he has an almost perfect defense. Beerus noted, it wasn't looking good for Black and Hit. Speaking of them. So this is his full power, Hit said with some concern. He could feel the raw power radiating from the giant. Naruto was about to reply but couldn't as a giant fist was put in his gut. Hit found himself being kicked in the face and being shot in the opposite direction. Both of them went crashing through multiple large rocks before finally stopping. Toppo wasted no time in going after Naruto and began his counter-attack. Naruto brought his hands up in an X formation and tried blocking the attacks. Damn, these hurt, he thought as he felt the pain from each punch. Finally his defense was broken and he was grabbed by the head and put in the ground. Toppo picked him up by the skull and began punching him repeatedly in the face and body. Naruto weakly brought his hand up and gripped Toppo's arm to no avail. The Hakai-clad being gripped his skull harder before kicking him once more. Naruto managed to right himself in the air and jump over to where Hit was. He didn't get a chance to speak as he saw Toppo bring his hands together and form a familiar purple orb. Hakai, he said and shot it. Move. Naruto ordered. Everyone watched as the ball easily destroyed the rock they were on, leaving nothing left of its existence. They had to once more move as continuous blasts of energy began following them. Fighters all around the arena also had to be careful lest they be collateral damage. A few seconds later they had to once more dodge a big Hakai blast. Naruto shot a regular ki blast at the man and to no one's surprise it simply disappeared as if it never existed. How could they do anything if he was covered with that? Hakai can destroy anything. That's it, Naruto thought to himself as he wiped the blood from his mouth. He didn't want to reveal too much but he had no choice. If it worked he'd still have a few trump cards. Hit, he said as he regrouped. The two of them dodged together, making sure not get separated. I've got an idea. I'll fight him alone. When you see me using a certain technique, you back me up and we use time skip, he said. Hit didn't miss how he said we. They hadn't tried it yet, but in the situation they were in there was no better time. He nodded and jumped back, letting his friend take care of it. Naruto jumped ahead and landed a few feet from Toppo. Black, it's futile to try and fight me now. You're strong but you're no match for a god, he said. Naruto didn't reply, choosing to simply bring his arms up and increase his own power. With a loud scream he too transformed. He was once more covered in his dark pink and black aura that only a few in the tournament had seen. Toppo didn't look at all concerned with his transformation to Super Saiyan Rose. He simply scoffed and attacked. His punch hit directly in Naruto's face and sent him back. He crashed into the giant pillar that acted as the timer and Toppo kicked him deeper in. Naruto grabbed his leg once more but was caught and tossed higher into the pillar. I told you, Black. It's useless. This is as far as you get, he yelled as he jumped, bringing Naruto with him and used his Justice Flash to send him back down, similar to how they had done to him. Naruto, yelled Champa from the bleachers. This wasn't looking good. Naruto was one of their strongest. If he gets eliminated then chances are the others will gun for them. Relax, Champa-sama, Vados said. He hasn't appeared with us so he's not out yet. He nodded but still looked worried. Toppo landed in the crater that held the Saiyan and gripped him by the head again. I'll commend you, Black. To be able to take that many attacks from me and still be breathing is a testament to your strength. But for my universe, I will defeat you. Naruto once more raised his hand and slowly lifted it and tried to grip the man's throat. Seeing that he had no strength, Toppo didn't even acknowledge it. To his, along with everyone else's surprise, Naruto spoke. I don't think so. Hakai. Hit knew this was the signal and appeared next to him. Naruto was dropped from the grip and he watched as the man was enveloped in the attack. Hakai can destroy anything. Even another Hakai. And you just so happen to be covered in it. They should cancel out, Naruto said. Everyone watched as the energy surrounding Toppo was destroyed. Now, Naruto said. Hit placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder and used his time skip. The two found themselves in the separate dimension and began attacking Toppo with the strongest hits they could muster. Naruto even went as far as to begin cutting using his blade-made form, his divine retribution. When the attack was cancelled, the god saw Toppo's energy die out as well as multiple cuts and bruises forming on his person. Blood gushed out of his mouth as he fell over onto one knee. Naruto sensed a great power heading their way and had no doubt Jiren must have known what was going on. Need to hurry. If he arrives we'll have to retreat. He thought. Hit. Punch, he said. Jiren appeared, coming at them at lightning fast speeds. Hit used his key punch to blast Toppo away, heading in the direction of the edge of the arena. Jiren was getting closer to them as Toppo was getting closer to the edge. Naruto activated his technique and went after Toppo. Jiren meanwhile, froze in mid-air. He looked around but found no one near him. His eyes widened as he looked up and saw Naruto follow Toppo off of the arena. Divine Retribution. Naruto called. Now that he was in his Super Saiyan Rose form, his attack was much stronger. The attack hit the god candidate straight on and sent him downward. This time though, there was no ground to catch him. The force from his own attack propelled Naruto back onto the arena. Letting his power die down, he returned to his base forma and cancelled his technique. Jiren dropped to the ground and stared them down. Universe 11's Toppo has been eliminated. The Grand Priest called. Toppo appeared next to Belmont in his base form and apologized for his loss. Naruto stared down Jiren and ignored the sounds of everyone starting up their own fights once more. Luckily for him, he was saved from another fight as Goku dropped down and spoke. Yo. I can't let you guys hog all the fun, he said as he looked to Jiren. Naruto turned to Hit and nodded. The two left and Goku was left to stare down Jiren. Did you guys know Naruto-san could transform like that? Asked Kaba, amazed at what he'd just seen. Both Caulifla and Kale shook their heads. They didn't even know who he was. Now they found out that he was incredibly strong. Well, I'm glad I'm on their team, Cell said as he blasted someone off the arena. Well, it seems I was wrong, Champa-sama, Vados said as she continued to watch the action unfold. The cat-like god looked up at her with a frown. What do you mean? He asked. He couldn't remember her making any sort of predictions for the fight. A while back I told you that Naruto would be stronger than Sidra in a few years. She clarified. However, based on what I saw during the fight with Toppo, I can tell that I was wrong. Toppo's power far exceeds that of Sidra and yet he still held his own. Granted, he allowed himself to be punished by Toppo in order to get close enough to blast him with Hakai. Apart from that, he also has training from a god of destruction and an angel. She says, looking over to Rumshi and Kuss. So you believe Naruto is also at God of Destruction level? Champa questioned. The Angel of Universe 6 nodded. Yes. As of right now I'd wager he's above Sidra, Rumshi, Moscow, and Hellas. She says, making the god grin from ear to ear. Again, this is just an assumption on my part. If there's anyone who will help confirm this, it will be Jiren. She finishes. Champa was ecstatic hearing this. His universe's chances of survival were increasing more and more every minute. On the other side of the bleachers, others were also talking about the fight. Specifically, the individuals who helped train one of them. His use of Hakai has improved dramatically, wouldn't you say, Rumshi-sama? Asked Kus. She had watched her student take on a fellow candidate and did better than she expected. He hadn't even used his ultimate form. Though the help of the assassin definitely helped that. It used to take him a lot longer to generate Hakai energy the way he did. The elephant god kept his arms crossed and nodded. You're right. But it shouldn't surprise us, he was always persistent in his training and it's paid off. In fact, I couldn't tell if that Hakai he generated was one of mine or one of his own, he said, confusing the angel. She tilted her head slightly in confusion. What do you mean? She asked, feeling like she missed something. Back when he was training under us, I used to send him on destroyer missions from time to time. To see if he had what it took to destroy a planet on a mere order. Sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't. I would generate a Hakai ball for him to use. I occasionally sensed that he still had the energy in him when he returned, but most of the time, if he accepted the job, it would be completed, so I wouldn't say anything. Now though, I don't feel the energy inside him, but he was still able to create the ball. Like Toppo, it used to take him a little to create it, but he did it instantly. That leads me to believe his power has grown so much he can generate Hakai like a true god of destruction, he said with something akin to pride. Well, it was pretty bold of them to go after Toppo so quickly, wouldn't you say, Beerus-sama? Whis asked his god. Normally, all of the strong fighters stay until the very end where they battle it out. Beerus nods in agreement. Yeah, but had Toppo not fought Kaba, perhaps he'd still be in the tournament right now. Black was content in sitting back and participating minimally until one of his teammates was targeted. The moment Toppo decided on someone from Universe 6's fate was sealed, he stated. On that same note, Black is going to be a big problem for us. Back down in the arena, Frieza was currently stepping on the head of a weaker opponent. Just for good measure, he slammed his foot on it once. Ho 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 ho, there are some real monsters in this tournament. He says to the man on the ground, referring to the fight everyone had just seen. But as long as they destroy each other and do the work for me, it's no problem for me. He says as he continues torturing his victim. That was cool, said Zeno with stars in his eyes. He stood up on his seat and mimicked Naruto's movement. Divine retribution, he said as he moved his hands the same way Naruto did. The Grand Priest chuckled at that and kept his eyes on the arena, curious to see what would happen next. This tournament is full of surprises. He says to himself. Naruto and Hit were leaning on a recently created boulder, catching their breath near their side of the arena where they first started. Naruto took a deep breath and checked his body for the bruises he had. Well, at least one nuisance is gone. Naruto commented and winced as he felt where Toppo had hit him. We can't get comfortable. We still have Jiren to worry about, Hit said, also checking himself. We'll have to make sure we're in top form when it's time to fight him. He added. Yeah, but he'll get his in time. We still have a few cards up our sleeves at this point. Naruto replies. For now, let's recuperate and see how the rest of the team is doing. He says, looking up at their side. Only Bottomo was up there, but he couldn't sense Frost anywhere on the arena. They look over and notice that Caulifla was fighting someone and doing relatively well. Kaba had woken up and was fighting against a robot from Universe 3 in his Super Saiyan form. Not too far from them was Son Goku fighting alongside the blonde and black-haired siblings against some Universe 2 fighters. Wonder what happened to Jiren. I know he's still around, but I thought he was going to fight against him. Naruto thought as he watched the fight. They managed to get the fighters to retreat, though he noticed the siblings didn't seem to get tired. They'd have to remember that. Naruto turned over to Hit. We're doing pretty good. At least no one from our universe has done anything truly stupid, he said, jinxing himself. Oi! Old man they call Son Goku, fight with me. He heard Caulifla yell as she powered up to her Super Saiyan form. He rubbed his hand down his face. I spoke too soon. Didn't we tell her specifically not to fight people stronger than her? He'll mop the floor with her, he said, exasperated. This will be a good lesson for her. Hit comments, also watching them begin the fight. If she gets beat, we'll bail her out like we did with Kaba. They watch as she's being pushed back and Goku is still not breaking a sweat. They were pretty surprised when they saw Kale shoot a ki blast at Goku though. Unfortunately for her, he just smacked it aside like it was nothing. Hey you. You mind staying out of this? Goku told her. Poor girl looked like she was going to cry when Caulifla kept on fighting. That sadness quickly turned into rage as she began powering up to the point where her whole body began bulking. She lost the pupils in her eyes and her hair gained a green tint as opposed to the yellow a regular Super Saiyan would have. She was built like a bodybuilder and her power was coming out full force. Naruto was shocked that the shy girl who wouldn't say 2 words had this kind of power. She began yelling Son Goku and went berserk, attacking anyone in her path. She even ate one of his Kamehameha blasts at point-blank range, though he had the feeling the Saiyan was holding back as to not kill her. They felt the presence of one of their teammates join them to watch what was happening. Cell looked down and watched as she eliminated one of the Pride troopers that tried to catch her. Okay, am I the only one who finds it kind of creepy that she's doing this all out of jealousy that the Saiyan girl won't pay attention to her? His question remained unanswered as the girl let off a powerful scream that shook the arena. Hit moved from their position to talk to Caulifla, who at this point would be the only one capable of calming the girl down. This is bad. If she kills someone in rage she'll get disqualified. He informed her. Oi Kale. You've got to calm down. The girl yelled. Kale. The rock behind them exploded, revealing said girl who was reaching for the smaller girl. Right before she could do anything she was blasted into the air by an orange attack. Jiren landed a few feet away from them, one head pointing in the direction of Kale. He extended his fingers and let out a HHMP and turned around and crossed his arms over his chest, eyes closed. It's over, he said before a large blast went off behind him. Kale was seen falling out of the blast, back in her base form, unconscious. Caulifla ran over to catch her. Hit took his hands out of his pockets and was being stared down by Jiren, who looked angry. Considering they eliminated what was possibly his friend, he wasn't surprised. Looks like there's no stopping this fight now, he thought as he tensed himself up. The two of them didn't move, simply waiting for one to make the first move. Yo, Goku said, coming out from behind a rock. He had witnessed Jiren's strength and wanted nothing more than to fight him. Thanking his blessings, Hit took the opportunity to leave the scene with his teammates. Meanwhile, back where Cell and Naruto were, the android whistled. That's some power he's got. Naruto could only nod. Jiren beat Kale with a small ball basically. Well, I can't let everyone outshine me, Cell said as he began stretching his arm. Time to go prove myself, he said as he sensed out his opponents. They were close by. Good. He jumped down and walked. Another fighter from Universe 2 had been eliminated by the duo of 17 and 18. They had been trying to get this guy for a good minute and finally had done so. We finally got one of the pests, 17 said as he dusted himself off. To be honest, I was starting to get bored. He added. Well, we can't have that now, can we? They heard someone say and chuckle afterwards. They didn't have to turn around to know who had spoken to them. They cursed their luck at who they had just come across. Why those looks? Cell asks as he saw the frowns on their face. We didn't get a chance to talk earlier. So do you two want to catch up now or some other time? He asked rhetorically. 17 walked forward and turned to 18 without taking his eyes off Cell. 18, if we fight him together we can take care of him now. After all, a 12-year-old managed to beat him, it shouldn't be too hard for us. He mocked, expecting the android to attack in rage. To his surprise though, he didn't. Instead he laughed. So you're really going to try and fight me instead of retreating? You can sense it, can't you? I'm far above you two in power, he said, relishing in their discomfort. Very well, I'll take care of you before I get to Gohan. Though let me just say I'm proud of you. It takes a big man to do what you're doing, 17, said man frowned, not understanding what he was talking about. Sticking to your guns to fight me, and in doing so throwing your entire universe's lives away. Beerus frowned from his seat hearing this. This Cell guy was getting into his fighters' heads. He didn't know what kind of history they had, but he knew it wasn't good. And for that I tip my. Cell stopped and looked up. What is that on my head? Would you call it a crown? He asks himself. He looked over and saw Caulifla was watching his fight unfold. Oisin girl, would you call this a crown? He asks. Huh? She asked, bewildered. Just shut up and start fighting, she yelled, raising a fist in his direction. He turned back to the androids. We'll call it a crown, he said, nodding to himself. Naruto cracked a smile from his spot. Cell certainly knew how to enjoy himself and rile up his opponents. But it was time to see how strong the man was. He could sense a lot of power in him. Not wasting any more time, 17 and 18 charged at him and began attacking together. Cell merely stood still and swatted away all of their punches and kicks. They jumped back and stood side by side. He wasn't kidding, said 17, he's much stronger now. They tried again by shooting numerous ki blasts at him, but it did them little good. He was still standing there without a scratch when the smoke cleared out. Is that all? He asked. My turn. He says before appearing in front of 18. He kicked her in the gut and sent her skidding into a rock a few feet away. He's sure he heard Krillin yell at him from the benches but paid it no mind. The moment he connected, he turned around and extended his arm out, catching 17 by the throat. If this is all you're capable of, then you're doomed. Cell told him as he applied pressure. He dropped 17 and jumped out of the way to avoid a dropkick from 18. The two of them attack again, but this time seem to be more coordinated in their attacks. He's dodging and weaving through punches and kicks rather than actually swatting them away. His head was turned a little as he got clipped by a punch from 17. 17 flares his ki and allows his white aura to appear. Having powered up, he blasted towards Cell at incredible speeds. Cell crossed his arms in an X pattern and felt the blow from 17's punch. He was sent soaring similar to 18. The man did not let up and continued to attack. The two traded punches back and forth, both connecting. Cell smirked. Finally, he's taking it seriously, he thought as he was kicked away. He straightened himself in mid-air and landed in a familiar pose to some. Kamehameha, he yelled as he shot the beam to 17. Said man lifts his right hand and activates a light green barrier that protected his whole body. He watched from inside as the light died down and the smoke from the attack raised. He dropped the barrier and didn't have the time to reach when Cell appeared right from behind him. He had forgotten Cell knew how to use instant transmission. Cell kicked his side before gripping his head and kneeing him in the stomach. 17 spit out saliva and felt an elbow to the neck. As soon as he hit the ground, he felt a kick to his ribs and then pain from hitting a rock. I don't understand, he said mostly to himself as he wiped his mouth. How is he so strong? I was able to keep up with Goku in his blue form while Cell's form should only be as powerful as Super Saiyan 2. He completed. Cell heard it and laughed. It seems your information is out of date. My perfect form is now my base form. You didn't think I spent all my time in hell doing nothing, did you? He asked as he approached him. Damn it, he's grown stronger, Krillin said from the bench. He was worried about 18 before, but now he was a mess. We'd be stupid to think he was going to be the same. I don't think they'd have taken him if Super Saiyan level was his limit. Hien told him. Just how strong is this Cell person exactly? Asked Whis. He was curious as almost everyone from Universe 7 knew who he was. He's an android just like 17 and formerly 18. Answered Krillin. He achieved his perfect form by absorbing both of them. He was beaten by Gohan a few years back, but before that he was wrecking havoc on the planet. Power-wise he'll have no trouble taking them down as he is. He finished. Hien then took over from there. I'd go so far as to say that Frieza would have to be gold to be able to beat him. The Triclops said. So Golden Frieza would be our best bet besides Goku and Vegeta? Asked Whis. Maybe. Cell said that his perfect form was now his base form, said Beerus as he watched the android. That means he has other forms hidden. Ho 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 ho, they heard a laugh from above them. Krillin never thought he'd ever say he was glad to see Frieza. Looks like you're having some trouble, 17, he said, stating the obvious. So the imp has finally decided to do something, Cell said, insulting Frieza. I was going to prove my strength against these two, but I think I'll send a better message if I trash you instead, he said as he turned to him. Frieza stopped laughing. You too. Leave, I'm going to show him why no one can speak to Frieza like that. He told them and jumped down. He began powering up and soon the entire stage was blinded in a golden light. When it died down, Frieza was standing there, his body now gold with accents of purple. Seems like this is a good time, as any Cell thought. Well, Therese, no way I can compete with that kind of power, he said. Champa was about to blow, but luckily Cell continued. Not like this anyway. He brought his arms up next to him and began flaring his own power. Ah, he yelled as his power skyrocketed. This aura, said Beerus. It's similar to that of a god, just like Goku and Vegeta, we said. When Cell's aura finally died down, the Universe 7 team were surprised to see the new Cell. Every part of his body which had been green before was now red, lightning would occasionally spark from him. Ah, that's more like it, he said as he rolled his arm. Well, what do you think of Ultra Perfect Cell? He asked as he stared down Frieza, who was now looking at him with serious eyes. Damn. Vegeta cursed as he watched the android stare down Frieza. Looks like even Cell managed to get a new transformation. As if Frieza wasn't enough, he said angrily. Yeah. Goku says excitedly he's gotten this strong, makes me want to fight him. He says, bringing a fist up. This is no time to be impressed, Kakarot. Vegeta says if we don't take care of him he'll be a problem in the future. Remember, his main target in this tournament is your kid. He tells him. Goku says nothing but continues on to watch what goes down. Back with the two people being talked about, they were currently standing opposite of each other, neither moving. Well? Cell asked, drawing out the word, "Aren't you supposed to teach me why I shouldn't speak to you like that?" He mocked. Not waiting for an answer, he disappeared from his spot. He reappeared in front of Frieza and kicked him center chest. Frieza flew into one of the giant boulders that had been created. Red aura appeared around Cell as he immediately dashed at the man. The moment Frieza bounced off the rock, Cell was on him. Frieza felt an elbow to the gut and a couple to the face and body. Not being one to take punishment like that, he regained his bearings and retaliated. Or at least he tried. The moment he threw the first punch, it was caught and he watched Cell charge a ki blast at him. It impacted his face and hardly did any damage. The moment the light from the blast died down, he saw the android in front of him, curled into himself with dark red aura emanating from him. Frieza's eyes widened as he had an idea of what was going to happen. Cell stretched and all the gathered energy exploded outward. "Uck!" Frieza yelled as he was sent flying. Opening an eye, he noticed Cell was no longer in front of him, which could only mean he couldn't think as he sensed someone behind him. Cell had used instant transmission to teleport behind him. "Kamehameha!" yelled Cell as he shot the beam right in Frieza's back. Fighters from multiple universes who were close enough to watch the battle saw the beam take Frieza and impact the ground. The blast was strong enough to break part of the ground of the arena. Cell watched as a golden hand gripped the edge of the crater that had just been created and climbed out. The former tyrant looked up to see the smirking form of Cell waiting for him. He stood up and wiped the blood from his mouth and noticed he had dark purple marks all around his body. "TSK. Let's wipe that arrogant smirk off your face," Frieza said as he pointed a finger at Cell. A red beam shot out from the finger and continued in rapid succession. Cell had to dodge quickly as blast after blast came his way. He jumped as one of the blasts got too close for comfort. He didn't have time to react as a fist connected with his face. Frieza had taken the opportunity to dash at him and begin his own assault. He followed up the punch with multiple body shots and kicks, all of which were connecting. He punched him in the face and saw he was going to block. He faked the punch before spinning and letting his tail hit the android on his side. He watched with satisfaction as Cell was blasted away. He rolled on the ground a few times before regaining his composure and standing up. Cell rubbed his side for a second. "That one actually stung a little," he commented as he looked himself over. Like Frieza, he also had bruises on him, though not as pronounced as his opponent. "Not bad for an imp," he mocked. He disappeared from his spot and appeared behind the tyrant with a punch ready. Unfortunately, his hand was caught by a tail. "Ho ho 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 ho, that instant transmission of yours won't work against me anymore," he says as he uses his tail to squeeze the arm. "And now you're vulnerable," he adds. "Perhaps if I was weak you'd have an advantage," Cell comments. Frieza was going to ask what he meant but felt his body being pulled back. Using his power, Cell pulled him towards himself and buried his foot deep into Frieza's side, similar to what he had done to him. He felt the tail loosen and attacked. This time Frieza was prepared and the two traded punches and kicks, neither gaining the upper hand. One or two punches would land for either of them before their attacks would mirror one another. Seeing that they were at a stalemate, the two fighters jumped back and stared each other down, both breathing a bit heavier. Bringing his hands up, Cell powers up once more and dashes forward. They begin their dance once more, this time moving at a much higher speed. He threw a punch and was blocked. He saw Frieza pointing at him with a death beam ready. As he shot it, Cell used his own tail to smack his hand away and change the trajectory of the attack. Whether it hit someone or not, they didn't know, or care. Retracting his tail, Cell began to attack once more. "That fighter Cell is strong," Whis comments. "Yeah," agreed his god of destruction. "Frieza is on the defensive. This is the first opponent I've seen him go up against that he hasn't played around with," he notes. "Cell was nowhere near this strong last time." Krillin says worriedly he's even beating Frieza. "How'd he manage to get this strong?" he asks. "Indeed. From what I can sense, Frieza's golden form is still stronger than that of Cell. So the question remains as to how he's winning." Whis answers. "Don't forget he's an android," Tien says, drawing the attention to himself. "He's a mixture of multiple fighters, one of which being Frieza. No doubt he had Frieza's move programmed into him," he said. "That would explain how he's able to keep up with him," Whis said as he watched the battle continue. Their fists collided once again, powerful enough to create shockwaves throughout the arena. Both of them were landing more and more punches on each other. Cell at this point was no longer smirking and was taking the fight more seriously. Breaking their deadlock, Cell jumped back and created two Destructo discs. He threw them and immediately created two more and shot those as well. "TSK." Frieza clicked his teeth in annoyance. Did this android really believe this would work on him? He pointed his finger at them and shot them down one by one. Each disc created smoke that eventually covered the area they were fighting in. Through the smoke, Frieza sensed Cell coming at him. He brought his left hand up and blocked. Too predictable, he said. The smoke cleared and he was surprised to see he had blocked an attack from Cell's tail. In front of him, Cell had his finger pointed centimeters away from his chest. The real surprise was that he had a death beam charged up as well. He didn't have a chance to say anything as multiple blasts began hitting him all over his body. As the final blast hit him, he felt a kick, most likely fracture a rib, as he was sent flying. "Perfect," said Cell as he admired his work. "That was pretty clever," said Vados. Frieza brought his hand up, believing he was blocking a punch or kick, and left a large gap open. "Cell used the same technique Frieza had used on the Yardrat, I believe," she commented. Champa released a loud laugh. "He's getting beaten by his own attacks. Good job, Cell. Finish him. Eliminate him. Oi, Beerus. Why are you so quiet?" he taunted his brother. Caulifla, who had been watching the battle from the beginning, was pretty irritated. How could someone so annoying be this powerful? She asked herself. She originally thought that he'd be a liability from the way he had been talking to those guys. But after watching him in action, she couldn't deny he was powerful. The giant rock Frieza was blasted into glowed red for a second before blowing up. Frieza stepped on one of the rocks in front of him with an angry look on his face. "Now you've really pissed me off," he says as he powers up. Cell didn't have time to react as a heavy punch hit his face. Frieza followed it up with more punches before swiping his legs from under him. Cell rolled out of the way of a stomp but was met with a kick to the head and a hard punch to the gut. He felt 3 death beams hit his shoulders before another punch was delivered. He felt his legs leave the ground and his back colliding with a hard surface. "Ha ha ha ha." Frieza laughed as he began shooting multiple beams at Cell. Up in the stands, one, the God of Destruction of Universe 5, commented, "Even though we're not participating, at least this tournament isn't a waste of time for us. It's a wonder how with fighters like these their mortal rating is so low." Off to the side of the battle, 17 and 18 were watching it unfold from a safe distance. They watched as Cell was absorbed by the giant rock protruding from the ground. It was actually a wonder that the rock didn't break. "Do you think that did it?" 17 asked. "I'm not sure." 18 responded, "I haven't seen Frieza this worked up the whole tournament. He put some power into that last attack," she said. They watched as dark red beams of light escaped from the rock before it exploded. 17 covered them both with his green barrier and kept his eyes locked on the explosion. Cell walked out of the rubble, his body releasing some light smoke. He had a few more bruises than he did before, but other than that looked fine. 18 took the time to answer 17's earlier question. "I'm going to go ahead and say no, it didn't do it." "Ha ha ha ha," Cell laughed as he dusted his shoulder. "That was pathetic." Frieza, being insulted for the last time, powered up once more, his golden aura shining bright. He brought his 2 hands together and formed a dark red energy ball. "Ha!" he yelled as the ball turned into a wide beam. Cell stood in place and watched as it approached him. "Cell, get out of the way," yelled Champa. Naruto was also wondering what Cell was thinking standing there like that. "I learned this from your brother in hell," Cell said as he jumped into the attack. Though Frieza couldn't see him do it as his vision was blocked by the light emitted by the attack. Everyone, even Naruto, was shocked at what they had seen. Cell emerged right where his hands held the attack and punched the former tyrant hard in the face. He quickly followed up with a knee to the gut, hard enough to make Frieza cough up blood. He was already feeling the effects of using an attack with that much energy, so he was vulnerable at the moment. Cell quickly hit him with an uppercut which sent him into the air. He charged up his Kamehameha before using instant transmission to teleport above Frieza. "Ha!" he yelled as he shot the blast downward, taking his opponent with it. Everyone, even the gods, had to shield their eyes from the bright light that the blast was radiating. When it finally died down enough for them to see, they say, a giant smoke cloud near the center of the arena. To Cell's surprise, the imp was still in his gold form. He was using his arms to try and pick himself up, though you could tell he was having some difficulty. He walked to him and kicked him with more power than necessary in the ribs and sent him into another battle-created boulder. That did it. Frieza's gold receded the moment he hit the rock. He was back in base form, face down. He actually put him to sleep. Naruto commented, "Not bad. It was an impressive display of power. Now to finish the job." Cell muttered to himself as he walked towards Frieza. Unfortunately, the moment he took his first step, he was forced to jump back to avoid a heart-shaped ki blast. Looking upwards, he saw a strange-looking girl. She wears a sleeveless red and green dress with a very thick petticoat underneath it, yellow gloves and boots, and a rubber cap with an antenna-like protrusion. "You." She points at him. "I'm here to defeat you in the name of love," she said. "Someone as vile as you is a threat to our universe. Originally, I was going to stop this menace," she said, pointing at the unconscious Frieza, "but you're worse." "I see," Cell said with an amused voice. What universe are you from? He asks. Universe 2 under the beautiful Hela-sama. She says proudly. Cell looks up at where the gods are and looks for the female god. He noticed that her attendant had a scepter just like the one from his new universe. Looking closer he noticed that his was glowing, whereas the others weren't. Hey, whatever your name is. Why is your god's assistant staff glowing? He just knew something was going on here. So that all of Universe 2 can watch and send us their love to help us win. She answers. They're actually televising it to their whole universe? Beerus spoke out loud. Turns out that was the wrong thing to say as a smile came across Cell's face, though they couldn't tell if it was mischievous or malicious. Is that so? He asked. He quickly jumped up onto a giant body of land that was created and looked straight at Universe 2. Tapping his chest he cleared his throat and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. People of Universe 2. He began, your warrior has foolishly decided to face me. So I'd like to take this time to tell you that rather than watching this beatdown I'm about to put on her, you do something else instead. Use this time to connect with your loved ones. Get your affairs in order, or maybe just kill your boss. Up in the stands Vados let out a small laugh. Well, Cell certainly knows how to involve the crowd, she said. Though it seemed that the Universe 2 fighters and gods weren't as amused as her. Get a purge going, Cell continued, live a little, because in a few minutes' time. He trailed off as he glanced at Ribrianne. Well, to give you an idea. He disappeared from his spot and reappeared in front of the fighter of love. He kept his eyes on the angel's staff but had a red blast charged in his hand. He shot it straight into Ribrianne and sent her flying into the giant centerpiece that kept the time. So, keep that in mind, he said as he turns to continue the fight. He took 2 steps before stopping and turning around. Also, feel free to pray to your god, but spoilers, I won't be listening. With that he flared his aura and dashed towards his new prey. Poor girl has no idea what she just got herself into. Naruto commented to himself. Naruto. He heard from behind him. Hit was back and appeared to still be in good shape. He had some bruises from their fight with Toppo but nothing too bad. What is it? He asked, wondering why the assassin was back. Hit just nodded his head and took off. He followed suit. Hit wasn't one to waste time, so he knew this would be important. They stopped just a few feet away from an ongoing fight. It was the man Cell went to talk to just before the tournament started. He was fighting against some green-skinned man. That's Son Goku's son fighting against a Buni. Hit informs him. His control over his ki is so good he can create feints of it. It makes it that much harder to detect how he'll attack. Naruto watches as the man's body seemingly creates different colored clones of himself and move as one with him. Gohan was skilled, he let himself be hit in order to find the real Abuni and counter. Though with every hit he gave he also took one in return. An impressive feat of control. Naruto comments, but what's so special you brought me here to see it? I doubt you think you can't take him. Hit keeps his eyes on the battle and speaks. He's the last one. Naruto was about to ask what he meant, but then it clicked. He looked up at the stands and noticed Universe 10 had 9 fighters already eliminated. If Gohan won, Universe 10 would be erased. Kamehameha, Gohan yelled, his attack easily overpowered Abuni and shot him off the stage. He immediately looked over at Rumshi and Kuss but didn't allow any emotion to appear on his face. Universe 10's Abuni has dropped out. All of the Universe 10 warriors have dropped out. They've been wiped out. Therefore, Universe 10 will be erased, announced the Grand Priest. Everyone minus Kuss began to glow white. Rumshi stared back at him and spoke. Naruto, though we did not depart on the most pleasant of terms, I'd like to say I'm still proud to have been your teacher. Use what Kuss and I have taught you over the years and survive. I'm sure you'll make a powerful god of destruction someday, he said, smiling slightly at the end. Hit looked over at his friend from the corner of his eye and noticed his hands were clenched tightly, but his face showed nothing. The fighters disappeared and Goasu along with Rumshi followed. Kuss was left all alone and looked downtrodden. Rumshi-sama, she mumbled sadly before looking at him. Though he had wished he'd have looked away. She was a great friend to him and to see her looking this sad killed him a little inside. Naruto, Hit said. This was the second time his friend had lost people close to him. First his brother, now his 2 teachers. Don't worry about it. Let's go, we have a tournament to win, Naruto said with a cold voice. He jumped down into the fray and looked for the first person in his way. Safe to say he was not in a good mood. Naruto looked around and walked into the middle of the action. He watched as ki blasts were flying all over the place by the remaining fighters. Even though he'd weeded out some, there was still quite a few left. Good work Universe 3, yelled EA, the Kai of Universe 3. With the way you're doing we will be the ones who survive, he yelled enthusiastically. Naruto was already in a bad mood and listening to the Kai go on about them winning annoyed him to no end. He narrowed his eyes at the man and locked his gaze onto one of the robots that was fighting up ahead. The green robot never knew what hit it until it was too late. 1 minute it was shooting ki blasts at his opponent, the next minute it was shot into one of the giant rocks. The others looked at their comrade who had some sparks of electricity coming out of its core but couldn't react as Naruto appeared in front of it and kicked it back into the rock. "Pankia," yelled EA, "activate survival mode," he yelled. Naruto was having none of it and quickly kicked him deeper into the rock before raising his hand and blasting the robot through the rock and out of the arena. It appeared soon after on the bleachers next to its god and Kai. "Naruto-san seems to be in a bad mood," Kaba said worriedly as he'd never seen his fellow Saiyan this upset. Hit, who had just regrouped with them, spoke. "He's originally from Universe 10, watching them get erased didn't sit well with him." Kaba nodded. It made sense, he thought, before another question popped into his mind. "Hit-san," he said, getting the assassin's attention. "You and Naruto-san seem to be good friends, but if he's from Universe 10, how did you two even meet?" he asked. Kale and Caulifla also seemed to be interested as they looked to the assassin expectingly. "I was hired to kill him." He entered, shocking the three Saiyans. They were about to ask more but stopped as they heard another explosion from nearby. Naruto was busy attacking another robot when he had to jump away from a ki blast that came in his direction. Seeing the momentary distraction, the robot made a break for it and left. Naruto looked over at the rocks to his side and had to move as another blast came over them and in his direction. Jumping up onto the rocks, he looked down to see who was attacking. It was the Namekian from Universe 7 fighting against some weakling. He saw the two of them exchanging ki blasts and smacking them away, all heading in his direction. He tilted his head, allowing them to pass without issue. He raised his hand and let a small black ball of energy gather before shooting it at the man fighting the Namekian. He never saw it coming and was blown out of the arena like the rest of them. The green man looked at him and narrowed his eyes before getting into fighting position. Naruto jumped down and stared him down. "It's bad luck for you that you caught my attention with those ki blasts. Now you're going to get eliminated," he told him. "We'll see," Piccolo responded. "This is bad. He's strong. Possibly stronger than Goku and Vegeta. I'll have to be ready for anything," he thought as he tensed his body. He couldn't think any longer as he felt a tremendous pain in his gut. He spit out some saliva and was kicked away, all in the span of 2 seconds. The sound of him crashing into a rock brought him back to his senses for a moment, as when his body bounced off the stone his face was grabbed and slammed into the ground. His senses told him to move and he rolled out of the way just in time to avoid what would have been a stomp to his back. He quickly got on his feet and jumped back, creating some distance. He shot multiple ki blasts quickly all around Naruto. He watched as they floated around him, frozen in place before all rushing at him at once. Piccolo watched as a black cloud of smoke surrounded the Saiyan. He quickly jumped aside and managed to barely dodge a pink beam that was coming right for him. He caught movement in his peripheral vision. Naruto appeared on his right side with a kick already coming his way. He quickly brought his arm up to dodge. His attacks are heavy, Piccolo thought as he kept his guard up. Naruto quickly spun in mid-air and delivered another kick. This one more powerful than the first due to the rotation adding to the power. Regaining his balance, Piccolo landed and sent a barrage of punches from a safe distance using his stretching ability. It was child's play for someone like Naruto to dodge the attacks and rush into the man's space. They had a brief hand-to-hand combat session before Naruto found an opening and used it. He managed to get another hard punch into the man's chest, which sent the man into the giant pillar in the center of the arena. Everyone who was watching the fight could almost feel the impact when he hit the pillar. Piccolo dropped to his knee and coughed up some blood. "Damn it, I can't lose now. There's too much at stake," he thought. Naruto landed in front of him and raised his hand. "Time to go," he said as he shot a pinkish black beam at the man. "Move, Piccolo," yelled Beerus. Time seemed to slow down for Universe 7 as they watched the blast inch closer to him. At the last second, the blast was deflected and sent off course into the world of void. Naruto kept his gaze forward and saw Vegeta in his Super Saiyan blue form standing in front of the wounded Piccolo. "Leave," he commanded. "I'll handle it from here," he said before turning his attention to Naruto. "Since I found out that you were a Saiyan, I've been curious about you," Vegeta said. "To my knowledge, only Universe 7 and 6 had Saiyans. Imagine my surprise to find out Universe 10 also had Saiyans. Though you seem to be different from us," he said as he got into his stance. "Let's see how powerful a real Universe 10 Saiyan is," he added. Naruto followed suit. "I'm also curious about you and Son Goku. When Hit told me about the two of you having a blue form, I grew curious as to why you got a different form than my brother and I," he said as he transformed into his rose form. "Let's see what you've got." The two Saiyans disappeared and begun their battle. "Oh my, looks like Vegeta has decided to take on one of Universe 6's strongest. Whis commented as he watched the two fighters exchange punches. I'd prefer it if he didn't, but right now it's the best move. Had he not gotten involved, we would have lost another one for sure. Beerus commented. We'll just have to believe in him. Vegeta may not be the nicest guy here, but he's still on our side, we'll have to trust him. Krillin added. On the other side of the bleachers, Vados commented, this should be interesting. Vegeta is one of the top 5 fighters still in this tournament. The chubby god nodded in agreement. True, but Black will still take him. Come on Naruto. Take him down, he yelled. Naruto managed to hear the god even while focusing on his fight. Ignoring him, he continued throwing hands with the Universe 7 Saiyans. To most watching, it seemed they had disappeared, only appearing as sonic booms going across the fighting stage. To those more powerful, they could see the two of them moving rapidly across the stage. What do you think, Jiren? Asked Dispo as he and his fellow Pride Trooper watched from the side. Jiren said nothing but kept his focus on the Saiyans. They were strong. Naruto landed a hard right to the prince's face before following it up with a strong left and a kick to the body, which managed to send Vegeta a few feet away. He hit the ground and did a quick flip to get back onto his feet. He's stronger than his brother by a long shot. Vegeta thought to himself as he rushed in once more. Ahhh, Vegeta yelled as he barraged Naruto with a flurry of punches. Naruto blocked the punches but noticed they were different than before. He managed to land a punch but couldn't follow up as Vegeta's defense tightened up. He landed one more before taking one himself. The two continued this pattern, both landing almost an equal amount of attacks. As he blocked a punch, he felt a hard kick to his side and was hit by a blue ki blast which sent him crashing into a nearby rock. Naruto, Champa yelled, holding his head, his eyes peering through the holes in his fingers. His concerns were put to rest as Naruto pulled himself out of the rocks. Vegeta landed in front of him and got into stance once more. I see. Naruto thought to himself as he too got ready. He analyzed my movement both now and during the fight with Toppo. He tested me first before increasing his speed during our second clash. He added. In a burst of speed he appeared in front of Vegeta and had his pink glowing blade at the ready. He slashed quickly before faking and throwing a kick to the man's head. Vegeta fell for the feint and had to quickly begin dodging as Naruto began slashing at him. He jumped further back when he saw a pink energy scythe swipe at him far too close for comfort. Damn, he knows how to create that too, he muttered. He frowned as he felt liquid fall from his cheek. Using the back of his hand he cleaned the area and found his glove stained with a bit of blood. Yes, I can use it too. Naruto replied as he got ready once more. Who do you think taught my idiot brother how to do it? In a flash he appeared in front of the prince and begun swinging the energy scythe at him. Vegeta grit his teeth in anger as he could feel himself barely being cut with every slash. He found an opening during the strikes and managed to focus his ki and smack the blade away before quickly kicking his leg. Naruto's leg bent slightly and he quickly looked up and saw Vegeta above him, hammerfist ready. Unfortunately for Vegeta, Naruto moved faster than expected and spun, grabbing his face in the process and slammed him into the ground before kicking him away. As he regained his balance, Vegeta turned just in time to see a light pink beam coming straight for him. Quickly gathering up his energy he retaliated Galick Gun, he yelled as his purple beam collided with the pink. The two attacks met and created a huge shockwave. Those nearby had to shield themselves from the force. As soon as the attacks died down, Naruto was on the defensive again as the prince was on him throwing punches rapidly. Seeing that everything was being blocked, Vegeta jumped back. Big bang attack, he yelled as he raised his hand and released the attack. Naruto jumped out of the way and crossed his arms in front of him as Vegeta appeared in front of him, his blue aura glowing even brighter, and let off a hard punch on him. Even though he blocked, he felt the force from the blow and was hard enough to send him flying through two giant rocks. Kaba, who had been watching the battle from the beginning, was amazed at what he was watching. Is this how powerful I can become? He whispered to himself. His master, Vegeta, had told him through intense training one day he too could reach that level. Watching him fight Naruto, who was also much stronger than he'd ever let one, made him realize just how much more training he needed. Well, he's definitely stronger than our Saiyans, Naruto thought as he hit the ground and skid back a few feet. He brought his hands up and flared his aura before going on the offensive. He moved faster than before and landed a hard punch to his stomach before barraging his face with punches, all of which landed. Naruto finished his combo by kicking the man away and grabbing his left arm before he could fly off. Quickly he used the arm to bring him back to him and placed his right hand in the prince's midsection and let off a one-handed divine retribution. Vegeta couldn't dodge as his arm was being grabbed onto and took the attack head-on. His body was absorbed by the pink and black blast and was shot away. Vegeta, yelled Beerus as he stood up holding onto the edge of the bleachers. Whis had his eyes wide open in worry for their fighter. Everyone watched as the beam flew across the stage and out of the arena. Everyone turned their heads to the bleachers but Vegeta never appeared. Naruto looked at the edge of the arena and saw Vegeta pulling himself back up onto the stage. He got up and Naruto noticed the man's body was smoking and part of his armor was broken. Panting, the man asked, "Did you really think something like that would take me out?" He yelled and powered back up into his blue form. "I'm not like those other weaklings," he yelled as he attacked. Faster than expected he flashed behind Naruto, who turned and slashed at him only to be met with empty space. He felt a pain in his gut and found a foot embedded in his stomach. Vegeta served him the hands for a solid minute and said, "This is the power of the strongest Saiyan in Universe 7. He kicked his fellow Saiyan away and followed up with another big bang attack. Being in the air he crossed his arms again and took the attack. He crashed into the pillar and was lost in the smoke. Vegeta, watching from a few feet away, was panting and looked into the smoke. Did that do it? He asked himself. His question was answered immediately as he barely dodged a pink ki blast that came out of the smoke. Naruto soon followed, walking out of the smoke. His forearms were smoking lightly and the sleeves of the shirt were burned off in that area, but other than that not much damage was done to him. Vegeta kissed his teeth in annoyance. This guy's a monster. He couldn't think any longer as he had to begin dodging the punches and kicks that came at him faster than before. This time it was he who crossed his arms in an X formation as a kick connected and sent him away. Naruto appeared above him and using his momentum spun and kicked Vegeta down, much like he had done to Toppo earlier. Vegeta's body bounced on the ground once before Naruto grabbed him by the hair and threw him up in the air. Raising his hand he called out, "Black Ball Rain." He released a black orb with a golden outline into the air and immediately the ball split into hundreds and began raining down. Vegeta hit the ground hard as one of the attacks hit him in the air and continued to rain down. Fighters all around had to begin moving about as to not get caught in the crossfire. Vegeta got up quickly and began dodging the blasts, but as he was busy doing so Naruto appeared next to him and barraged his side with punch after punch. This caused him to break his focus on the rain of attacks and got hit a few more times. Soon it overwhelmed him and was completely caught in the attack as Naruto disappeared. Naruto watched the smoke clear, revealing a base form Vegeta who was struggling to get up. The man shook as his legs tried not to give out from under him. When Vegeta managed to look up he noticed Naruto was right in front of him. "This is nothing," Vegeta coughed. Naruto was inwardly impressed with the Saiyan's resilience. "You have great power, you're right to be proud. It's unfortunate you have to be eliminated now, but I will honor you with one of my stronger attacks." Naruto complimented as he powered up. Vegeta watched as his aura turned from light pink into a darker hue. He watched as he crouched down and put his hands in a form similar to Kakarot's Kamehameha. Dark pink energy with a black aura gathered around his hand and began to grow brighter. "This can't be it," he yells to himself as he tries to move. "This can't be how the Saiyan race for us ends. Kakarot is strong but even he can't beat all these monsters by himself," he thinks as he tries to gather energy to power up again. He closes his eyes and clenches his teeth as he tries his hardest to draw more power. Images of his family appear in his head. Trunks, Bulma, Bula, all of them appear one by one. Memories of their time together pass by one after another. That did it. His body glows a bright blue as he once again powers up. Bringing his hands together he gathers up all the remaining power he has and forms a bright yellow ball of energy in his hands. The power is so immense that blue lightning begins to gather around the energy ball. Naruto, who was almost done, was impressed that the man still had that much energy in him. "It won't end like this." Final flash, Vegeta yelled as he shot off his attack. "Super Divine Retribution," Naruto yelled as he too let off his attack. Everyone watched as the two attacks battled for dominance, creating an orange glow with some black in the center of the attacks. Up in the air Zeno watched with stars in his eyes as the battle raged on. The wide range of colors and power-ups were making him bounce in excitement. Goku noticed that Naruto's attack was beginning to consume Vegeta's final flash. "Vegeta," he yelled but had to stop as he blocked a punch from the person he was fighting. Finally the pink completely consumed the gold and win the battle. Vegeta saw the attack was already reaching his hands and drew as much power as he could in desperation. "It won't end like this. I refuse to go down like this," he thought. Whether he knew it or not, his body receded back into his base form and his eyes went completely white as he was absorbed by the attack. Once again all the fighters watched as a massive beam consumed the arena and flew off the side into the world of void. When the attack died down, a large trench was left separating the arena down the middle, just barely missing the pillar at the center. Goku had his eyes wide. "Vegeta," he said slowly. Beerus and Whis looked aside and waited for Vegeta to fall into the stands, but once more he didn't. Naruto noticed this too and frowned. "I know I didn't kill him," he thought as he turned his eyes to the end of the new trench and saw something. His eyes widened both in slight amazement and shock. "Did he?" He trailed off as he saw a hand gripping the end of the trench where the ledge used to be. He watched as Vegeta pulled himself up onto the stage once more. He stood up shakily and stayed standing, head down and arms at his side. Naruto walked forward and spoke, "I'm amazed you managed to escape elimination. But it seems it's taking everything you have to just stand." He commented as he shot a black blast at him. Smoke rises as the attacks connect. "It won't end here," he heard a voice from his side say as he feels multiple punches hit him harder than he expected. He was shot to the side at incredible speed and was buried into a rock. Looking up, he notices the man look up and open his eyes, revealing a set of light gray eyes. Slowly a silverish aura surrounded him as well. "The real fight starts now," he said. "So he has it too," Naruto said quietly as a smirk graces his face. Up in the stands we stood up radiating happiness. I didn't think Vegeta would be able to overcome his thinking problem so soon, but he has. He cheered. "Whis," Beerus said in shock, "is that what I think it is?" He asked shakily. Whis nodded his head as both he and Naruto answered at the same time. "Ultra Instinct." Naruto disappeared from the rock he was embedded in and reappeared behind Vegeta with a pink ball in hand and manages to slam it into his side. The Saiyan flew off into the distance and, like he'd done to Naruto a few moments ago, slammed into a rock. Rather than give chase and continue his assault, he stopped and just watched, his mind racing. "Something's off. I have been wrong about him getting Ultra Instinct?" he thought to himself before bringing his hand up to block a punch. Though he was able to block that one, he was not able to stop the barrage of punches that followed. It was almost too fast to be seen. He skid back a little and prepared himself. Vegeta dashed forward again and the two Saiyans began trading blows at high speeds. He smacked a punch away but was kicked in the gut and got an elbow to the nose. In retaliation, Naruto managed to land an uppercut before doing a spin kick and creating distance between them. He used this time to really take a good look at Vegeta. The man had some silver streaks in his hair and his eyes were silver. "No, it's Ultra Instinct all right. His attacks prove that. But I shouldn't be able to hit him like this in this state. Unless, it's incomplete." He figured it out. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he studied Vegeta form. "You've done it. It might be incomplete, but it's defiantly that form," Naruto spoke as he slowly walked towards the prince, who mimicked his movements. "Whis, how did he do it? How did he obtain Ultra Instinct?" Beerus asked calmly, unknown to the two. The other Go-DS and their attendants were listening. "This is just a guess, but I believe the fighting Naruto-san has pushed our dear prince to his limits, both physically and mentally." Whis' lips perked up slightly while his eyes shined with pride as he continued. "But let's not forget his pride and determination gave him that extra push to break his shell. Vegeta has once again broke his limits." His face then turned serious. "However, as Naruto-san said, it's incomplete. My guess is that his thinking problem is still limiting him from using Ultra Instinct to its full capacity," he explained. "You have to stop thinking in order for it to work, so how has he done it?" Beerus asked. "Perhaps he's no longer thinking about attacking. His body just knows how to do it now. His problem comes in the form of defense. Rather than having his body think for him, he's still analyzing with his mind and that counter what Ultra Instinct is." Whis finished. Naruto stood a foot away from the prince, standing a few inches taller. Naruto craned his head down to stare into his silver eyes. "You should be proud, Prince Vegeta. You've acquired a power most mortals could only dream of," he commented. Vegeta just smirked. "It's good to know at least some of you Saiyan brats know respect," but in an instant Vegeta's eyes gained a serious tint. "But with this, I will win this tournament and head back home to my family." The Prince of the Saiyans gained that playful smirk once more. "Don't worry, I'll make sure to bring your universe back when I win." Vegeta got into his classic fighting style as he waited for his fellow Saiyan to strike. Naruto gave a little laugh. "Funny, that's what I was going to say." Naruto got into a loose fighting stance, ready to test the power of Ultra Instinct. "Cheeky brat," Vegeta said loudly. The two dashed forward and began once more throwing rapid punches. The attacks were so strong they produced shockwaves that were felt around the arena. Those watching were amazed at the speed the two Saiyans were fighting at, and only few could keep up with them. To those who couldn't, they just looked like sonic booms going around the arena. They jumped into the air and continued their assault. Naruto missed a punch and was met with a knee to the gut and an elbow to the back of the neck. At the same time, Naruto felt multiple punches connect with his upper body. The final attack in the assault came in the form of Vegeta putting his hand on Naruto's chest and firing a ki blast, sending him back down. "Naruto!" Champa yelled while he held his head in between his hands in distress. "Get up! Get up now!" Vados put a finger up to her bottom lip in concentration and spoke. "Looks like he's having a harder time against Vegeta than he did against Toppo. Though he did have help earlier. But let's not worry for now, I have confidence in his abilities," Vados said. Naruto stood up and regained his bearings. He didn't have much time as Vegeta wasted no time in attacking once more. Naruto jumped out of the way and brought his hands up and ignited them. The same pink blades that had pierced the prince once were back. "Let's go," Naruto said as he jumped at him and began slashing. Vegeta was on the defensive and would occasionally throw punches here or there. But as long as Naruto was attacking, his Ultra Instinct would be kept at bay. Vegeta jumped back and brought his hands together. "Big Bang Attack," he yelled as a big yellow energy ball was shot. Immediately afterwards he dashed forward following the attack. He'd get him by surprise right after the attack. Naruto watched it approach and his blades became a darker shade of pink. He jumped in and slashed the attack right down the middle, shocking everyone watching. Naruto was indeed unprepared for the prince to have gotten so close and felt his face get grabbed and punched in the gut. What looked like only one punch was over 30 as Vegeta's body was in control of his offense. "What is it with people grabbing my face?" he thought in anger as he took the onslaught. Immediately after, he was thrown into the air and Vegeta appeared above him and let off another Big Bang Attack point blank in his back. A giant cloud of smoke was released as soon as his body hit the ground. The surrounding ground cracked and created a small crater. "Damn it. Hey, what are you guys doing down there? Get in there and help," Champa yelled. Naruto will be one of the keys to the universe's survival. If he goes down, it'll almost be guaranteed that you're erased. Vados says before sighing a shame, "He's one of the ones I find interesting," she said. "You're not helping," Champa yelled at his teacher. "Great work, Vegeta. Eliminate him," Beerus yelled. Back on the fighting stage, Naruto was laying down in a crater with his face caked with blood and a light smile on his face. "Hey, damn," Naruto groaned as he sat up. "You Universe 7 Saiyans hold nothing back." Naruto's fellow teammates watched on in concern. "We should go help," Naruto-san," Kale said in concern for her fellow teammate. Kabo was about to rush and help but was held back by Hit. Kabo looked up at his purple teammate in confusion. "Don't. If you interrupted their fight, I'm not sure if I could stop Naruto from destroying you." Kaba flinched as he looked back at his fellow Saiyans. "Plus you'd only get in the way, but then what will we do if he loses?" Hit just crossed his arms. "Then I'll jump in, but for now just watch." Naruto was back on his own 2 feet with a bit of trouble. Naruto looked up to see Vegeta once again walking towards him with a cocky smirk once more, but what caught Naruto's attention was Vegeta's eyes were going silver to black. "Ultra Instinct is wearing off," Naruto grinned as he straightened his posture. "It's time." Naruto wiped the remaining blood off his face with his damaged sleeve. "Is that it?" Vegeta asked as he raised a brow as impressed as, "I am that you lasted against this form. You must have more?" Naruto scratched the back of his head with a sigh. "How could you guess?" "Never mind that, but before I finish you off, I demand to see your full power." Vegeta growled. Naruto relaxed his body, his ki flowing steady with his heartbeat, and in an instant he was surrounded by his dark red ki with the inside being a dark shade of purple/pink. The ground started to shake as Naruto started to release all his godly ki. Kus watched with awe. "Did you really get this strong by yourself, Naruto? You truly are one of a kind." Champa started to jump up and down with mad laughter. "That's it, Naruto. Defeat Beerus Saiyan." Cell watched with interest. "Hey, it would seem, you just continue to surprise me." Naruto started to yell as the power began to burn him from the inside out, but he held on strong. Naruto threw his head back, giving a roar that shook the entire world. The stage broke away, as lightning started to course around him. Naruto gave a final yell, his power exploded outwards, blinding everyone on stage. With the blinding light gone, they were able to look upon the godly Saiyan once more, and what a sight to behold. Naruto's hair was more spiked, his eyes gained a dark tint underneath, and his aura was flowing off him like a roaring fire that couldn't be contained. Naruto held his hand out, his scythe appearing once again, but that wasn't all he summoned. No words needed to be spoken to the 2 Saiyan that were staring each other down. Vegeta charged with his right fist drawn back. Just as he was an inch away, a force slammed into his unprotected stomach, making him back away in shock. Vegeta wheezed as he cupped his stomach. What? Another heavy attack slammed into his side, then another struck him across the face. Naruto hefted his scythe on his shoulder as he gave a cruel smirk. Vegeta fell to a knee, taking a deep breath. "What is this?" "This is the end of the line for you." Naruto pointed his scythe menacingly at Vegeta. "Prince Vegeta. It seems he can do the same thing you do, Jiren." Dispo commented from the rock they were standing on. The gray alien kept his eyes on Naruto as he responded. "No. He's doing something different," he told him, confusing the rabbit man. "This is bad," Beerus commented. "You can feel the power he's radiating from here." "That's true, it looks similar to that form Goku and Vegeta call Super Saiyan 2. Whis commented out loud. Naruto heard this and spoke. "Be honored, Vegeta, you get to experience Super Saiyan Rose level 2. Vegeta took in his new form and grit his teeth. He could feel Ultra Instinct begin to wear off, and now his opponent has powered up. He'd have to try and finish this fight fast. Naruto removed the scythe from his shoulder and concentrated his ki into it. Soon enough the scythe became a solid rather than just focused energy. Naruto dashed forward with Vegeta doing the same. As soon as he was close enough, Naruto jumped into the air and swung down. Vegeta moved aside and had to bend backwards to avoid getting sliced in half. "Oi Naruto! If you kill him you'll be disqualified, be careful," yelled Champa. Naruto tuned him out and focused on the fight. He swung once more and decided he'd finish quickly. No point in losing stamina in this form if he could avoid it. He pulled back and swung from a distance. Out of the blade a dark pink energy wave shot out towards Vegeta. The man was not expecting this and jumped into the air to avoid it, only to be met with a kick to the gut. His mouth opened up as a mixture of blood and spit shot out. The attacks were much heavier than they had been before. Naruto appeared behind him and gave an elbow to his back and resummoned his scythe and let off an energy attack point blank. Not giving him enough time to retaliate, Naruto rushed at him and began his assault. He threw punch after punch along with a couple of kicks and elbows, all of which connected. Damn it, Vegeta thought as he took all of the hits. How did he get so strong? Naruto finished his assault with a final punch to the face that sent the prince flying. Vegeta crashed into the giant pillar in the center of the arena hard enough to actually create a small crater in it. Naruto jumped up into the pillar intent of finishing it when he suddenly smacked away a yellow ki blast from Vegeta. The man jumped down at him and began his counter-attack, though he found it had very different results. Every punch was blocked or smacked away. Impossible. He's able to stop me in Ultra Instinct, Vegeta thought to himself angrily. Naruto watched as Vegeta's eyes shifted from silver to black repeatedly as he attacked. He's on his last legs. It ends now, he thought as he jumped back. It's over for you, Vegeta, Naruto commented as he brought the scythe out once more. He watched as Vegeta readied himself for his final attack. As soon as his fist was inches away from his face, he was stopped in mid-air. There it is again, Beerus said as he watched the battle. How is he doing that? I'm not exactly sure, though I may have an idea. It obviously has to be some sort of space-time technique, though I'm not sure how he's doing it. Whis answered. Off to the side, Vados just smiled as she let her brother try and figure out what was going on. Game over, Naruto said as he swung the scythe just inches away from Vegeta. The arena was engulfed in a dark pink light as a giant pillar of energy shot up into the sky, consuming Vegeta. Vegeta, Beerus yelled as he stood up. When the light died down, they saw Vegeta on the ground. His armor broken and several burns on his body, but he was still breathing. Vegeta, yelled Gohan as he watched one of their key members fall. He powered up and dashed in his direction, hoping to get him out of that tight spot. He watched as 17 and 18 landed in front of the fallen Saiyan and got into their attack position. He felt relief, but that relief was short-lived as he felt a hand grab his throat and slam him into the ground. He spun out of the way of a kick that was strong enough to break into the floor of the arena. Getting upright, he noticed the unmistakable green and black pattern of the man in front of him. Cell, he hissed angrily. The man smirked as he sized Gohan up. What's wrong? Weren't expecting to see me so soon? I did say I was going to get you, and what better time than now? He asked rhetorically. Gohan powered up to Super Saiyan and waited for Cell to make the first move. Cell merely raised an eyebrow at this. You really think Super Saiyan will be enough to stop me? I don't know if I should be insulted or if I should just laugh, he said as he appeared in front of the man with a fist buried in his gut. He then kicked him away. Before Gohan had a chance to get up, he felt a foot on his head and pressure began to be applied. Doesn't this bring back memories, Gohan? Cell asked cruelly. Only difference is this time it's not 16's head who I'm going to crush. He added as spiderweb-like cracks began appearing under Gohan's head. Being reminded of the death of the android angered him and was enough to release power to blast Cell away, allowing him to stand up. Gohan released his Super Saiyan form and went straight into his mystic form. The lighting around him flailing wildly. Oh, what's this? A new form? Cell asked. No matter, I'll destroy you all the same, he said as he brought his hands up and got ready for the rematch he's been waiting for. Gohan did the same and the two stared each other down. After what felt like an eternity, the sound of a ki blast impacting somewhere in the distance acted as the bell and the two rushed each other. Two blurs raced across the arena in a split second before they clashed. Two forearms were connected in a struggle for dominance. The two fighters were none other than the android known as Cell and Son Gohan. The same man that had beaten said android all those years ago. They broke the deadlock and began throwing punches at rapid speeds. Gohan had a serious look on his face as he attempted to break through the android's defense. Cell on the other hand was smirking in amusement as he blocked and weaved through the punches before throwing his own at slightly faster speeds. The Saiyan managed to block or dodge some of them but wasn't fast enough to stop them all. He took a few hits to the face and body before realizing this wasn't working and created some space between the two. Cell, however, wouldn't make it that easy. Seeing that he had the upper hand, he quickly appeared in front of Gohan and delivered a powerful elbow to the man's face before bringing his left hand up and shooting a ki blast at point-blank range. Gohan managed to block the ki blast but was still sent flying into a recently created boulder. Again, Cell was right on him. The moment his body bounced off the rock, Cell managed to catch up and throw 2 punches and a spinning kick that sent the man straight through the rock he was embedded in. Cell walked over to where the down Saiyan was, and rather than continue his assault, he decided to taunt him a little. "Is that all you've got? If so, I'm rather disappointed. How do you expect to help your universe if you're this pathetic?" he asked rhetorically. Gohan grit his teeth in anger from his position on the floor and powered up. Bright white aura flared around him as he prepared his counter-assault. The man disappeared from the ground and was on Cell in an instant. Gohan let out a yell as he began throwing punches and kicks at such a speed that some of the lower-powered fighters in the tournament wouldn't have been able to see. Cell, however, was a different story. The android was humming a happy tune as he smacked away all of the attacks that were aimed at him. He let this go on for about 5 minutes before having had enough and retaliating. He waited for an opening during Gohan's assault and attacked. When Gohan threw a sloppy left straight, Cell ducked underneath and connected with a hard kick to Gohan's midsection. The kick was powerful enough that the man would have been eliminated had the giant pillar in the center not been there. Cell charged a Kamehameha and fired. He was pleased to see that it had been deflected out into the void. Alright, looks like the kid has some fight left in him after all. He was surprised to see that in a blink of his eyes Gohan was right in front of him. The next moment he felt a hard hit connect with his cheek before another on the opposite side. Gohan got the break he was looking for. Once Cell was taking in his dirty work, he managed to catch him off guard enough to get his counter in. Punch after punch was connecting. He was finally on the offensive. He must have landed about 40 punches in the span of 10 seconds. He kneed the android in the gut before placing his palm out and letting off a giant blast of condensed energy. Up in the stands, Krillin was ecstatic. Finally things were looking up for them. Gohan finally has the upper hand. He commented. He's pushing Cell back. If he can keep this up, he can win. He added happily. We said while still looking down. I'm not so sure about that. Gohan isn't stronger than Frieza in his golden form, and we all saw this Cell manage to beat Frieza. Something isn't right here, he continued. They watched as the dust cleared down below, confirming Whis' hunch. Everyone saw Cell standing upright, looking fine with no noticeable injuries on his person. Said man was patting himself down, removing imaginary dirt off himself. Gohan just clicked his teeth in anger, hating the fact that his attack wasn't enough. Up above, Beerus too was upset. Unlike the others, he knew how this would end if Gohan didn't manage to pull something off. Damn! Just how powerful has he gotten? Gohan asked himself before beginning his attack again. This time, Cell didn't let himself get hit. He was catching every attack that was coming his way. Someone's been neglecting their training, I see. He taunted as he continued to evade the attacks. After one almost managed to nick him, he too began throwing punches back. Though unlike Gohan's, his weren't missing. Come on Gohan, you can do it, Krillin yelled from his seat. This is bad. Cell is just toying with him now. Come on Gohan, pull through for us, continued. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Whis replied. Cell's level of power is far beyond that of Gohan. When he decides to get serious, Cell will have an assured victory. He finished. As the battle was going down, both Hit and Naruto were watching it all go down from a relatively safe distance. They watched as Cell continued to toy with the Saiyan, all the while throwing in taunts as he did so. Seems a little personal, don't you think? Naruto asked as his eyes went left to right watching the battle. The boy was fighting with something akin to hatred rather than just for survival like the rest of the fighters were. The assassin nodded in agreement. He's got good technique. Even though he's just messing around, all of his moves are well calculated. We lucked out with him, he said. Yeah. Naruto replied as he moved his head slightly to the left to avoid a ki blast. We did. Though without Vado-sama we wouldn't have known about him. It's thanks to her mostly. Naruto added as he looked up to the Universe 6 bleachers. The angel noticed his stare and sent him a small smile, which he returned. Hit had glanced the little exchange the two shared. You seem to hold her in high regard. More so than Champa. It almost makes me wonder what your thoughts about her really are, he said. If one squinted their eyes really hard, they'd be able to catch the ends of his mouth twitching upwards. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the assassin and managed to stop his face from heating up. He was about to retort when the body of Gohan landed right in front of them. A few seconds later, Cell too landed in front of them. He looked at them briefly before picking up the boy by the hair. It was obvious the fight was over. Still holding him up by the hair, the android proceeded to rapidly punch the boy over and over again. "Oh, excuse me, where are my manners?" he asked himself before turning to his teammates. "Do you guys want in on this?" he asked briefly, stopping his assault. Both declined, briefly explaining that they were saving their strength. "Oh well, more for me." With that, he released a couple more punches before tossing the boy up into the air in front of him. He crouched down and began charging his attack. Both Naruto and Hit knew the attack since they'd seen the other Saiyans use the same one. As soon as the boy was close enough, Cell stuck. Gohan was sent flying out into the world of Void. Soon the attack died down and the Grand Priest spoke. Son Gohan of Universe 7 has been eliminated. Soon after, Gohan appeared in the bleachers with the rest of the eliminated Universe 7 team members. He let out a yell of frustration before turning to the god and his angel and bowing deeply. "I'm sorry, Beerus-sama. I failed," he said angrily. Beerus closed his eyes but still responded. "You did well, son Gohan. It was just unfortunate that you had to face someone like him." Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the bleachers, another god was having a field day. "Woo! Good work, Cell. I knew you could beat that Saiyan," Champa yelled, jumping up and down in celebration. Said man just looked up at the cat-like deity and smirked. "Is he seriously a god?" he asked his two companions. Naruto just shook his head at the god's antics. "As unlikely as it sounds, yes he is. Despite him being fat, he's still pretty strong." He then looked around to see who was still fighting. He scanned the fighters, trying to weed out the weak from the strong, when he noticed someone doing something strange. "Is he meditating?" he asked out loud. Hit followed his line of sight and saw Jiren floating in mid-air, eyes closed with a strong aura around him. Before he could respond, the man opened his eyes and stood up. His eyes quickly locked with Naruto and the two stared each other down for what seemed like an eternity before Jiren looked to his left and took off. Who could have caught his attention? "I was certain he was going to want to fight," Naruto said. "Well, Goku is over there. I'd say he's the one most likely to be drawing his attention," Cell commented. Naruto looked at his two teammates and nodded in that direction. Without saying a word, the warriors disappeared from their positions. They made sure to watch from a high vantage point as to not miss any of the action. This was it. He was finally going to see what Jiren could do. Ever since he had heard about him back on Universe 11, he was curious as to how powerful he really was. Toppo was powerful, but apparently Jiren was on another level. They watched as Goku and Jiren stood opposite each other. Neither moving, simply staring each other down. The three warriors weren't the only ones who noticed this. Most of the fighting in the arena had stopped in order to watch the battle. Jiren said before a giant blast of air radiated off of him. It was so powerful many of the fighters had to shield themselves, and some even went flying back due to the massive shock wave. Soon, the entire arena and even the world of Void itself began to quake. Now Naruto was truly impressed. Looks like he was the real deal after all. "I'd bet my money on the gray one," Cell commented from his left. Neither responded, but both shared his sentiment. Hit meanwhile was waiting for the battle to begin. This would provide them plenty of useful information on Universe 11's strongest warrior. With any luck, he would be able to find a weakness in his defense. Finally, Goku went on the attack. They watched as he let off a flurry of punches in his Super Saiyan form, none of them even moving the man. Backflipping, he transformed into level 2 before continuing the assault. Even at that level, Jiren still didn't budge. In fact, he didn't even bother raising his arms to block. When Goku used his red form, Jiren finally blocked the punches, with one finger. Damn! To be able to stop him with a single finger. This guy's a monster. Cell commented wide-eyed. Goku used Super Saiyan Blue and finally managed to move Jiren. The two began to take the battle into the air, both exchanging punches with Jiren having the upper hand. Goku was thrown around the arena, not having the chance to retaliate. The gray man appeared above Goku and hammer-fisted him back down into the ground. Goku combined his blue form with a red form and went on the attack, but it did little good. Jiren continued to block all of his attacks before punching the warrior in the stomach and kicking him back down. Jiren grabbed Goku by the hair and placed his hand on his abdomen before releasing a small glowing ball that shot the Saiyan away. It was powerful enough to completely eradicate the boulders that were in their way moments ago. "Where do you think you're going?" "We aren't done yet," they heard from the edge. Goku jumped back into the arena and went back into his base form. "I'm going to have to show you my trump card," he said before jumping onto a large cliff. He proceeded to bring both arms into the air and closed his eyes. "That's not going to work," Cell commented. Both warriors looked to the android for an explanation. Even Champa and Vados were listening in, as they too were curious as to what Goku was planning. "He's going to gather energy from his teammates. It would be a lot more effective on a planet since he would be able to take the energy from all forms of life. But here. He motioned to the vast emptiness. This is all he has. He finished. They watched as a glowing whitish-blue orb began growing in size above the man. Naruto was impressed by the power he could feel radiating off of the attack. He could hear Goku muttering that he wouldn't have enough time to charge it completely. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who heard him though. "I'll wait," Jiren said, shocking everyone. "That's your strongest attack, correct? Then I'll wait." He finished with a hard look. Goku smirked in response. "Don't regret letting me finish this," he replied before allowing the orb to continue growing. Meanwhile Jiren just stared at the attack, arms still crossed, not looking the least bit intimidated. "Here we go." "Jiren," Goku yelled before tossing the orb down. The orb went crashing down into the arena and stayed down for a second before it started coming back up. Everyone watching was shocked as Jiren had caught the attack with one hand and threw it back. Goku quickly activated his blue form and struggled slightly before shooting it back down. Jiren once again stopped the attack with little effort, though he did have both hands up this time and pushed it back once more. This time Goku activated his strongest form and managed to barely push it back down. In an amazing display of power, Jiren pushed the attack back with nothing but a glare. This time, however, Goku wasn't able to push the attack back and was consumed. The last thing anyone saw was the man fall into the orb before it exploded, taking a nice chunk of the arena with it. When the smoke cleared, Jiren could be seen standing tall, but Goku was nowhere to be found. Soon most of the Universe 7 team was calling for Jiren to be disqualified for killing a fighter, but that was soon ruled out as the Grand Priest called it more of a self-destruction. Therefore, Jiren was not eliminated. No sooner did the man turn his attention to Naruto. "You're next." The man spoke before stepping forward. Naruto tensed and transformed into his rose form and jumped down to meet the man. Before the two could battle it out, however, the arena began shaking once more. Everyone wondered what was going on before Beerus spoke. "He's coming." A bright pillar of light exploded from the crater where the spirit bomb had hit. Out of it came none other than Goku. What was most surprising was that he was in a new form. This was enough for Jiren to turn his attention away from Naruto and back to the other Saiyan. Letting his transformation fade, he jumped back up to watch once more. Immediately he could see something was different with the man. He was moving differently. Almost as if he was no longer thinking. He noticed the silver streaks in the man's hair and remembered Vegeta had the same look earlier. So both of them have reached that level now. He commented. The closer he looked, the more he could see the difference between the two fighters. His is slightly different, he said to himself. Vegeta, while in that form, could attack very well, his attacks more powerful and precise. Goku seemed to be geared towards a much stronger defense as his attacks weren't doing as much damage as Vegeta's. Goku was putting up a decent fight as he managed to evade most of Jiren's punches but wasn't able to land as many. Only one good knee to the gut. It looked like Goku was going in for the win. He launched off the center pillar and pulled his arm back, intending to land a critical blow. However, both Naruto and Hit noticed the light in the man's eyes fading to black slowly. "He's running out of time," Naruto said. Sure enough, his attack was caught. "This heat. This is your limit," Jiren said before blasting him away. "That was a hell of a fight." Cell commented. Naruto was going to respond, but a change in the air around him forced him to stop. Looking to the side, he noticed Hit was nowhere to be seen. His eyes widened and quickly looked back towards Jiren just in time to see him stop Hit's sneak attack. "So you want a shot at him first, huh?" he thought to himself as he continued his spectating. "Black. What are you doing? Get in there and help Hit beat Jiren," Champa yelled, holding his head in frustration. Vados hummed while tapping her lip with a finger. "It looks to me like he's letting Hit fight first. Perhaps he wants to analyze Jiren's abilities a bit closer," she explained. Hit was one of the strongest fighters Naruto had ever seen. So he was surprised to see that his friend was being completely outclassed. Jiren had completely adapted to Hit's time skip and managed to stop the assassin at every turn. Out of everyone here, Jiren is definitely the most dangerous fighter, he thought to himself. He was broken out of his musings as a slight sting was felt on his back. Turning around, he came face to face with none other than Ribrianne. "Hey! I thought you took care of her earlier," Naruto commented to Cell with an annoyed look on his face. "I was, but my battle got interrupted." "Speaking of that, have you noticed that every time we're about to eliminate someone, we're always stopped or sidetracked by someone else?" the android replied. "I have actually," he replied before looking at the warrior of love. He stared at her for a moment before shaking his head and turning back to the fight. She wasn't worth the trouble. He had other things to worry about. He turned just in time to see Hit activate time skip and managed to land a hit on Jiren dead in the chest. The attack was strong enough to shoot the man through some rock formations. He's finally improved, Naruto said. He should have a better chance now. Let's see what you're planning. Up with the Universe 2 team. Their god of destruction was feeling offended. It is not beautiful to turn your back on an opponent. Ribrianne. Show this man the power of Universe 2, she yelled. Powering up, said woman created a heart shape with her hands and shot a giant pink heart at the two warriors. She smiled smugly, only for her smile to drop as her attack was batted away by the Saiyan without even turning around. She created another heart, this time putting all of her energy into it, but was stopped as a pain erupted from her back. She felt as if she had been stabbed and then kicked forward. In the blink of an eye, Naruto was in front of her with a small pink ball of energy in his hand. You're becoming an annoyance. Get lost, he said before shooting. The poor girl flew out of the arena until she was no longer in sight. Soon a bright pink explosion occurred in the distance. Ribrianne of Universe 2 has been eliminated. The Grand Priest announced. Ribrianne, Heels yelled as her warrior appeared on the bleachers. Naruto looked towards them and shook his head in disappointment. Naruto. He heard Hit yell. Looking down, he saw Jiren was seemingly frozen his spot but was about to crush a small ball in the assassin's hand. Naruto jumped down but wasn't fast enough as Jiren broke out of Hit's attack and countered quickly. Hit was kicked into a pile of rubble before Jiren was on him. A familiar yellow ball of energy was shot into the assassin, sending him into the air. Oh no, you don't, Naruto thought to himself as he dashed to the edge of the arena to catch Hit before he could be eliminated. Watch out, Champa yelled as he saw Jiren quickly closing in on them. As he was within 5 feet of them, he was blasted off to the side by a strong unseen force. Let's go, Naruto told him before jumping away. Once far enough, Naruto put Hit down to let the man recover his strength. His punches are heavy. Heavier than anything I've felt before, Hit said before coughing up some blood. Don't take him lightly. Naruto nodded and sat down to catch his breath. No doubt the man was going to come for him now. If he was right, he might be forced to use that form. It wasn't completed yet, but he would have no choice. When Jiren came for him, he'd have to give it everything he had. Champa let out a breath he had been holding and leaned back in his seat on the bleachers. That was a close one. We almost lost Hit. If he'd have been eliminated, it'd be too big a loss for our team. The cat god said. Vados nodded in agreement. Luckily, Naruto was able to catch Hit-san before he flew out of the fighting stage. However, our problems just got worse. Jiren is most likely going to set his sights on Naruto now. Champa was going to respond but was cut off by a fellow god of destruction. More specifically, the clown Belmod. Vados is right, Champa. Hit is out of commission and your Saiyan will be next. It doesn't matter what tricks you have up your sleeve. Jiren is a being who can't lose, no matter who or what he's up against. He finished with a satisfied smirk. Growling in irritation, Champa shot back, you better keep that same attitude when Black wipes the floor with him, clown. He became further irritated when said clown simply kept the smirk on his face before turning away. He dismissed the god and turned to his martial arts teacher. Do you think Black has a chance at beating Jiren? He asked in a low tone of voice. Last thing he needed was people thinking he didn't have faith in his fighters. Perhaps. We haven't seen what Jiren can do at full power, but at the same time we haven't seen Naruto go all out either. It's up in the air really, but I have a feeling Naruto will surprise us. She finished with a smile. Down below, back in the arena, said Saiyan was watching the battles from his spot while watching over a recovering Hit. How was he able to beat time skip? He asked curiously. Time skip wasn't something one could beat without having endured some of it first. Jiren, however, was able to counter it from the get-go. That worried him. I don't know. The assassin replied before holding his side in pain. He was able to stop every attack. He was one step ahead of me the entire time. I only managed to get him due to my pure progress ability. I'm really hoping you have something up your sleeve because even his regular punches hurt. He admitted. Naruto nodded, though Hit wasn't sure which part he nodded to. Who from our universe is still in the tournament? Hit asked, hoping to hear some good news. Naruto glanced around, spotting his teammates. Caulifla, Kale, Kaba, and Cell. He responded, we're doing good so far, as long as we can keep this up. He didn't get to finish as he quickly grabbed the downed Hitman and jumped away from their spot. A second later, the giant rock they had been on was turned into dust. Cell, Naruto yelled. He knew exactly who was after them. Luckily for him, the android appeared seconds later with a second-rate Universe 3 warrior grabbed by the throat. Get rid of him and take Hit away. We need him to recover his strength. Cell looked down at the damaged assassin before blasting the Universe 3 fighter out of the arena. As soon as Cell took the man, a figure walked out of the dust cloud. The Grey Warrior from Universe 11 stood opposite him. Similar to when Son Goku fought the man, everyone seemed to stop what they were doing to watch the next big battle. Even Goku himself was watching. Having been given some energy by Frieza, he found himself watching from a distance, hoping to get some insight to defeating the man. Naruto decided to transform into his Super Saiyan Rose level 2 and began to walk forward until the two fighters were within a foot of each other. The two stared each other down for about 5 seconds before disappearing. The two warriors appeared high in the air and began throwing punches at one another at incredible speeds. The two went back and forth, neither managing to land a solid punch on the other. As they were exchanging blows, Naruto quickly realized Jiren wasn't like any of the others. It was right, the man's punches were heavy. Even the shots he managed to block were hurting. Jiren managed to land a punch to the Saiyans' face but got a kick to the face in return. To some onlookers it looked like they were evenly matched, but Naruto knew otherwise. This was still base form Jiren while he was in his Rose 2 form. This just showed how powerful the Grey Warrior was. I have to throw him off his rhythm, he thought to himself. Naruto felt a punch to the gut followed by a kick to his back and knew this was the opportunity. He quickly turned around and crossed his arms. He felt at least 10 punches hit his forearms as he tried to block the onslaught. As they continued going around the arena with Jiren seemingly having the upper hand, the impossible happened. As Jiren was dashing forward, his head snapped to the left as he was hit by an invisible force, stopping his momentum. Naruto took this opportunity to appear in front of the man and land a quick 20 punches to the face and gut. As he landed his punches, the crowd noticed multiple red sparks appear rapidly at the man's side. If the face the man made as they appeared was any indication, they knew it was painful. Seeing this, Naruto finished his attack by quickly placing his hand on the warrior's gut. A pink ball could be seen forming, but faster than they could blink it exploded. A red and black blur could be seen falling from the air at an amazing speeds. Everyone had to cover themselves from the shockwave that came from the impact. Silence took over the arena as everyone watched the seemingly unstoppable Jiren go down. This was the most damage they'd seen the man take in the whole tournament. "What's happening?" Belmont asked, his eyes wide with shock and some worry. Even Champa, who by all accounts should have been happy, was watching in shock. "Vados. What the hell was that?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the battlefield. "It's a technique he's been practicing for some time now. Actually, he's been doing it since the tournament started," she explained. Everyone in the arena had turned to her to listen to her explanation, including the Grand Priest. He of course knew exactly what was going on but wanted a bit more knowledge on how it was done. Basically, he creates a clone of himself, only it doesn't reside in our dimension. Similar to Hit-san's time skip, he creates the clone in a parallel dimension connected to our own. The clone can then move freely and interact with anything in our dimension, but you can't sense it or touch it. She finished. Everyone was now on edge. They all realized that he was the one eliminating everyone in the beginning of the tournament. He simply let an undetectable clone attack everyone without them knowing. What Vados kept to herself, however, was exactly how the technique was done using the time ring he had on his finger. Champa looked like he was going to comment but stopped as a strong gust of wind blew away the smoke from the impact. Jiren stood in the middle of a crater looking down at his torn uniform. The area that covered the right side of his collarbone and neck was in tatters. The man turned his attention to Naruto and narrowed his eyes before bringing his arms up to waist level. Naruto watched in trepidation as a dark red aura surrounded him. He remembered seeing this exact aura when he stopped Son Goku before blasting him away. Naruto tensed as he realized that Jiren was going to start taking him a lot more serious now. He was right, as he was barely able to dodge the punch that he'd been sent his way. Jiren was faster than before. The two began moving about the arena once more as the two began their hand-to-hand combat. Soon lighting was generated due to the immense power the two were emitting. Blasts of lighting began striking the arena every time the two matched fists. It was looking like a tie once more, but Jiren soon got the upper hand. Naruto felt a hard punch to the face. He was sure had he not been so tense that it would have broken his jaw. Before he was able to go flying back due to the force, he felt a hand grab his ankle and pull him downwards. He saw the ground quickly approaching but soon found out he wouldn't be landing. Before he could hit, Jiren landed before him and jumped up, connecting his knee with the Saiyan's gut. The gray man followed that up with a hammer fist to his back, forcing the Saiyan to bounce hard off the floor. Jiren didn't let up as he grabbed him by the legs and began spinning rapidly and throwing him into a giant rock. He managed to regain his composure quickly enough to avoid the yellow blast that hit the spot he was previously embedded in. He took a deep breath as he saw Jiren coming at him and ordered his clone to attack. It worked for a few seconds as Jiren was blasted to the side but quickly regained his balance and was on him once more. Seemed like he was more sturdy now than he was before as well. The two continued their battle, going from edge to edge in the arena, though it was clear to him Jiren still had the upper hand. Kappa landed next to hit and Cell as he tried to keep up with the fast-paced battle. "It looks like Naruto-san is doing good," he commented as he watched Naruto land a punch. "No," Hit replied. "If he doesn't step it up soon he'll be beaten," he commented. Cell nods. Jiren isn't using his full power yet, while Naruto is using the same form he had to use to beat Vegeta. He added. Back with the two, Naruto felt a hard kick to his stomach. Strong enough that it managed to force him to spit blood. That kick was soon followed by a chop to the neck that forced the man down to the floor. As he tried to stand, he felt a footstep on his head with enough pressure to crack the ground below them. Damn. Toppo really had nothing on him, he thought as he felt a hand grab his neck, pulling him up. As soon as he was high enough, he quickly materialized a pink scythe and swung with all the strength he could muster at the moment. Luckily it was enough to break the hold Jiren had on him as he was forced to jump out of the way. Everyone watched as the slash was strong enough to cleanly slice a nice portion of the arena and have it begin to float away. Seeing that Jiren wasn't rushing him, he released the technique and took a few breaths. The gray still had the red aura around him, though it wasn't as dark as it had been earlier. This guy is something else. Rose level 2 isn't enough. I was hoping to save this for the future, but I have no choice. He thinks before closing his eyes and taking in deep breaths. Up above, Champa tilted his head in confusion. What's he doing? You don't close your eyes against someone like Jiren. It looks like he's steadying his breathing. Though I'm not sure exactly why. Vados comments. Don't just stand there, Jiren, attack, Belmont yelled while pointing at the Saiyan. Seeing the opportunity, Jiren does so, but is attacked in the side by the clone he had heard about. Damn that cursed technique. Belmont snarled. I believe I know what he is doing. They heard from their left. Everyone's eyes turned to the Angel of Universe 10 for an explanation. He's going to use something all of us angels have. If he does, Jiren will be in danger of elimination unless he takes this completely serious. She added. Something we all have? Questioned Kukashil. Kus nodded. You've already seen it twice in this tournament. She replied. You're saying Black is going to use Ultra Instinct? Champa questioned, looking at Naruto. He noticed the man's hair was still pink. Why isn't his hair turning white like the other two? His question remained unanswered as Naruto opened his eyes. His eyes looked sharper and his body more relaxed. He motioned for Jiren to strike and began effortlessly dodging all of the attacks. He dodged for 2 minutes straight before disappearing and reappearing behind the man. Jiren turned his head in shock before he felt hundreds of attacks strike his body at once and dropped slightly. Seeing this, Naruto was on him like a hound and began his counterattack. Jiren tried to dodge them all but found himself being pushed back. One punch managed to break through his defense and hit him square in the chest before 50 or more followed. Naruto ended his attack with a divine retribution at point-blank range with such force that it sent the man hurtling to the ground hard. Similar to his own experience, he dove down, landing before the man before kicking him up straight through his attack and reappearing above him once more. Seeing the opportunity present itself, Naruto hammer-fisted him down before repeating the process a few times, mostly kicking the man around. It looks like Kus was right. Vados commented as she looked left to right as Naruto continued kicking the man around. Though unlike the Saiyans from Universe 7, it looks like his is complete. Jiren had managed to pick himself off the ground and charge another yellow ki blast at him. Though it was ineffective as Naruto simply cut it in half with his energy scythe before charging forward. The two once again found themselves locked in hand-to-hand combat. Both fighters were throwing punches so fast it looked like blurs. All many people could see was sonic booms going around the area with the occasional lightning strike here and there. Amazingly, Jiren was still able to block some of the punches, though he was taking some hard hits. He thought he had found an opening in Naruto's defenses and tried a right kick but was caught. In retaliation, the Saiyan spun and kicked the man in the gut hard enough to force some blood to leave his mouth. Jiren's feet created 2 small trenches as he was forced back. Panting hard, he brought his hand up to wipe his mouth clean. Don't believe that just because you've powered up that means you can defeat me, Jiren said angrily. The dark red aura quickly covered his body again as he charged forward. Naruto was still able to block or deflect the punches, but they were still inflicting damage. Their fists mirrored each other before the two of them shot off a pink and yellow ki blast respectively. The two blasts collided, which resulted in a giant explosion that blinded everyone from seeing what was going on. Everyone was on the edge of their seat, both figuratively and literally. The battle had been going on for well over 10 minutes, with both fighters taking the upper hand at some point. I don't know what's more incredible, the fact that we've seen 3 fighters use Ultra Instinct with one being able to use it fully, or that there's a mortal strong enough to keep up with it. The reptilian god of destruction of Universe 12 said. The Kai of his universe gave his own 2 cents. I agree, it's pretty amazing. Though perhaps it's because the Universe 6 Saiyan doesn't have the amount of experience the angels have in using Ultra Instinct that Jiren is able to keep up. Most of the gods as well as the angels nodded their heads, having similar thoughts on the matter. Back on the ground, Naruto was panting as he jumped back to create some space and watched Jiren do the same. He generates his scythe once more, letting it glow bright before pulling his arm back. Jiren, seeing this, brought his hands up and generated a giant red orb of energy before quickly launching. Naruto made a slicing motion upwards in Jiren's direction, letting off a giant pink wave that was digging into the arena as it charged forward to meet the orb. Similar to last time, an explosion took place as the two attacks met in the center. The arena shook as the two attacks met. When the smoke cleared, they were surprised to see that the arena had been split down the middle almost evenly. Naruto and Jiren were the only two fighters on one half, while the other, which included the timer in the center, was where everyone else was. Naruto was on one knee, taking in deeper breaths than before. Damn! I've reached my time limit with Ultra Instinct and still couldn't eliminate Jiren. This guy is damn tank. He thought as he noticed Jiren was trying to stand up from his kneeling position. Champa-sama, Vado said, getting her students' attention. It would be ill-advised to allow that battle to continue. At the rate they're going, they could possibly cause the eliminations of our own fighters. It'd be wise to play the numbers game until we don't have a choice. She informed him. Champa looked down at the arena with an unusually serious look on his face. One that only appeared in dire situations. He glanced at Naruto before nodding. Black. He called out, getting his attention. Retreat for now. He ordered. Naruto was going to reply but was stopped as Hit and Cell landed next to him. The former tossing his right arm around his shoulders before dashing off. Belmod noticed Jiren narrow his eyes and prepare to give chase but stopped him as well. Stop, Jiren. He ordered, making the man look at him. Take a breather. When the time comes you'll finish the job. The man didn't look happy but didn't comment. He simply turned around and headed towards where he sensed Dispo was. The spectators couldn't believe the battle they had just witnessed. They thought Goku and Vegeta having their incomplete Ultra Instinct was amazing, but this was something else entirely. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but do you have anything else hidden? Because it looks like Jiren can still keep up with you. I'd bet he's still hiding more power. Cell commented as they watched everyone else resume fighting. Not that there was much left, mind you. Naruto simply nods but doesn't speak, instead trying to catch his breath. He was thinking to himself what kind of beast the man was. To keep up with him with Ultra Instinct was nothing short of amazing. At this rate he'd have to use his trump card, and if that didn't work they'd be screwed. Kaba landed besides them at that moment, parts of his armor completely destroyed and looking beaten. Naruto-san, why didn't you use the form you used against Toppo? Because he was clad in Hakai energy. What mine did was simply cancel his out to let us get to him. If I had used it on Jiren I'd have gotten disqualified. Plus I wouldn't be surprised if Jiren could stop it. He replied before taking a look towards the bleachers. He noticed many angels but not that many gods or contestants. From the looks of it only universes 3, 6, 7 and 11 were still in this. Universe 3 was at the brink of elimination and so was 11 with only 2 fighters left. Looks like our team is doing pretty good. At least we're fighting cautiously, he said with a small smile, knowing their team was fighting with smarts. Actually about that, Caulifla-san and Kale-san decided to pick a fight with Son Goku a couple minutes ago. Kaba admitted reluctantly. Naruto felt his face drop as he and the rest turned around to see the man was already in his red form, completely outclassing the 2 females. Caulifla. Kale. Use the Patara now, Champa yelled from his seat. If he hadn't been close to a heart attack during the Naruto and Jiren battle he was now. He could tell Son Goku was getting closer to eliminating the 2. If they didn't fuse they'd be done with. The 2 women looked at each other and nodded before pulling out 2 green ear rings and placing them on opposite ears. A bright light covered the arena as the 2 women fused into one. As the fusion was going on, Frieza took the opportunity to sneak behind the Universe 6 warriors and wrap his tail around the neck of the weakest link, which in this case happened to be Kaba. The boy made a choking sound and soon found himself being shot out of the arena. The Saiyan, Hitman, and Android turned to see Frieza already jumping away from them. Ho ho ho, my apologies, but he was open and the chance was too good to pass up. Hit was about to give chase but was stopped by Naruto. It's unfortunate but I'm still not up to full power. Cell is definitely strong but if Jiren decides to return he won't be enough to fend him off until I get my strength back. He told him. Hit gave one more glance towards where Frieza left and returned. He'll be dealt with soon. The assassin said in a firm tone. He watched as the new warrior Kefla was flexing her muscles and talking about how great she felt. If he were in her position he'd simply just attack while he had the chance. She was young, it was to be expected. Oi! Goku. Vegeta. Catch! Beerus yelled as he too threw something into the arena. Goku opened his palm to see what had been thrown. Vegeta! Get over there and infuse with Goku or I'll destroy you myself. He ordered. Naruto watched as the two Saiyans bickered for a few seconds before conceding. The two warriors followed suit and put the ear rings on. Similarly to Kefla, a bright light came over the arena before a new fighter was introduced. Damn! Kefla is strong, but what did he call himself? Vegito? He's in a different league than her. I need to recover quickly or this is going to go south very fast. He thought to himself. Suddenly a thought came to mind. He looked at Kefla, then to Vegito before glancing at Kefla once more. Hey Hit, you think maybe you and I should try to foos? He didn't get to finish his sentence as the hitman cut him off with a resounding no. Yeah, alright then. He finished lamely. He hoped Kefla could pull through, though he doubted it. If he was right, by the time he regained his power, Universe 6 would be down to 3 fighters. I just need to get rid of Jiren. Once he's out of the tournament the rest is easy. He thought to himself. Little did he know the Grey Warrior was thinking the exact same thing. Naruto wanted to believe in his 2 younger female Saiyans, he really did. The moment he felt the amount of power Veg2 was putting out, he knew that the now dubbed Kefla was screwed. Perhaps if it was only Son Goku she had to fight he would feel a little more comfortable, even just Vegeta by himself. A combination of the two however was completely out of their league. He had more raw power, he was faster, and much more battle experience than either of the 2 women combined. For a second Kefla seemed to hold her own but that went south very quickly. Every attack she tried was evaded while his counters all found their target. He watched as the man ducked underneath a roundhouse kick and kneed her right in the gut. That wasn't the end of it. As she tried to get the air back in her lungs Veg2 gripped her by the face and slammed her down into the ground. Fortunately for Kefla, Veg2 jumped back and began lightly bouncing on his feet, kicking and punching the air as if barely warming up. He stopped his movements to look down as she began to get back up. Don't tell me that's all you've got? He asked. Naruto noticed that he sounded like 2 people talking at the same time rather than one individual. I'm starting to get bored here. Come on Kefla, don't fall for it, he's taunting you. Naruto thought as he watched the woman get angrier. Hit sighed and took a step forward, ready to try and back up his teammate, but stopped when Cell raised a hand out in front of him. The android had an unusually serious look on his face, a clear contrast to the usual smirk he wore while playing with his opponents. As foolish as it was for them to challenge Goku, we can't move from here. Should Jiren decide to attack again and we're not around, Black will be vulnerable. He reasoned. Hit looked to Cell then back to Kefla who was taking a few punches to the face and reluctantly stepped back. Until he regains his strength we can't leave his side. As much as we'd like to, we're going to have to be sidelined for a minute. Cell finished. It was kind of unusual for Cell to be the voice of reason considering he was usually antagonistic and sarcastic, ready to get under someone's skin. Naruto could see why there was a change in demeanor however, considering how close they were to winning. Hit directed his attention from the 2 fused warriors to the 2 remaining competitors from Universe 11. Both of which were staring right back at them. Dispo was staring at them at least, Jiren hadn't taken his eyes off of their recovering Saiyan. No doubt waiting for his opportunity to strike again. Turning back to the fight all 3 fighters sighed in disappointment as Kefla became enraged at the taunts and began trying to blast him only for the attacks to be easily dodged. Every ki blast missed its target no matter how many she shot. Veg2 disappeared from his spot and threw a barrage of punches to her face and body, most of which connected. He followed up by sweeping her legs out from under her and kicking her down to the ground. The force from the impact was strong enough that it left an indentation on the ground. Boring. The fused man commented as he crossed his arms. Kefla got back up and spat out some blood onto the ground and grit her teeth in frustration. Everyone could see she was going to rush back in and try again. At this point it would have been better to cut her losses and retreat, but they knew she wouldn't. Caulifla wasn't the type to let herself get humiliated and Kefla had taken that personality trait. She just had to retain her attitude. Naruto commented. If she doesn't calm down she's going to get. Naruto couldn't finish his sentence as the man's speed increased and he went on the offensive. Kefla was barraged by numerous hits in the blink of an eye. There were punches, kicks, knees, and elbows, all of which managed to land. He placed his hand on her abs and let off a blue energy blast that sent the young woman soaring away. Destroyed? Cell finished. The 3 followed her trajectory with their eyes and winced slightly as she crashed through multiple rocks. Still, they knew it wouldn't be enough to keep her down. How are you feeling? Cell asked. Still a little tired. Ultra Instinct takes a lot out of me as it is, it doesn't help that I've used a lot of energy throughout the tournament. Naruto replied. Cell glanced over to where he could sense Frieza and smirked as an idea came to him. Naruto and Hit watched as the android raised his hand in the former's direction and had a small green orb materialize. Apart from Jiren, I know I can beat anyone else from the remaining universes, he said. Whether he counted Veg 2 or not, they weren't sure. I'd rather not give my own energy away, but we don't really have a choice. He finished, firing off the orb at Naruto. The effect was immediate. Naruto felt his energy return to him, not back to full power but enough to get back in the fight. He stood up and did some light stretches, making sure he could move well enough, and smirked when he realized he had complete mobility again. Thank me by helping us win the tournament. Cell responded. I'm so close to resurrection I can almost taste it. What do we do? Hit asked. Universe 11 has 2 fighters left, Universe 2 has their 3 warriors, Universe 3 has 2 remaining, and Universe 7 has 4 left. Naruto glanced around the arena and saw the 2 Universe 3 fighters holding their own against the trio from Universe 2. Seeing as they were fully immersed in their battle, he saw their opportunity to attack. Glancing at his 2 teammates, he nodded his head in their direction. Everyone spectating were surprised when all 5 warriors were blasted back by an unseen force. Their surprise continued when the viewing platform began to shrink to accommodate the remaining competitors, which brought everyone closer together. Damn that man and his technique, Hellas yelled in anger as she glared at Naruto and then at the overweight god. Champa was not at all bothered by her glare, opting to laugh in amusement. That was a beautiful move if you ask me. He taunted before turning his attention back down below. Black. Knock them out while you have the chance. Off to the side, Belmod kissed his teeth in both aggravation and frustration. He glanced over at his martial arts teacher, who stared back at him. What's wrong, Belmod-sama? She asked quietly. Black got his energy back. If he decides to strike against us now, things will be bad for us. He answered. Margarita nods true. However, Jiren has never lost. I'm confident he'll pull through if that happens. And if he doesn't, you'll all be erased. On the other side of the platform, Eric, the god of destruction for Universe 5, was watching with great interest. You definitely have an interesting warrior, Champa. He's achieved Ultra Instinct and was a candidate for God of Destruction. Plus, Toppo mentioned Jiren is stronger than Belmod. For Black to keep up with him must mean he's also at or above that level. I'd love to battle with him if he survives this ordeal. He commented. The blue fishman-looking god, Geen, nodded at his fellow god's words. Me too. Especially if he has more up his sleeve. I haven't had a good battle against a mortal in a long time. Looks like some of the gods are taking an interest in Naruto, Champa-sama Vados commented with a smile. I wonder what will happen should we win the tournament. We'll worry about that after. For now, let's focus on what's happening down there. Hurry up, Black. Get them, he yelled down. Naruto tried to ignore the large cat's screams. You'd think he'd be too nervous to yell, but here they were. Still, the cat had a point. Cell. Hit. He called out. The 2 men knew what to do and rushed forward alongside him. The android made a beeline for Ribrianne. The woman didn't know what happened until it was too late. Cell grabbed her by the face and began punching her stomach rapidly, also adding some ki blasts into the mix. Hit used his time skip to continually attack the weak points of the other 2 members of the Universe 2 trio, while Naruto used his clone to knock the Universe 3 fighters unconscious. For a minute straight, the 5 warriors from the 2 universes were no more than mere punching bags for Universe 6. The trio didn't even give them a chance to fight back, constantly juggling the competitors between them. He willed his undetectable clone to round up the 5 warriors while they were off their game. Naruto manifested a pink orb in the palm of his hand and pointed it at the 5. Likewise, Cell brought both hands together and pulled back, and Hit cocked a single fist back towards him. Divine Retribution. Kamehameha. Hit had no name for the technique and simply punched forward, letting off a wave of energy that followed the pink and blue blasts from his teammates. The 3 attacks hit their targets and let off a large explosion with enough energy that it easily shot the 5 off the fighting stage and into the void. Good work, Champa yelled in excitement, seeing his fighters eliminate 2 more universes. Everyone looked up at the Grand Priest as he floated down and glanced at the viewing platform. 10 members of Universe 2 and 3 have been eliminated. They've been wiped out. Zeno raised his hand, making the 2 universes' warriors begin to glow white before they disappeared, leaving only their angels behind. Down to the last 3. Beerus commented to Whis, as he glanced at Champa and Belmod. Down to the final 3 universes. Margarita commented to Belmod. The clown-looking god grit his teeth in anger. Yeah, and we're down to our last 2 fighters. Meanwhile, Universe 7 has 4 if we count their fused fighter as one person. Universe 6 also has 4 with their fused fighter. Champa, oddly enough, didn't brag about this fact. Instead he had his eyes glued to the fighting stage with a serious look on his face. Vados. We need to eliminate Jiren now before he recovers, he said. A sentiment which she agreed with. He's got a lot of his energy back and we're down to only a handful of fighters. Now would be the ideal time. She commented. Black, Champa yelled, getting the Saiyans' attention. Leave everyone else to sell and hit. Take care of Jiren. If their fused fighter is still around when you're done then you can gang up on him. Naruto looked up to Champa, taking note of his serious demeanor before his gaze moved over to Vados. She was looking at him with an almost appraising look, as if looking to see how he'd perform. Finally, he looked over to Kus, who still looked downtrodden at the erasure of her student and his former teacher. He nodded and transformed into his Super Saiyan Rose form again and made his way towards Jiren. Seeing him coming, the gray man also began making his way to meet him. The two stood feet apart from one another, both eager to settle the score. Naruto couldn't wipe the smirk off of his face even if he wanted to. His Saiyan blood was pumping at an accelerated rate. Finally he could get his rematch. Jiren. That absolute monster. The Saiyan couldn't help but chuckle. Was this what it was like? To be a Universe 7 Savage Saiyan his brother used to go on about? The thrill? The high? The lust for battle? Oi, oi, oi! Naruto cracked his neck as he eyed the alien. The main course is here. Enough with the hors d'oeuvres. Jiren opened his eyes, total blackness with uncontrollable power. You think very highly of yourself. While your strength is commendable, it will do you no good here. Naruto frowned, his pride insulted. Listen here Jiren, it would be foolish of you to underestimate a Saiyan. We shall see, Naruto yelled as he went for an uppercut, eyes widening as the alien effortlessly dodged his attack. Throwing a haymaker of his own, Naruto crossed his arms, growling in pain, eyes building, his bones groaning from the strike. The Saiyan flew back, barely having time to curve his body to the right, dodging the monstrous blow. After dodging countless blows, Naruto yelled as he threw his hand forward. A massive ki blast blinded everyone of Jiren as it completely covered his form. The Saiyan was left confused. Jiren was no longer in front of him. Naruto looked around in a panic. Damn it, where the hell is he? Here Bastar Ga? Blow after a mighty blow struck. He was unable to bring his arms up to block the barrage of punches. Each punch felt like it was tearing him apart. His insides felt like they were being ruptured, his ribs screamed in protest. Naruto's eyes bulged at the knee lodged into his side, taking his breath away. Jiren clasped his hands together, slamming them down against Naruto's back. Naruto bounced off the ground, dazed and confused. All he could do was take the incoming ki blast, sending him flying towards the edge of the ring. Gah! The Saiyan roared in pain and outrage. Looking from the corner of his eye, his heart sank to his stomach. He was getting even closer. He needed to do something. Anything. With a scream of effort he flung the blast away from himself, skidding across the ground in a sudden stop. Groaning as he struggled to stand. Soaked in sweat, Naruto was huffing and puffing. His remaining part of his shirt gone, bruises and cuts covering his entire body. The Saiyan growled, staring down at his shaking hands. What the hell was that? That bastard nearly knocked me out of the ring. Naruto shook his head. He needed to stay in the game. He got cocky and it nearly cost him. He won't be making the same mistake twice. He crouched into the runner's stance, eyes narrowing. That big gray bastard was going down. With a flare of his godly power he charged at Jiren. Time slowed down as he got closer to his target. Time seemed to completely freeze. Naruto was in Jiren's face, arm pulled back, eyes staring deep into the black void. Focus, Naruto, focus. Jiren growled in annoyance. Either his blows weren't landing or were being blocked. It seemed he'd have to increase his power. Naruto hated playing defense. He either diverted Jiren blows or blocked with his knees, but he was buying time, waiting for that opening. There. Godly purple ki enlopped his fist, the power in his hand capable of ripping apart a galaxy in a single punch. With a mighty yell he swung with all his might. Wham! The shock wave of his punch ripped apart the arena. Enemies sent flying. Jumping back, still in his fighting stance with his arms still covered in his godly ki. Naruto's heart skipped a beat. His grin large and menacing. Anyone and everyone who was watching, jaw dropped. But no one was more shocked than the giant alien himself, stumbled back, holding a hand to his cheek in shock. Pain, something he hadn't felt in years. I told you, Spit, don't underestimate the Saiyan. I won't make the same mistake twice then, Jiren exclaimed. The next thing everyone felt was heat. An overwhelming heat began filling the stadium. The amount of raw power was almost suffocating. It filled every opponent left standing in the arena with dread. Naruto, who was right in the center of it, fell to a knee. Eyes wide and shaking. Can you see it? The difference between you and I? Jiren looked like the perfect representation of a god. Well, will you continue to fight, warrior? Naruto growled, fighting against pressure. With a yell he powered up to his second state, relieving the pressure immensely. Arrogant bastard. You think a little flare of power will be enough to make me back down? But Naruto was scared. Scared of failure. Everything he did was brushed off. All his power meant nothing. He continued to fight, but it was only wasting time and energy. A single blow nearly crushed the side of the Saiyan's head. Dazed and confused he looked to his left. She was staring down at him in concern, hand over her heart. Cuss. He couldn't help but think back on his time with her, before he left. Flashback. Currently on Rumshi's planet, Naruto was fighting his heart out. An ultimate battle for the ages. Crash. Naruto, is that all you can do? Can't just you wait. Cuss. A few hours later, Naruto was resting with his head on his knees. Exhausted after having his ass handed to him almost all day. His god angel by his side. Hey Cuss. How do you do that? Do what? Dodge. How do you move like that? I'm not sure how to explain it. I just move without thinking. I'm not clouded by thought or emotion. I just am. How the hell do you do that? Not sure it would do any good if I told you. It'd probably bounce off that thick skull of yours. Oi. I just let it all go and be free. Flashback. And even after all this time, you're still helping me? Huh, Cuss? Naruto powered down, slumping forward with his eyes shut. Let it go. Be free. To anyone else it looked like he had accepted his fate. That wasn't the case. Naruto's eyes snapped open, a silver tint to them. An angelic aura swirled around the Saiyan until it swallowed him whole. His presence filled the endless void. Each step he took was an echo, his ki flaring barely touching the well of his power. Jiren was frozen, left stunned at the sudden power. In an instant the Saiyan was gone, his presence untraceable. The gray alien's eyes shot open in pain, Naruto's fist buried in his stomach. Gasping in pain, Jiren stumbled back. Only for his jaw to nearly shatter from Naruto's kick. Random blows rained down on the Pride Trooper. Naruto matching, even overlapping his power easily. Enough, Jiren roared as he charged forward, arm brought back, surrounded by ki. The angelic Saiyan tilted his head to the left, the blow missing him completely. Raising his spread hand forward, a ki wave blasted back Jiren. Sending him flying back. Slamming through all the debris. Nearly sending the gray alien flying from the ring. Belmont stood up, a panicked expression on his face as he watched his fighter fly closer and closer towards the edge. Jiren. Fortunately for the clown-looking god, the man was able to right himself in midair and stop just short of the edge. Jiren stared Naruto down, teeth grit in anger and frustration as the man seemingly wouldn't go down. Don't believe using Ultra Instinct again will be enough to defeat me. Ah. The heat that he had released before was back, amplified as the alien's power began to skyrocket. Red aura began swirling around him seemingly out of control as tendril-like whips attacked everything in range. The top half of Jiren's Pride Trooper uniform was torn off as his power continued to rise and the fighting stage itself began to deteriorate. He still has this much power? Naruto thought incredulously. I have to finish him quickly, but he's proven to be able to match Ultra Instinct once already. I'll have to use that and make it quick. Once the aura died down, Jiren was left standing with a similar glow to him, indicating he'd also reached a new level of power. If you have anything else available, now would be the time to use it, warrior. Naruto didn't reply, instead watched as the man slowly walked over to him. The air around Jiren distorted slightly as his aura was that dense. Very well. Naruto responded. Naruto brought his hands up to his sides and let out a deafening yell. Similar to the gray standing before him, aura quickly surrounded his form, this one dark purple as opposed to the usual pink. Jiren's eyes narrowed as he left the Saiyan's energy begin to rise. Up with the gods and angels, Cuss let a small smile appear on her face. It seems I'll finally see it. See what exactly? Whis asked. Does the energy not feel familiar? The small angel asked. Though she was speaking to Whis, everyone present focused on the energy being produced and all of them came to the same conclusion. Seeing that they've all figured it out, Cuss continued. He's about to unleash his god of destruction form. They watched as the aura around Naruto began to glow in his chest area, forming a small upside-down triangle in between his collarbone, as well as 3 more upside-down triangles lined up vertically on his abdomen. When the aura finally died down, Naruto brought a hand up to his face and made a fist. Be honored, Jiren, you're the first person I've ever brought this form out against. Up above, Beerus frowned. This is bad. Depending on how long he takes to handle Jiren, he might just knock everyone else out too. It's much worse than that, Beerus-sama. Whis added, tapping his chin. How? Vados took this moment to chip in and answer for her brother because not only is he in his full-on God of Destruction form, he's also still utilizing Ultra Instinct. It seems Universe 6 has the clear advantage at the moment, Geen commented. From the amount of power I can feel, I'd say he's well among the upper ranks of the gods. Naruto and Jiren once again made it to the same point where they started, simply staring each other down. Waiting for one to make the first move. Almost as if some mental bell rang, the two disappeared from view. The battle between the two most powerful mortals had resumed.